An unknown person ponders out loud about the influence of fate on life. He suggests that things could have turned out differently depending on the elections. In addition, he also admits that fate is predetermined and nothing could ever be changed. Suddenly, a huge hand hangs over the defenseless girl. The people around her don't even try to help, fleeing from the threat. However, they reach the edge and see that there is simply nowhere else to run. All of them are pursued by a colossal monster that looks like a large man. The few people who manage to survive are hiding behind the rocks around. In tears, one girl prays that the monster will not notice her. However, at that very second, the monster looms over her, smiling because he has found his prey. She is overcome with such intense fear that she has no strength to move. The monster mercilessly bites into her flesh, forcing the girl to scream in agony. Behind another of the stones, a man is hiding, who says out loud that the tests are too difficult for beginners. He looks at his watch, thinking that newbies are required to hold out on the Devil's Star for 5 minutes. However, the guy understands that an ordinary person would not be able to stand here for even a minute. 50 years ago, an unknown planet called the Devil's Star appeared out of nowhere near Earth. Its gravitational field did not cause any gravitational collapses and did not affect the Earth. However, it affected plants and animals all over the planet. Under the influence of the Devil's Star, they turned into divine beasts, and chaos reigned throughout the planet. Modern technologies have proven to be completely powerless against these creatures. Because of them, all people were on the brink of complete extinction. However, in a moment of despair, many portals appeared all over the planet. After passing through them, people ended up on the Devil's Star in the form of digital copies of themselves. When they arrived, they realized that the place was a deeply realistic simulation. It turned out to be possible to obtain many different professions on it. Each of them had their own skills, characteristics, and abilities, just like game characters. People gradually became stronger and noticed one very interesting feature. It turned out that after reaching a certain level, people can return to Earth while retaining their abilities. Those who decided to go to the Devil's Star were called pioneers. During all this time of running from the monster, only a guy named Jiang Kai survived. However, he has nowhere to run from the monster, because he is on the edge of a cliff. Slowly and mercilessly, the monster approaches the main character. He worries that he has wasted all his family's savings if he dies in such a place. His siblings had done their utmost to ensure that Jiang went to the Devil's Star. The younger sister was harassed many times during her time at work, and his brother, ignoring his serious kidney failure, continued to work diligently. The monster interrupts the hero's thoughts by throwing his spike. The main character manages to react to the mortal threat with fear. He tries to escape from death, although he himself does not understand his actions. However, the projectile hits his shoulder, injuring the hero. The force of the blow causes Jiang Kai to fall off the cliff and onto the ground, and the monster at this time only mocks him, standing on top of the cliff. However, suddenly an interface appears in front of him, which notifies him of the receipt of the hidden profession of gambler. Such a profession is a secret, and no one has ever possessed it before. With a scream, the protagonist continues to fall straight into the thicket of the forest. After falling onto the hard ground, Jiang Kai tries to cough up some phlegm and move. He slowly gets up from the ground, not understanding what is happening. After the fall, he felt no pain at all, and all the injuries he received have healed. Suddenly, a strange rift begins to appear right in front of him. A few moments later, a beautiful girl appears from the blue rift. She is the artificial intelligence of the Devil's Star who congratulates Jiang on his new profession. She talks about a special talent called Multiplier, which increases all rewards and punishments given out by the system. Because of this, Jiang Kai gained another additional talent for his profession, which he was very happy about. The girl calls the next talent Super Crit, which increases critical damage by 20,000%. It turns out that regular players only get 20 stat points, but the main character gets 36. Within himself, he comes to the logical conclusion that he will be able to develop much faster than others. He once again looks over the talents given to him, anticipating an interesting and eventful path as a pioneer. Even though the main character's critical hit chance is low, he will become invincible if this chance can be increased. He goes a little further and finds the weapon with which the monster attacked him. Approaching the pin, he slowly extends his hand towards it. He abruptly pulls the pin out of the water, thinking at the same time that he can earn a fortune. A new quest appears before him, the task of which is to reach the City of Gods safe and sound. He has to overcome a long and extremely dangerous route. He has 7 days to reach the City of Gods to complete the Training Zone quest. It is extremely difficult to get there in one piece, because the newbie zone is overflowing with all sorts of monsters. Upon death, the quest will fail, and the person's consciousness will return to Earth. This, however, is not a problem for the rich, who can reload their profile on the Devil's Star for a lot of money. Suddenly, he hears a piercing scream coming from the forest. Hearing it, the main character rushes towards the sound. Leaning against a tree, he realizes he heard an all-too-familiar scream. A huge snake attacks the screaming man. Crying and screaming, the man tries to fight off the enemy with his fists. A boy named Yuan Zhu, who is a friend of Jiang Kai, has been very afraid of snakes since childhood. The protagonist continues to watch with fear as Juju finds himself trapped with snakes. Deciding not to risk his friend's life any further, Jiang Kai attacks his enemies. Juju is genuinely surprised by the appearance of his old friend, not understanding why he is here. Crying, the boy asks the protagonist to leave him and run away. However, Jiang Kai asks Juju not to worry, not accepting his pleas. With great speed, he throws the rod at the monsters surrounding Juju. In an instant, the projectile flies past the friend's head, piercing the snake and pinning its body to the tree. In one blow, the snake is defeated, which leaves Juju in a slight shock. Jiang Kai decides to continue his attack by using Juju as a distraction for the snakes. However, now the surrounding snakes have set their sights on the main character himself. In fear, Juju tries to warn Jiang Kai that snakes have extremely high agility. However, the main character easily dodges each of the enemy's bites. Juju can't believe his eyes because Jiang Kai is a newbie just like him. Jiang Kai swings his weapon that he picked up from the monster. He asks Juju to provoke the snakes towards him, saying that he will kill them himself. While his friend provokes the snake, Kai delivers quick strikes to them with astonishing speed. After just a minute, all the monsters are defeated. Jiang Kai looks at his profile, realizing that he has high agility but very little strength. He looks down at his iron spear, which strengthens him enough to get past the beginner's zone. Overwhelmed with joy, Juju hugs his old friend and thanks him for saving him. Jiang Kai asks Juju not to tell anyone that he has received the profession of gambler. The guy, however, says that he is hearing about such a profession for the first time, and shows his profile as a martial arts master. There are a great variety of different professions on the Devil's Star. Rich people spend huge amounts of money to acquire powerful professions. Such professions can be knight, warrior, and assassin. However, the poor cannot afford strong professions and get them randomly. Jiang notes that Juju's profession costs a lot of money. Money earned from the Devil's Star can be exchanged for Earth currency. Slowly, Jiang Kai bends down to pick up the remains of the snake. Corpses and equipment are converted into cards that can be picked up and stored in your inventory. Jiang Kai concludes for himself that Gambler is much stronger than the martial artist. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice addresses them, and a silhouette emerges from the forest. This really scares the two friends because at first they think it's a monster. However, a girl named Su Nuanuan comes out to them, saying that she cannot pass the test on her own and asks to join the team. Jiang Kai immediately refuses her, saying that things are already difficult for them, and she will complicate things further. The girl literally begs to be taken into the team, saying that she is a healer. She says that in addition to this, she can extract poison from snakes and strengthen the team. Juju is genuinely happy to see the girl, and Jiang Kai remembers that a healer is one of the 10 valuable professions. Reflecting on past experiences, he agrees that it would be extremely useful to have a healer on the team. He tells the girl that she has been accepted into the team, and they shake hands. At this time in the City of Gods, in one of the laboratories, a man discusses a special wristwatch that can search for the location of pioneers. A girl enters the room and asks the professor about his progress and the condition of her sister. The man checks the data from the watch and says that most of the newcomers have been eliminated, and her younger sister is now on the team. This news does not make Su Lanlin, the elder sister, happy at all, because the more people, the more monsters. This is why the 3 newcomers to the forest are in even greater danger. Jiang Kai's team moves forward, unaware that monsters are already following them. 3 minutes later, the professor says that there are already 2 humanoid monsters next to Su Nuanuan. After dying on the Death Star, a person's actual body will not take any damage. However, the psychological trauma from such an experience can cause severe harm to a person's psyche. The girl leaves the professor, saying that she will take her sister for psychological tests. The man says that she is not dead yet, which surprises Lanlin. He says that 2 humanoid monsters have already died. 3 minutes earlier, monsters in the forest attack the team. Newcomers try to run away from the threat without engaging in combat. Jiang Kai stays ahead, knowing that his friends won't be able to escape. He stops and asks his friends to speed up. Juju tries to dissuade him, but Jiang Kai only says that he can handle everything himself. He shouts that he will kill these animals, and then rushes into the attack. His pin plunges into the monster's body, causing profuse bleeding. However, suddenly the monster's paw instantly appears at Jiang Kai's body. A blow of extraordinary force simply knocks the hero off the monster's body. The crippled boy falls backwards onto a rock. Both monsters rush towards him to finish off the man. With reluctance, Jiang Kai still accepts his death as the outcome. At this time, Su Nuanuan tearfully asks Juju to help Kai. However, he trembles, fighting his fears of monsters. At this time, Juju's mother on Earth meets the man who gave her son the materials for work. She says out loud that if her son meets a monster, he will hardly dare to fight with him. The man takes the mug of drink in his hand and agrees that Juju is timid. However, the man also says that Juju will never leave a friend in trouble. Overcoming his fear, Juju strives to save his old friend. Activating his class's special skills, he rushes into battle with monsters. Thanks to his strength, he manages to push away one of the monsters. With his body, Juju protects the wounded Kai from the attacks of the monsters. He calls Jiang Kai brother, saying that brothers should work hard together. Looking to strike again, Juju charges at the monster and slams it into the ground. The force of this force causes the ground around him to crack, and Jiang Kai covers his face. The mist clears from the impact, and Juju stands right on the body of the defeated monster. At this moment, Sun Wanwan uses her skills to heal Jiang Kai. She is not a fighter, so she risks her life to save the hero. She states that a doctor must treat people despite any fear. Her father lost the support of healers during the battle and died because of it. This is the very reason why she cannot abandon her team. Gradually, Kai's body is restored, gaining its former strength. When all the wounds on the hero have healed, he rises and grabs his weapon. Sun Wanwan thought to himself that Kai and Juju wouldn't have enough damage to kill the humanoid monster. Jiang Kai remembers the girl's words about her ability to make poisons. He selects from his inventory a card of one of the snakes he killed earlier. With her help, Jiang materializes the corpse of a snake in his hand and hands it to the girl, asking her to make poison. Nuanuan isn't sure she can heal and make poison at the same time, but she promises to try. Jiang Kai thought to himself that if he guessed correctly, they would be able to defeat the enemy. During this time, Juju personally holds his own against enemy attacks, and together they form a strong and balanced team. At this moment, Sun Wanwan finishes applying poison to Jiang Kai's weapon. Having received enhanced weapons, the protagonist resolutely sets out into battle. He asks Juju to hold the beast for him so that he can strike at it. Juju agrees and strikes the monster's jaw, distracting it. At this moment, Jiang Kai jumps over the monster's body, trying to thrust his spear into it. Thanks to the poison applied to the weapon, he manages to inflict colossal damage on the monster. So the second-level humanoid beast ends up killed. The second monster, however, still stands on its feet, having recovered from Juju's blow. The team gathers new strength to kill another enemy. Supporting and protecting each other, they attack the monster together. At this time, the professor and Su Lanlin watch as the team manages to kill two beasts. The professor notes that the pioneers in Sun Wanwan's team are not strong enough. However, Jiang Kai stands out among them, whose profession is not found in the system. This fact genuinely surprises Su Lanlin, because this is the first time she has heard about hidden professions. Jiang Kai picks up both monster corpses into his inventory. A tired team rests after a hard and grueling battle. Sun Wanwan supports the boys, saying that they will definitely reach the City of Gods. However, Jiang Kai says that they don't need to rush as they have enough time. He suggests slowing down a bit, which surprises his team. The hero remembers that the best and the top rookies will be rewarded with powerful equipment, so he suggests that they take up monster extermination to improve their ranking. Although this news frightens the guys, they agree to the adventure. A few hours later, Juju stands in the forest with a torch, luring snakes towards himself. Out of fear, he thinks that he will be the first to die from the monster's attack. However, Jiang Kai supports him and asks him to be more courageous. He reminds Juju that they have a healer on their team who will always help. Finally, the snakes rush towards Juju in a dense group. Jiang Kai rushes into the battle, killing the snakes one by one with his powers. In total, they manage to kill 3 first-level snakes. There is a rule on the Devil's Star that the experience is gained by the one who kills the monster. Therefore, the team decided to increase Jiang Kai's strength first, and then all the other heroes. The main character quickly and mercilessly destroys all enemies. A day later, Jiang Kai manages to raise his level to 2. A tired Kai looks over his stats, noticing the increase in his abilities. The team congratulates Jiang Kai on reaching a new level. After the promotion, he received a whole 20 stat points, which is twice as much as he was supposed to. Juju looks at his profile, realizing that he is much weaker than his friend. And Sun Wanwan notices that the protagonist's strength is not far behind the 4th level. Jiang explains that this is all thanks to a profession that doubles rewards and punishments. After the explanation, Sun Wanwan praises Jiang Kai's profession, while Juju is dissatisfied with his profession. At this moment, the planet's artificial intelligence reappears next to the pioneers. She reports that Jiang Kai can obtain a new skill at level 2. He is given a new skill called Ghost's Hand Card, which increases the effect of other cards and the power of throwing items. The second skill is called Ghost Eye Focus, which increases the range of vision. Although Jiang doesn't fully understand the skills, he is still confident that they are extremely useful in his profession. The guy suggests continuing on his way and continuing to gain experience points. After 2 days, the professor tells Su Lanlin that her sister is completely fine. She couldn't help but smile, saying that Jiang Kai is quite resilient. However, a man in uniform suddenly appears, shouting that danger has been spotted in the rookie's territory. He says that the enemy country sent its people into the newcomer zone to invade. At this moment, a gray-haired man slowly enters the laboratory, and people give him a military salute. It turns out to be Wei Ying, the commander-in-chief of Jiangzhong City. He confirms the words about the imminent invasion of the enemy into the newcomer's zone. The man explains that they will be attacked by stowaways, special squads for killing newcomers. Strong teammates cannot enter the newcomer's zone to protect them. However, the stowaways of Country L have special skills to penetrate this zone. These bloodthirsty people use particularly sophisticated and painful methods of killing. Their goal is to make newcomers fear the Devil Star. After such actions, people experience severe moral trauma. Su Lanlin falls into despair because her sister is in immediate danger. The man says they need to prepare the newbies because the stowaway invasion has already begun. At this time, Jiang Kai's team continues their journey through the forest. He looks to the side and notices something strange thanks to his skill. Saying that there is something in that direction, Jiang Kai raises his spear. The partners, however, do not understand the main character at all and suggest continuing the movement. Without listening to them, Jiang Kai activates the ghost eye and throws his spear. The throw is powerful enough to raise a pile of dust in the forest. Saying that he succeeded, Jiang Kai rushes into the forest. After some time, he and his team notice a boar killed by a spear. Jiang pulls out a spear from the animal's carcass, saying that his skills greatly strengthen him. An interface appears in front of him, offering to pick up the boar's corpse in his inventory, and Jiang agrees. The current skill of the ghost card has increased the damage, and thanks to the ghost eye, it is possible to make better attacks. In other words, it turns out that the enemy will not even have time to notice his death. He suggests that the team continue to exterminate monsters in the area. At this time, strange silhouettes appear in the water next to them. Air bubbles are forming closer and closer to the thickness of the water. One of the teams of stowaways emerges from the water with a grin. Jiang Kai instantly prepares for battle, protecting the healer with his hand. One of the stowaways reaches for a blade, while telling the newcomers not to be afraid of them. However, despite this phrase, the enemy still goes on the attack. The stowaways surround the crew and threaten to skin them alive. At this moment, another enemy slowly emerges from the water. He is a smuggler, the captain of this team of stowaways. Sunuanuan says in fear that the rookie hunters have arrived. Using a watch, she rates the levels of her opponents, with the average being 3 and the highest being 5. The 5th level is possessed by the smuggler, the leader of the team of stowaways. Jiang Kai admits that his current stats can only compete with a level 4 at best, but not a level 5. The leader addresses his subordinates, telling them not to stand still. Jiang Kai quickly runs away, telling his team to split up. The enemy leader orders 2 stowaways to go after Jiang. They agree, and the remaining squad intends to deal with Juju and Sunuanuan. Among the trees and foliage, Jiang Kai escapes from his pursuers. His enemies admit that he is fast, but he still can't escape them. However, in the blink of an eye, Jiang Kai disappears from their sight and they stop in the middle of the forest. This will only amuse the stowaways who are confident of their impending victory. Suddenly, the main character's spear appears from the foliage with a noise. A confident stowaway readies his sword to repel the attack. However, the force of the projectile is so great that the enemy's body is simply blown away. In complete shock, his ally doesn't understand what's going on at all. The projectile does not stop, flying further and further, raising dust everywhere. The stowaway excitedly asks out loud if everything is okay with his ally. As soon as the dust clears, the man sees his ally pierced through by a spear. In fear, the man begins to look around, while Kai watches him from behind the trees. Having seen the easy death of a stowaway, the protagonist leaves his shelter. In a panic, the stowaway picks up his watch to assess Jiang Kai's level. However, he fails to establish the exact strength and capabilities of the protagonist. However, he does point out the extremely strong attributes for the 3rd level. Jiang Kai doesn't respond to him and only throws more projectiles at his opponent. Screaming in pain, the man kneels before the main character. He slowly falls to the ground, defeated. Jiang Kai is pleased with his strength and ingenuity, because thanks to his tactics, he distracted 2 people and eliminated them. He realizes that he needs to kill the helpless stowaway to get to level 3. As soon as Jiang Kai finishes off the enemy, the artificial intelligence appears in front of him again. She says that Jiang can appropriate all the free rider's experience for himself and absorb it. Jiang Kai enthusiastically agrees, since stowaways give more experience. Artificial intelligence understands the player's desire and assigns him the experience of 2 free riders. At exactly this moment, the main character reaches the 3rd level. He looks back at his stats, which have increased tremendously. His overall attribute score is 76 points, while free riders have only 60 points. Jiang Kai picks up his weapon, which had been stuck into the enemy's corpses all this time. With the intention of protecting his team, Jiang heads back. At this time, Juju and Sunuanuan are already captured by stowaways. With the last of his strength, the healer tries to restore the health of the martial arts master. Sunuanuan is worried inside about Kai because 2 stowaways are chasing him. The main character himself is rapidly approaching the end of the forest where his friends are being held. The stowaways are already grabbing their weapons to finish off Jiang Kai's allies. The commander gives them an order, allowing them to finish off the newcomers. It is at this moment that Jiang Kai decides to take action against the enemy. Thanks to his extreme agility, he quickly rushes into battle. His pins hit opponents directly in the head, knocking them off their feet. Noticing these thorns, Sunuanuan and Juju rejoice at Jiang Kai's return. The leader of the stowaways asks with fear and shock who dared to attack them. However, he does not receive an answer, which makes him even more afraid. The person assumes that this could be a representative of a new profession. Then he decides not to take risks and run away from danger. Jiang Kai has no intention of letting go of the man who harmed his allies. In his eyes there is only hatred and a desire to avenge all the wounds inflicted on his friends. Filled with the desire to kill the enemy, he throws his spear. Without any effort, it pierces the leader of the stowaways. Juju and Su Nuanuan slowly rise from the ground, looking at the bodies of their enemies. Jiang Kai approaches the girl, asking if she is okay. She says that she is fine, but Juju is seriously injured. She admits that she can't help him at all. The guy says that he knew that Kai wouldn't abandon them, but that Juju wouldn't be able to go further with them. He falls to the ground, exhausted, thanking the team for all the time they spent together. His eyes slowly close as he says goodbye to Jiang Kai. All this is driving Su Nuanuan hysterical. Jiang Kai, however, suddenly throws the stowaway's body straight at Juju. He says that he deliberately did not finish off the stowaways, so that his allies could gain the necessary experience and recover. Jiang asks Juju not to spare the stowaways and to finish them off. This news makes the main character's allies very happy, because they will become stronger. Smiling, they approach one of the stowaways, intending to finish him off. At this time, there is real chaos in the stowaway center of Country L. All those who killed Jiang Kai and his allies in fear and panic call them cruel. The top brass of City L can't understand how ordinary newcomers dealt with the Fair Dodgers. At the same time, in the City of Gods, the professor reports that Su Nuanuan's team encountered stowaways. This news does not make Su Lanlin, the elder sister, happy at all, causing her to feel uneasy. Commander Wei Ying admits that no one has ever managed to escape from the stowaways. The professor notices that Nuanuan did not die during the battle. This news greatly surprises both the commander and Lanlin. Wei Ying suggests that either they managed to level up or someone helped them. However, the professor rejects these hypotheses and says that Nuanuan has risen 2 levels at once. He admits that it was she who killed the stowaway. Commander Wei Ying drops his glass at this information. He immediately demands to display the data of Su Nuanuan's team on the screen. Together with the professor, they notice that Jiang Kai's level and profession are unknown. Wei Ying notices that Juju and Nuanuan's levels have increased precisely because of killing the stowaways. Lanlin doubts out loud, because her sister is just a healer with no combat skills. Wei Ying agrees that Jiang Kai had a hand in everything. He asks why the main character's profession is not shown, and the scientist begins to talk about a special watch. They provide data and locations of the pioneers, but Jiang Kai's are the oldest and do not display his information. The man commands to collect real information about the young man. At this time, Juju fully recovers his strength. Su Nuanuan also heals all his wounds and rejoices in his new characteristics. Both allies gain new skills that will help them in the fight against the enemy. Jiang Kai just smirked, praising his team and saying that they had become even more powerful now. Juju says that he can now compete with the stowaways, but Kai doesn't take his words seriously. He demonstrates that he has also raised his level, but already to the 4th. It turns out that he has 96 attribute points, which corresponds to the strength of the 8th level. Jiang Kai explains that all this is thanks to the killing of stowaways. While Juju is furious with envy, Nuan asks the protagonist what they should do now. The young man recalls that the captain of the stowaways said that they belong to the 2nd group. Then he says that there is also the 1st group of stowaways that they need to eliminate. Late at night, the 1st group of stowaways discuss the death of the 2nd team. The commander asks everyone to gather because the situation is serious. They conclude that newbies are limited to level 5, so they will have no trouble dealing with everyone. At this moment, the allies observe the squad of stowaways from an ambush. Jiang Kai says out loud that if they don't try to kill the enemy, the other newcomers will be in danger. Leaving his team behind, the protagonist rushes forward. The leader of the 1st team immediately notices this. He asks his subordinates to be on guard and determines that it is a level 4 rookie. Information about this only causes laughter among the ranks of Fair Dodgers. Then the leader smirks, anticipating an easy battle. He gives the order to the stowaways to go into battle and kill the enemy. Jiang Kai changes direction, now running away from them and trying to lure them towards him. According to the original plan, he was supposed to lure out some of the enemies, leaving the other part for the allies. However, with such a large detachment, one cannot expect the plan to be easily implemented. Now the main thing for them is to save themselves, and if possible, kill a few stowaways. Realizing that there is no other way, Jiang Kai stops and turns to face his enemies. Swinging his spear, he rushes straight at the enemy. The stowaways are shocked by Kai's decision and do not understand what is happening. However, Jiang Kai tries to slip past one of the enemies. The stowaway manages to wound the protagonist's shoulder with a knife. Despite being wounded, the protagonist continues to run through the enemy ranks. The rookie hunter team prepares to finish off Jiang Kai. However, he still feels that he has not come close enough. Thanks to his agility, he easily dodges all attacks. The captain of the stowaways tries to analyze the situation. Jiang Kai is only level 4, but he can easily hold his own against a team of level 5s. One of the subordinates takes out his watch to analyze the main character. He says that Jiang Kai's attributes are completely beyond their ability to discern. However, the main character's agility score is approximately 30 points. The captain can't believe his ears, because this is too much for the 4th level. Another stowaway compares the hero to himself, saying that he himself only has 20 points at level 5. The commander admits that the clock could not have been wrong. He notices the smirk on Jiang Kai's face, realizing that they are the ones in danger now. Having weighed all the risks, the man gives the order to the stowaways to flee. They, however, do not understand the full threat, turning their attention to the captain. Jiang Kai laughs and admits out loud that he easily fooled the stowaways. He says they have nowhere to run and a yellow flash appears right above them. Juju suddenly bursts into battle, landing on the ground next to the enemies. With his new powers, his blow is so powerful that it breaks the surface around him and knocks everyone off their feet. The protagonist praises Juju for the work he has done and takes out the pins. He throws them around in a fan, hitting his opponents right in the bodies. Thanks to his agility and new skills, the hero has no trouble dealing with the enemy. After Jiang Kai, the motionless bodies of stowaways remain lying on the ground. Having dealt with them, he exhales calmly and a little tiredly. Juju noted in surprise that Jiang Kai had eliminated 9 level 5s in an instant. Jiang Kai finally reaches level 5, further increasing his stats. Sun Wanwen says out loud that the hero has reached the limit in the beginner zone. After Jiang Kai's attacks, there are a few surviving stowaways, whom he offers to finish off with his friends. He says that now he has no need to win, because he has reached the limit, and therefore he will help his allies. The guys are sincerely happy that now they too will become stronger. They continue their journey through the forest as a friendly team. However, the closer they get to the finish line, the more ferocious the monsters become. A piercing sound comes from the forest, causing the players to stop. They move forward and see several bodies of humanoid monsters. Looking closely, they notice many bites on the monster's body. Jiang Kai uses his ghost eye focus skill. He says he saw a strange golden color in the distance. Immediately after this, a ball resembling a golden comet suddenly flies out towards them. He rushes straight at the heroes with monstrous speed. Sun Wanwen is hit and is wounded within a second. Juju also doesn't stand aside and manages to block some of the blows. After this, the ball rushes towards the main character. He, not understanding what is happening, tries to react to the situation. The wounded Sun Wanwen and Juju try to warn Jiang Kai of the danger. Suddenly, a bright golden flash appears right in front of the main character. The hero examines his hand, in which he caught the hamster. Once captured, the creature makes a frightened and guilty expression. Juju and Sun Wanwen are surprised by Jiang Kai's reaction speed. He looks at the captured animal, calling it only an ordinary mouse. The hamster tries to respond with aggression, but the main character obviously cannot understand him. The boy unclenches his hand and releases the creature into freedom. It, however, instantly becomes angry and glows golden. Intent on taking revenge on his captor, the mouse accelerates to a tremendous speed and flies straight towards Jiang Kai. Fearing for his friend, Juju tries to shout to Jiang Kai. However, he once again catches the mouse in his hand, not allowing him to go anywhere. After this, the hero lets him go, saying that he is too slow. Some more time passes, during which the mouse gains speed and is caught a large number of times. Sun Wanwen and Juju are watching this, but they can't even keep up with the speed of what's happening. After a few minutes, the mouse stops trying to attack the main character. Juju still can't believe his eyes when he sees Jiang Kai's incredible speed. The main character considers the mouse a valuable ally. He tells Sun Wanwen to find the corpses and collect experience from them, and he places the mouse on his shoulder. At this time, someone unknown finally arrives in the newcomer zone. He, hidden by a cloak, approaches the city of Shengyao. Several guards armed with spears come out to meet him. They congratulate the newcomer on successfully passing the test. However, one of them says that the boy is not the first in the ranking. The man grins as he shows off a huge number of cards with monster corpses. The guards are genuinely surprised by the huge number of defeated monsters. The guy introduces himself as the second in the Huang family, who will be the next head of the guild, and has undergone special training. One of the guards immediately ranks Huang Wei among the top 10 in the city in terms of power. In response to this, Huang Wei spreads his arms, saying that he will definitely become great. He openly says that he wants to subjugate the entire Devil Star to his power. Somewhere deep in the rookie zone, Jiang Kai's team continues on its way. The hero notices that they have been wandering around the area for a long time, but have not encountered a single monster. Jiang Kai jokingly suggests that it is the mouse that is scaring away the creatures. However, they suddenly hear a terrible sound coming from the forest. Without wanting to, the allies come across a pack of twilight wolves. Behind the normal individuals, a huge silhouette begins to appear. The heroes are confronted by the boss of the newbie zone, the king of the twilight wolves. In a panic, the heroes huddle together, realizing that they are in a difficult situation. Slowly but surely, the wolves surround the pioneers. Juju recalls that the king of the northern wolves is the strongest boss in the newbie zone. Kai realizes that there are too many enemies and that he will be able to escape, but his allies will not. Jiang Kai then decides to fight to the death and tells his friends that they will have to break through. He tells his friends that they need to kill the Wolf King as quickly as possible. Juju gathers his strength to help Jiang Kai. Using his skills, he suddenly jumps up, intending to fall right on the Wolf King. He accelerates and hits the ground but misses the monster. At this time, Sun Wanwen gives the team all the support he can. Jiang Kai then uses the Ghost Eye Focus skill to strike. Jiang Kai's attack is heading straight towards the Twilight Wolf King. The creature, however, easily withstands such a blow. The heroes are very surprised, because they expected to finish off the enemy as quickly as possible. The wolf growls angrily, trying to deal with the newcomers. The Twilight Wolves, set on by the leader, attack them directly. They mercilessly bite into the flesh of the pioneers. With the last of his strength, Jiang Kai tries to defend himself with his pins. The sounds of the battle cause the little mouse, who had been lying in the hood all this time, to wake up. He notices a whole pack of wolves rushing at him. The animal then springs up and fills with energy, jumping into the air. Because of the wolves that attacked him, the little mouse is very angry and overflowing with energy. With great speed, he begins to fly through the ranks of enemies. Filled with rage, the little mouse maims one wolf after another. Due to the extreme speed, the severity of the wounds is enough to disable the wolves. Using his observation skills, Jiang Kai notices that the mouse was able to injure the boss. Then he decides to put pressure on the left wound and attack in the same place. He releases the pin at high speed, hoping to finish off the monster. The projectile hits the wound directly, causing severe pain to the enemy. After this, Jiang Kai swings a second time to finish off his opponent. The projectiles that hit receive a critical hit effect, which is enough to finish off the boss. In shock, the allies, shielding themselves from the brightness of the blow, notice that the protagonist has killed the Wolf King. He himself doesn't believe what he just did with his own hands. A notification appeared from the system, congratulating him on defeating the boss. Deprived of their leader, the wolves retreated in fear. Kai's friends notice that the wolves are starting to leave. The boy asks Juju and Sunwanuan if they can continue fighting. Having received an affirmative answer, he suggests that his allies finish off the surviving wolves. Although the friends are exhausted, they agree to deal the final blow to the enemy. Juju activates his martial arts skills, killing the wolves. Sunwanuan in turn supports him with her healing magic. Jiang Kai provides support to his team by exterminating wolves with his spear. Together, the heroes form a strong and united team. Fully immersed in the battle, Jiang Kai destroys the enemy. After some time, they manage to defeat every single wolves. Then they collect a large stock of points to improve their position in the ranking. Afterwards, they finally arrive at the territory of Shengyao City on the Devil Star. At an unexpected moment, the little mouse deftly runs away from Kai. However, he decides not to catch the animal, releasing it into freedom. They enter the reception room in the rookie testing area. Jiang Kai finds the captain of the guard and asks him to look at the rankings. However, Huang Wei comes out to him, addressing the hero as his employee. Jiang Kai admits that he never expected to see his friend here. In the ranking, Huang Wei ends up at the very top, which makes him very happy. His boasting makes the protagonist laugh in front of the crowd. Jiang Kai recalls that Huang Wei often pestered his younger sister. He squeezes his hand, remembering how this guy often bullied him. Juju tries to intervene, but Jiang Kai stops him. The guy says that the rating will be changed in the very near future. For a moment, there is complete silence in the hall. And after that, people start laughing even harder at Jiang Kai. In response, the main characters grin and show them a huge number of defeated monsters. The spectacle shown greatly surprises all the people gathered. Huang Wei wonders out loud how many monsters they managed to kill. In addition, Huan also notices the defeated Twilight Wolves. The Twilight Wolf King is also defeated. However, Huang Wei doesn't even want to believe it, because defeating such a boss shouldn't be possible for beginners. In response, Jiang Kai only smirked because the ranking would still be changed. The ranking update starts airing live and Huang Wei checks his watch. He sees that their team has indeed made it into the top 3 pioneers. Jiang Kai says that's not all and reaches into his pocket. He throws out a bunch of items he picked up from the bodies of stowaways. Even the city guards are shocked that the stowaways have been defeated. Huang Wei, however, only calls Jiang Kai and his team liars. His speech is supported by the people gathered around. Then Huang Wei advises to cancel the points of Kai's team, believing that they are lying. The guards, however, are in no hurry to take any action. An unknown person enters the hall and tells everyone to calm down, saying that there really were ticketless people. The man turns out to be the deputy commander-in-chief named Lu Jun, who offers to reward Kai and his friends. Then the assembled men are shocked, because the words about the killing of stowaways turn out to be true. The man offers to increase Kai's reward by giving him additional equipment. He explains that the equipment rank has been increased from B to A for Kai's friends. The main character himself will receive S-rank equipment, the best possible. The team is sincerely happy with the new awards, and the fact that they managed to increase their rating. The assembled players, however, are in shock due to the enormous envy. On the Devil's Star, there is a scale of equipment from F to S ranks. B and C rank equipment are considered to be decent, while A rank is considered to be rarer. S rank equipment is considered to be something that all players generally want to get their hands on. Huang Wei cannot accept his defeat, accusing Jiang Kai of injustice. He insults the protagonist's family, calling them lower class. Then Huang Wei rushes to attack, despite the guard's warnings. He calls his brother Kai sick and his sister just a pathetic cleaning lady. At first, Jiang Kai only remains silent, not saying a word in response. Then Huang Wei continues to provoke him, saying that his words are the pure truth. In response to this, Jiang Kai instantly wounds Huang Wei with his spear. The protagonist's agility is so great that Juan doesn't even notice the injury at the very beginning. The assembled characters cannot believe their eyes, because they thought Juan was much stronger. However, the deputy commander-in-chief only grins approvingly. Someone from the crowd tries to condemn Jiang Kai's behavior. Huang Wei himself, bleeding, continues to threaten the protagonist. However, he says that Juan deserved his fate. He slowly approaches the guy sitting on the floor, and no one stops him. Jiang Kai clutches the spear and raises it above Huang's head, and Huang begs the hero for mercy. The main character is not going to spare his offender and attacks with his spear. The weapon plunges straight into the body of the future guild leader, piercing him right through. The system offers him to absorb the experience collected by Huang Wei. He calls Huang Wei poor because he only collected 6 experience points. The crowd calls Huang Wei a brave but reckless man. Lu Jun notes the protagonist's composure and amazingness. He says out loud that Jiang Kai killed his enemy in self-defense and suggests that the matter be closed. After this, the man invites Kai's entire team to follow him. After a while, they find themselves in a small, beautiful gazebo. The deputy commander-in-chief invites the boys to inspect their new equipment. Sunuanuan receives the Jade of Life, which is an important artifact for healers. The man explains that the stone increases strength of spirit and constitution, which greatly affects healing. Juju receives new armor at his disposal. This rhinoceros leather gear increases defense and reduces damage taken. In anticipation, Jiang Kai opens the box containing his equipment. He discovers an unidentified piece of equipment, which consists of 9 daggers. Lu Jun is surprised that the equipment cannot be identified, and suggests that an ID is needed. He says that for very good equipment you need a certificate and shows his. After this, the system finally shows the characteristics of the weapon, which turns out to be extremely powerful. The deputy commander thinks that the equipment is useless for Jiang Kai, since beginners usually have weak critical damage. Sunwanuan and Juju are upset for the protagonist because they think he got bad equipment. Lu Jun says he can replace the equipment, but Jiang Kai quickly says it's fine. He says the gear he received suits him perfectly. The hero examines his new weapon and realizes that he is very lucky. Now his critical damage will be not 2 times but 200 times. However, the frequency of such a critical hit leaves much to be desired. In addition, these blades increase the hero's speed after each use. Jiang Kai triumphantly raises the weapon above himself, genuinely happy with his acquisition. Smiling, the deputy commander-in-chief says that he can keep the weapon. Before leaving, the man warns that a hunt may begin for Kai. He says that for safety reasons he will accompany the hero home. After some time, Jiang Kai finds himself on the ground, in a poor area of Zhangjiang City. Pleased, he rides his bicycle down the street. He notices the many expensive cars that are not typical for this area. However, Jiang Kai decides to ignore this and gets off his bike. Pleased and unaware of trouble, he comes home and greets his family. But a moment later, he sees a stranger in the room. Along with him, there are many other people in the room. The man turns out to be Huang Da, Wei's older brother. Jiang Kai tries to retreat but is grabbed by the shoulders from behind. Brute force brings him to his knees in his own home. Huang Da, bat in hand, approaches the protagonist, saying that his brother is now undergoing treatment from a psychiatrist. He tells Jiang Kai that he never ever dared to do this to the Huang family. Jiang Kai has dishonored Huang Wei, and therefore his elder brother will also dishonor the protagonist. He swings his bat furiously to maim Jiang Kai. Realizing that the boy has no powers on Earth, Kai only looks at Huang Da helplessly. Suddenly, the door is torn off its hinges and falls on 2 members of the Huang family. They fly away, and Huang Da loses his balance and falls to the floor. The commander-in-chief and Su Lanlin enter the room. The man says Jiang was warned about this, and that he should have listened more carefully. The girl orders no one to move because the military is already here. The Huang family is very surprised by what is happening, since even the command stands up for Kai. The commander-in-chief lights a cigarette, saying that they shouldn't have touched the main character. In response, Huang Da, covered in sweat from fear, steps back. Jiang Kai slowly rises to his feet after being attacked. He glances at the commander, realizing that he has come for him. After some time, Huang Da and the rest of the family are detained. Standing on the balcony, the boy thanks people for their help. Wei Ying says that they didn't come just like that, because he and his friends showed good results. After leaving the squad, Juju and Sun Wanuan were invited to military service. Therefore, Wei Ying invites Jiang Kai into the army as a representative of a new profession. Su Lanlang asks if Jiang Kai knows anything about the emergence of new professions. She explains that every time a profession changes, the attributes change too. His profession is considered new, and therefore he is invited to join the army. However, the girl tells him not to worry and that they are not rushing things. If he agrees to join the army, the command will pay for his brother's medical expenses. After this, Wei Ying and Su Lanlan slowly walk away, hoping to recruit the guy. However, he almost immediately responds with a decisive refusal. The sudden refusal shocked the people, because they were confident that they could convince Jiang Kai. He says he understands every pioneer's desire to join the army. However, he calls himself a different person with a different profession. The hero recalls the story of the emergence of the profession of a drunkard, when the military were passionate about the profession and helped them in everything. and when they discovered that drunks did not produce the desired effect, they simply got rid of them. Jiang says his family will leave this land as soon as possible to avoid any risks. According to him, they are used to taking their destiny into their own hands and not relying on outsiders. Su Lanlin tries with all her might to convince the guy, because his profession can help the world. However, he says he only wants to protect his family. Wei Ying stops Lanlan, telling her not to interfere anymore. He understands that a person cannot change a habit in a few days that he has been cultivating for many years. The commander says that in the future the hero will not fight alone. He then proposes a bet in which the military will guard Kai's family for the next month. If he can save up for his brother's operation in a month, he will not join the army. Otherwise, he will be forced to join their ranks, and Jiang Kai accepts the bet. Then he decides to return to the Devil's Star as soon as possible to save up for his brother's treatment. As long as the family is in danger from the Huang clan, he can't leave them alone. He will have to try very hard to collect the required amount. He arrives in the City of Gods on the Devil's Star. Jiang Kai dons new equipment to fight more effectively. However, he first decides to join a guild so as not to fight alone. Encouraged, he enters the guild building, expecting to find the team. The girl recognizes him and immediately says that he cannot join the guild. She explains that the Huang family has blacklisted him. The girl only suggests that the hero fight alone, leaving him speechless. He later arrives at the outskirts of the safe zone where the player selection takes place. He wanders around the area, realizing that none of the guilds will accept him. A female voice addresses him, asking where he is going. The girl introduces herself as a fortune teller who can help him determine the zone. However, Jiang Kai wants to leave quickly, saying that he doesn't believe in such a thing. Gradually, she reduces the price from 100 coins to 30, and then she says that she will do everything for free, and then Kai suddenly shows interest. With a displeased look on her face, she takes out special equipment from her inventory. She studies Jiang Kai with her magic to offer him an adventure zone. The girl invites the main character to go to the Ruler's Valley. Usually all newcomers earn their experience in the Ash Plain, so there is a risk of persecution from the Huang family there. The mountain pass is usually visited by travelers of level 15 and above. The Valley of the Ruler was created for level 10 travelers, but Jiang Kai's strength is enough for the current level. Plus, the Huang family won't even think about looking for the main character there. He thanks the fortune teller and quickly sets off on his way. The girl is genuinely surprised that he went there without a team. After some time, Jiang Kai arrives at the Ruler's Valley. He is extremely curious about how strong the monsters are in this place. Almost immediately, he hears a roar coming from behind him. He discovers humans fighting giant apes. The squad holds on with all their might, trying not to die from the monsters. Giant apes are level 11 and are a very dangerous enemy. The commander orders to make as much effort as possible to defeat the enemy. Jiang Kai watches the battle from afar. However, he senses something strange nearby. He turns around and sees 3 giant monkeys to his left. Jiang Kai quickly jumps away to avoid being hit by the enemy. The guy analyzes the enemy and sees that they are levels 12, 13, and 14. At this time, the human team finally defeats one level 11 monkey and celebrates their victory. They are happy that they were able to defeat such an enemy, even though they themselves are at level 10. The captain agrees, as suddenly a column of dust rises behind them. The team turns around to see Jiang Kai being chased by 3 monkeys. The protagonist assumes that he accidentally wandered into their territory. The players say that the man needs help, but the captain does not want to risk his team. He gives the order to his subordinates to run away. Suddenly, the 12th level monkey is killed. Jiang Kai uses his daggers in battle for the first time, smirking. Players watch in shock as one man takes on 3 giant apes. The enraged monsters rush to attack Jiang Kai, intending to avenge their fallen kinsman. Jiang Kai turns around and throws his daggers at the remaining monkeys. He kills one of them with this blow, leaving only a level 14 monkey. The most powerful monster of all continues to pursue the main character. The captain of the human team doesn't believe that Jiang Kai can defeat such a monster. The main character himself admits that his physical strength is running out. Then he decides to unleash a hail of knives and pins on the enemy. All the projectiles rush towards the monkey at deadly speed. They pierce the monster's body, causing severe pain in its body. The level 14 giant monkey is defeated by a critical hit from the blades. The captain understands from the outside that their team of 12 people could not cope with such a task. Jiang Kai walks past the monkey corpses, collecting his weapons back. In addition, he takes all the corpses of his enemies to become stronger. Without saying anything, he quickly leaves the area, leaving the people alone. The team captain calls Jiang Kai a great man and regrets that he ran away so quickly. At this time, on the Ash Plain, people are surrounded. The Huang family's level 20 squad is searching through the newcomers, trying to find Jiang Kai. One of the warriors grabs the fortune teller by the neck and lifts her off the ground. The confused fortune teller asks why they need Jiang Kai. They explain to her that the boy provoked the Huang family with his antics. In response, she directly says that the main character is now in the Ruler's Valley. The man lets her go, saying that if she lied, they will kill her. The girl says to herself that fortune tellers will never tell the truth to rude people. She says that she made a special hexagram, according to which the people who went to Jiang Kai will die. A tool like a hexagram cannot lie. A day later, Jiang Kai has already killed 16 giant monkeys and raised his level to 6. He understands that the corpse of such a monkey can be sold for a very large sum. Someone calls out to him, inviting him to join them. Behind him, Jiang Kai finds a whole team of pioneers. They say that if he joins them, he will gain access to elite treasures. Jiang Kai is suspicious of this proposal. However, the man tries to persuade him to join their squad. After a while, they climb up onto a long ledge. The man points out several level 15 giant apes at the bottom of the slope to Jiang Kai. The commander divides the assembled people into 3 teams and tells the main character that they cannot cope without him. Jiang Kai's goal will be to attract the attention of one of the monkeys while the teams fight the remaining ones. As a reward, Jiang Kai is promised an elite chest with good treasures. However, the main character clearly understands that no one wants to think about his safety. Nevertheless, the boy agrees to such an adventure. Then the commander gives the order, and all teams go into battle. Jiang Kai rushes ahead of everyone to attract the enemy. The monkeys wake up from the screams of people and rise to their feet. Jiang Kai then swings his sword, deftly avoiding the monster's attack. It flies right past the enemy's head, then lands on the ground. With these actions, he manages to distract one of the monkeys. One of the people praises Jiang Kai, calling him a good fellow. The remaining people, one by one, enter into battle with the giant apes. A fierce fight begins between them, and the pioneers use all their strength. At this time, Jiang Kai continues to lure one of the monkeys to him. The elite giant monkey is much stronger than the usual one, and therefore almost catches up with the hero. However, he stops and attacks the enemy with daggers, intending to finish him off. Multiple blades pierce the monster's body, causing injury. Immediately after this, the monster dies in agony from the injuries it received. Thus, the hero manages to defeat the elite level 15 giant monkey. The hero is lucky again because he again gets a critical hit, killing the monkey. At this moment, a team of people is fighting monsters nearby. Behind them, Jiang Kai appears from the fog, in no hurry to join the fight. He slowly enters a certain cave, ignoring any attention from the outside. There, his gaze falls upon a chest that is quite easy to reach. Jiang Kai walks up to the chest and notes that it was clearly worth the risk. However, right above the hero hangs a huge monkey, whose saliva drips onto Kai's body. The enemy furiously attacks the main character and he barely manages to dodge. Jiang Kai identifies the enemy as a level 20 elite monkey, and is surprised at the monster's presence here. He concludes that the monster deliberately set a trap here. Slowly but inexorably, the monster comes closer and closer. Jiang Kai hurriedly throws his dagger straight into the monkey's belly. However, she easily repels the protagonist's attacks, and knives cannot pierce the monster's skin. Jiang Kai realized that he couldn't do any damage to such an enemy. The giant monkey swings his arm to strike the main character. Jiang Kai doesn't have time to dodge, and the monster hits him with all its force. His body slams into the rock, causing Jiang Kai to cough and try to catch his breath. He is bleeding and is starting to feel very dizzy from the wounds he received. If a character dies on the Devil's Star, they must wait a whole month to return here. Slowly and inexorably, the monster brings its prey to its mouth, smiling contentedly. Jiang Kai does not resist and thinks that he should have joined the army to help his family. Absorbed in such thoughts, he closes his eyes. At this moment, he remembers the incident when his older brother saved his life. Although both brothers were wounded, the elder did everything to save the younger. On that day, monsters attacked civilians on Earth, killing all defenseless citizens. Remembering this, Jiang Kai begins to scold himself for showing weakness. Slowly, the giant monkey opens its mouth and brings the main character to it. Then he materializes one of his magical daggers in his hand. However, the giant ape swallows it anyway and closes its jaw. A moment later, the monster's head explodes into pieces, spraying blood all around. The giant monkey's powerless body falls to the ground with a crash. Jiang Kai slowly rises from the corpse, happy that he had the foresight to attack the enemy from within. After this, the hero slowly makes his way to the elite treasure chest. He smirks, anticipating a quick and swift reward for what he had to go through. Half an hour later, the human team defeats the third monkey and celebrates their victory. They enter the boss cave expecting to find their well-deserved reward there. However, they see only an empty room, in which there is neither a chest nor an enemy. The squad leader screams in rage, not understanding what is happening. A subordinate approaches him and says that Jiang Kai might have entered the cave and taken the chest. The man says that he might have imagined it, which is why he didn't say anything about it right away. Frustrated, the pioneers begin to demand their well-deserved reward from the commander. In response, he screams in rage that they were fooled by some boy. At this time, on the other side of the valley, the ruler Jiang Kai is examining the trophy he received. He opens his inventory and finds a chest there to finally open it. Inside the chest, he finds many valuable and expensive-looking things. This amount of useful ore and equipment will bring him a fortune. In addition, he finds a cloak unknown to him in the chest. At the bottom of the chest, he finds strange gloves with a flame symbol on the hands. After this, he feels much better, and assumes that the equipment increases his agility and strength. For fun, he decides to start a fight to test his new equipment. Within a second, he fires his pins, noticing an interesting feature. The gloves have caused flames to appear on them that can set enemies on fire. This ability greatly intrigues Jiang Kai, as it makes him even more dangerous. There are many types of flames on the Devil Star that can damage the enemy. A simple flame will not cause any serious consequences for the enemy. However, from the forest, the main character hears a menacing roar. 4 elite giant monkeys emerge from the forest at once. Jiang Kai guesses that it was the attack with his gauntlets that attracted so much attention. Just now he had difficulty dealing with one, and now there were 4 elite monkeys at once. As soon as one of the enemies opens its mouth, Jiang Kai throws his dagger into it. With a loud sound, the monster slams its mouth shut, repelling the projectiles flying into it. Jiang Kai is unpleasantly surprised that monsters can block their weak points. Due to the attack, the monsters only become more ferocious as they approach the main character. However, flames begin to appear on their bodies, which burn them. Jiang Kai decides to try to escape from the enemy in order to gain an advantage. However, one by one, the monkeys are taking constant damage from the burning. Although the damage is small, it easily penetrates the armor of monsters. Suddenly, one of the monkeys suddenly dies in a pillar of flame, taking 2,000 damage at a time. The death of the monster is accompanied by terrible agony and a roar that it makes for the last time. The other elite giant apes look at the corpse of their fellow ape with incomprehension. Jiang Kai can't believe that the fire is so strong. One by one, the other monkeys also begin to take damage from the flames. They also burn one by one, receiving fatal damage from the elements. Kai, not believing his eyes, looks at the corpses of the elite monkeys lying in front of him. Then Jiang Kai noticed that the damage from the flames was 2,000 points, not the standard 10. He smirks as he looks down at his gloves, which increase his critical damage and flame damage. The flame does not touch the monster's defense, killing it from the inside and ignoring armor. With this enhancement, Jiang Kai becomes a very formidable enemy. He smirks, realizing that he will now always be able to break through the defense. That night, a terrible fire began in the ruler's valley, consuming the forest. All the giant monkeys in the forest became victims of a real genocide. The monsters had never seen a normal person kill them so easily with just a simple flame. Many of the monkeys tried to escape the punishment, but they failed. It felt like there was a real demon at work in the valley. The next day, only charred branches remained in the ruler's valley. In just one evening, Jiang Kai had raised his level to 7. He notices that the damage from the gloves has become even higher, and assumes that at level 20, no one will be able to defeat him. Jiang Kai now has 10 elite chests and many monkey corpse cards. However, before he goes and sells all the items, he misses the time with Juju and Sun Wanwan. At the same time, his friends and former partners are also in the ruler's valley. For several days, they were unable to encounter a single giant ape. A man addresses them and orders them to stop chatting. It turns out to be the pioneer Li Bao, a rider with a level 38th. He says that even if Jiang Kai had helped them today, they would still be weak. Li Bao orders the soldiers to continue searching for the giant apes. Days later, the Huang family's team in the ruler's valley only encounters a few monkeys. They have absolutely no problems against such an enemy. The team that Jiang Kai met in the valley appears next to them, and its captain speaks of Jiang Kai's power. The people of the Huang family don't believe the words that a low-level person managed to defeat 3 monkeys in a row. The captain just wants to continue his meal and not prove anything to them. Then the man from the Huang family shows them a portrait of the main character, and asks if they have seen anyone like him. The entire team confirms that this is the man who single-handedly defeated the monkeys. No one believes them anyway, saying that Jiang Kai is just a simple level 5 newbie. The captain then advises them to go and check for themselves, and says that he saw Jiang Kai coming out of the valley. The Huang family members are overjoyed to learn that Jiang Kai is nearby. They gather their weapons and set out, determined to complete their mission. However, the team that fought the monkeys does not believe in their success at all. At this time, on the outskirts of the ruler's valley, people form a camp. They complain that none of them could find a single giant ape. At this time, Jiang Kai passed by them, who had collected even more elite chests and monster corpses over these 3 days. From the crowd, someone calls out to the main character, calling him by name. The Huang family's squad finally catches up with him and starts threatening him. Jiang Kai does not show any fear or anxiety in front of his enemies. Then one of the opponents takes his sword out of its sheath, intending to deal with the hero. Their entire squad is preparing for the fight they have been waiting for so long. Jiang Kai easily dodges enemy attacks thanks to his extreme agility. None of them, however, intend to give in to the main character. Then he takes out several daggers at once, filling them with the element of flame. Without hesitation, he throws them at the enemy, planning to kill as many as possible. The shells fly past the enemies, not hitting them at first glance. Huang's squad begins to take damage from the flames, but they only scoff, thinking it's just normal flames. The fight continues right in front of a bunch of people in the camp, who are watching what is happening with interest. Jiang Kai only smirked at the enemy's words, because soon the flames should start to cause colossal damage. This is what happens, and one of the squad members begins to lose 2,000 health points. In less than a second, his body is engulfed in hot and merciless flames. In fear, the allies of the Huang family try to shout to their captain, but he cannot answer them because of the intense agony that the flame causes. Following him, other people begin to burn, receiving increased damage. Each of them is engulfed in intense fire within a few seconds. With their last strength, they try to scream and run away from the flames. However, none of them managed to survive such a horrific attack. None of the pioneers around believed in Jiang Kai, so they didn't even realize what had just happened. The protagonist mercilessly collects his weapon back, saying that he accepts the challenge of the Huang family. He is ready to fight back anyone who dares to attack him. Only now do those around him realize that the newcomer has dealt with a level 20 elite. They try to study the main character's characteristics, but they only see level 12. Some call Jiang Kai the god of flame, who relies on his equipment to kill everyone around him. After absorbing the pioneer level, Jiang Kai's level increases to 14. He turns to the artificial intelligence, asking why others do not see his characteristics. The girl explains that it is all thanks to his profession, which deliberately hides the elevated indicators. After receiving this information, Jiang Kai quickly leaves the pioneer camp. He returns to the Shengyao City exchange shop. There he is met by a girl who out of boredom just lies on the table and does nothing. Jiang Kai opens his inventory and asks to count the price of all his items. Not expecting to see anything important or expensive, the girl is amazed by the number of monster corpses collected. Jiang Kai tells the girl that there is more to come as he opens another inventory tab. He shows a whole pile of elite chests that he managed to collect. Jiang says he has collected a total of 19 elite chests. The girl thinks to herself that the main character is a professional hunter because of the number of things. She asks Jiang Kai not to worry and says that she will calculate everything today. After some time, she reports that the corpses can be sold for 10, and the chests for 170,000. In total, Jiang Kai will receive 180,000 coins. Since one Devil Star coin is worth 10 Shengyao coins, the protagonist will be able to pay off all the medical expenses. With a smile, he realizes that he has already won the bet with Commander-in-Chief Wei Ying. Behind him, he hears a familiar voice and turns around in surprise. He is caught up by a fortune teller who predicted the direction of his adventure. He sincerely thanks the fortune teller for her work, and then she asks for a favor. She introduces herself as Hu Yan and asks to join the team. Jiang Kai is not at all happy with this idea, turns around and tries to leave. The fortune teller says that even the military considers her profession to be the most useless. She then says that this is her last time entering the Devil Star, and offers Jiang Kai to take her equipment for free. He tries to find out more about her and motivate her to continue working. The girl admits that she will never be able to earn money with such a profession. When the military decided that being a feng shui master was an important profession, Hu Yan reached level 20 and retrained as a fortune teller. Feng shui masters had strong perception that helped in battle, while fortune tellers could only predict destinies. And then the military decided to abandon fortune tellers, because they did not have combat skills. For a long time she tried to make money, but she was not successful at all. Even after returning to Earth, she will be able to work as a laborer and earn more money. Jiang Kai tells her about his problems, showing that she is not alone. Hu Yan says that she also has a brother and sister on Earth, so she can't give up. Her behavior reminds Jiang Kai of his beloved older brother. It is at this moment that the hero realizes that their fates are very similar. Like his older brother, Hu Yan also sought to develop on the Devil Star for the sake of her family. But the brother decided to give up his dream after he was given the responsibility of looking after the family. The fortune teller interrupts the protagonist's thoughts, saying that she is ready to give him her equipment. However, Jiang Kai asks her to wait, forcing her to stop. He says he's going to pass out now, but then he hopes to meet her again and form a team. These words deeply cut into Hu Yan's heart, causing her to blush. Her legs are shaking a little, and she sees off Jiang Kai with tears of happiness. The girl can't contain her joy and hugs the main character. Some of the pioneers watch in amazement at the scene that unfolds before their eyes. After some time, Jiang Kai returns home to his family. He says that neither brother nor sister will have to work anymore. The sister asks if this money is even legal, which makes her brother a little angry. The older brother assumes that the younger brother had a very hard time. Jiang Kai is a little embarrassed and says that his elder brother had it much worse. He asks his elder brother not to worry and let Jiang Kai take care of them. Then they drink together to their strong family and to their health. Suddenly, Commander Wei Ying calls Jiang Kai on the phone. He says that he won the bet and asks if the hero is free now. Wei Ying says that he will send someone for the protagonist because he needs to see something. They go beyond the Shengyao safe zone, onto the battlefield. He sadly notes the ruins that the city of his childhood has become. Finally, Jiang Kai meets with the army commander-in-chief. Suddenly, the building they are in starts shaking. The protagonist turns around to see the cause of this earthquake. His gaze is met with the sight of a huge divine beast walking around the city. 3 pioneers who gained powers on Earth attack him directly. This surprises Jiang Kai because he has never seen a man fight a beast. Each person who reaches level 20 occupies a certain place in the table. Once they reach level 80, pioneers can transfer their powers to Earth. Then the abilities that can only be used on the Devil Star can help cleanse the Earth. The 3 people who were currently fighting the divine beast had gained their power in this way. Each of them is an extremely strong pioneer, capable of fighting against divine beasts. Gathering together, they attack the monster with all their strength. They manage to inflict wounds of great severity on the monster. Jiang Kai is genuinely amazed by such power, feeling a little envious of them. Wei Ying shares the protagonist's joy, saying that it is an ordinary beast, but the commander-in-chief admits that they have too few awakened at their disposal. He tells Jiang Kai that the situation is not good and that he is no longer safe. Then Wei Ying asks the hero to join the army again, even though he won the bet. The man says that he has agreed on everything with the Huang family, and they will not touch him and his loved ones. The commander-in-chief takes care of the hero in a fatherly manner, attributing everything to intuition. Jiang Kai tries to digest the information and it starts to rain. The commander admits that the protagonist can become the strongest pioneer. He puts a little pressure on Kai, saying that each person is responsible for what happens. The man says he has already come to terms with the fact that he will die in battle, but he still has to take care of people. Wei Ying says that he is willing to die for his homeland to save people. The man does not force Jiang Kai to join the army, but asks him very strongly to do so. The protagonist's strength will mean a lot in the upcoming battle for Shengyao. After this conversation, the main character rested on Earth for a few days and returned to the Devil's Star. He reflects on the words that the commander-in-chief spoke to him. The protagonist decides to think about everything later, intending to deal with other monsters. Next on his list is the Banshee, which is an elite monster. Most of the Banshee's attacks are damaging, and she can immobilize opponents. Jiang Kai concludes that he needs the help of a teammate to fight such an enemy. At this time, Hu Yan is standing in the square, half asleep, waiting for Jiang Kai. He finally finds her, asking if she has been waiting for him since he was disconnected. The girl happily says that she has finally waited for him. She says that thanks to fortune-telling, she found him a very strong partner. Jiang Kai excitedly asks if he is a drunkard. However, Yuan Yu, the new partner, turns out to be the owner of this very profession. Once again, Jiang Kai decides to change his plans and leave the people alone. The fortune-teller tries to convince the hero, saying that Yuan Yu is obedient and hard-working. Hu Yan says that the drunkard will do whatever Jiang Kai wants and asks, and he is also willing to share the rewards. The words about awards are of great interest to the main character. Then he suddenly changes his mind, saying that he would be happy to be his captain. After this, the hero announces that they will now go and defeat the Banshee. Although the hero is extremely confident in their victory, the allies think that he is not thinking clearly. However, they still support him, and the team goes into the forest together. In the Ruler's Valley, they find a lonely hut that belongs to a Banshee. They discover a monster that is in the hut and howling quietly. The monster slowly leaves its refuge, and the team watches it. Jiang Kai asks everyone to be as careful as possible. He reports that Banshees are immune to ranged attacks, so they will need to be within 10 meters of the enemy. Hu Yan approaches the protagonist, but he asks her to be quiet. After some time, Jiang Kai again asks her to calm down, but she admits that she didn't say anything. They slowly turn towards where Yuan Yu should be. Near the bushes, there is a pioneer who has already drunk a fair amount of alcohol. Its sounds and behavior alert the Banshee to the player's party. She jumps incredibly fast and finds herself in close proximity to the heroes. The monster opens its mouth, preparing to use its special attack. Jiang Kai blames Hu Yan for sending him a bad partner. Banshee instantly uses her heartbreaking scream ability on her opponents. The ability seems to pass through the heroes, preventing them from moving and causing them to feel fear. Hu Yan falls to his knees and Jiang Kai is unable to move. Then the ugly Banshee slowly approaches her enemies. She is already stretching out her hands to kill those who dared to step on her territory. However, Yuan Yu suddenly flies straight at her, calling the monster a beauty. He literally sweeps the Banshee away, carrying her away from the rest of her teammates. The pioneer naturally pesters the Banshee because of his alcohol intoxication. Yuan Yu calls the Banshee beautiful and immobilizes her with this behavior. This causes the heroes to regain their ability to move and the debuff disappears. Jiang Kai then intends to attack the monster while she is defenseless and weakened by the drunkard. He throws his throwing weapon, intending to finish off the monster. Multiple daggers are thrust into the Banshee's flesh, causing it to burn. Yuan Yu is completely unaware of what is happening due to his extreme intoxication, distracting the monster. Suddenly, a flame bursts out so strong that Hu Yan tries to cover himself with his hands. The drunkard seems to have taken no damage at all, but has no idea where the Banshee went. At this moment, Jiang Kai and Hu Yan are celebrating their victory over the elite monster. Yuan Yu falls to his knees, lamenting the death of the Banshee, as he had become very attached to her due to the effects of alcohol. He experiences severe moral pain, screaming and crying in anger. Hu Yan explains to the protagonist that the boy has a tendency to fall in love with all sorts of ugly things because of alcohol. The fortune-teller says she will retrieve the trophies from the monster's corpse, while Jiang Kai muses that the drunkard really wasn't afraid of the Banshee. He suggests that Yuan Yu could handle her alone. Jiang Kai admits that he doesn't like the fact that his partner is losing control of himself. However, a slow smile begins to creep across his face. At this time, Hu Yan brings an elite treasure chest to the group leader. The protagonist realizes with a grin that Yuan Yu is a threat to all Banshees. After some time, they find another banshee hut. Hu Yan and Jiang Kai stay away from the monster, leaving all the work to their partner. Yuan Yu, having drunk again, rushes at the banshee, intoxicated by a craving for everything ugly. The monster tries to stop him using his destructive scream. However, due to the nature of his profession, Yuan Yu completely ignores the attack. He crashes into the monster, knocking it to the ground. While Yuan Yu distracts the monster, Jiang Kai prepares to attack it. Just like last time, Jiang Kai throws multiple daggers at the enemy. Distracted by Yuan Yu, the banshee is stabbed several times with daggers. A colossal flame destroys the banshee's body, causing massive damage. Yuan Yu, on the other hand, showers the protagonist with curses for burning the banshee right in front of him again. Jiang Kai and Hu Yan are overjoyed at their quick victory and decide to continue destroying the banshees. Over the next 3 hours, they manage to destroy 11 elite monsters. The guys don't stop there, receiving rich treasures for each banshee. Jiang Kai ignores Yuan Yu's worries, focusing entirely on the banshee. Receiving chest after chest, their team becomes very rich. Having finally collected all the rewards, Jiang Kai acknowledges Yuan Yu's importance in the past clashes. He opens the stats menu and sees that he has advanced to level 14, and Yuan Yu himself is completely absorbed in his experiences and suffering due to his attachment to the slain banshees. Jiang Kai takes out several skill cards that he managed to find in the banshee huts. The first skill turns out to be a spell to summon rain using magic. He says that Hu Yan is the one who should have such a card and gives her a skill, which she doesn't believe at first. She deeply appreciates Jiang Kai's gift and promises to help them in every new battle. Hu Yan is so grateful to the protagonist that she promises to bow to him. While the girl was rejoicing, Jiang Kai took and studied the second skill card. From the description of the card, it is clear that it is a one-time use card and activates a hidden profession skill. He activates the card and gains a hidden skill called Casino Heist. By activating this skill, Jiang Kai will be able to steal his enemy's stats for a period of time. Having learned about this, the main character begins to consider the acquired skill to be completely useless. While Jiang Kai is lamenting his disappointment, Yuan Yu wakes up after drinking. He notices that his heart is aching strangely. Hu Yan reminds him of everything that happened, which makes Yuan Yu feel unwell. As a token of gratitude, Jiang Kai gives Yuan Yu valuable equipment. He praises the guy, saying that without him they would never have dealt with the banshee. After receiving such praise, Yuan Yu refuses the equipment and says that it is enough for him to be with the protagonist. He insists, and then says that Hu Yan also needs her own equipment. In the fortune teller's eyes, the main character began to look like a real prince. This news made Jiang Kai's partners very happy. Together they swear allegiance to the protagonist and say that they will always follow him. Later they come to the exchange shop on the Devil's Star. The girl, having calculated the prices of each of the treasures, declares that the heroes earned 840,000 coins. In exchange for Shengyao coins, Jiang Kai receives 8,400,000 coins. With the money he receives, the young man buys himself equipment that increases his characteristics. The equipment includes, for example, a quality A cloak, which significantly increases agility. Jiang Kai leaves the equipment shop feeling much stronger. Thanks to all the purchased items, many of the hero's attributes increase several times. Suddenly, Yuan Yu approaches the protagonist, carrying something on his shoulder. It turns out that in his right hand he is carrying a log, and in his left hand he is holding one of Jiang Kai's daggers. Suddenly, Yuan Yu throws a Class S dagger at the protagonist with all his might. In a panic, he tries to defend himself, assuming that all this is because of the killing of those banshees. However, the tip of the weapon freezes a few centimeters from Kai's forehead. Yuan Yu shouts a short incantation and throws the log up into the air, closing his eyes. The dagger instantly flies away from Jiang Kai and crashes into a flying log. Yuan Yu shows off the dagger in his hands, saying that he has decided to take care of the protagonist's safety. This fact makes Jiang Kai very happy, because he understands that now he has much less to worry about. Jiang Kai calls his ally very talented, which makes him blush. The protagonist gives his word that he sincerely considers Yuan Yu useful. Suddenly, a strong and bright blue light flashes behind them. Suddenly, a downpour begins to fall from the sky for all the city's inhabitants. It turned out that this was the work of Hu Yan, who decided to try out her new skills. The city is flooded, and numerous citizens are forced to avoid puddles. Jiang Kai suggests that such a technique could become deadly if it were strengthened. After all, rain is a technique of mass destruction that has already caught all passers-by. Hu Yan then says that he will train even harder, which makes Jiang Kai happy. He looks thoughtfully into the distance, realizing that their team has become even stronger. On the street, unknown people mention the Huang family, who will blame them for the delay. Jiang Kai then decides to stop one of the guys, asking what business he has with the Huang family. They explain to him that the Huang family is gathering a huge raid on one of the bosses. Jiang Kai admits with surprise that this is the first time he has heard such news. The unknown team decides to continue on their way to avoid the consequences of delays. Jiang Kai carefully thinks about the words the man told him about the current situation. Each of the resources in the Devil's Land is guarded by a separate boss, and they cannot be obtained simply like that. Boss levels, like gear levels, vary from level to level. So to kill a royal level boss, you need to gather hundreds of thousands of soldiers. He concludes that the Huang family wants to be first so badly. In hope, Jiang Kai wants to believe that the Huang family has decided to mend their ways and stop their evil deeds. He recalls the commander's words that every person is responsible for the ups and downs of this world. The thought that Huang Wei would be the one to risk everything for this world hurts Jiang Kai. After some time, he arrives on an island of permafrost. Along with Jiang Kai, his team also arrives at the site. All of them are exposed to very strong influence of cold. Someone shouts at them, asking which team they are from and saying that it is better not to walk on the lake. Jiang Kai tries to find out why it is forbidden to walk on the lake, which only earns him strange looks from people. Suddenly, the ice beneath the heroes began to slowly crack. A huge fish-like monster emerges from under the thick ice right at them. His attack knocks the main characters off their feet, causing them to fall right onto the ice. This monster is level 22 and will be difficult to fight. The men watching from the slope call Jiang Kai's team complete idiots. At this moment, the monster attacks the main character with its weapon. He, however, does not even plan to retreat and wants to fight the monster. The fish-like creature attacks Jiang Kai, but he dodges it with his skills. After completing the dodge, he takes out his signature weapon and equips it. He thrusts a whole fan of fiery blades into the monster's head. A moment later, his body is engulfed in a powerful hot flame, killing the monster. Such a quick fight took all the observers standing on the slope by surprise. They can't believe their eyes that the newbie dealt with the monster in a matter of seconds. Jiang Kai's critical strike is now capable of dealing 15,000 damage. However, this critical damage rate is considered to be only the lowest. Jiang Kai's level is currently estimated to be 20th. Hu Yan says she took the monster card and Kai tells the team to get up. He asks the figures on the slope where Huang Wei is now. After seeing this, people agree to take the protagonist to his former rival. Jiang Kai approaches the place, thinking that he wants to talk to him alone. Finally, the protagonist sees Huang Wei and greets him with a smile on his face. Huang Wei's face, however, shows no emotion as his hand rests on the handle of his sword. Jiang Kai suggests to Huang Wei to forget all their past differences and defeat the boss together. But the protagonist's proposal for a truce is rejected without further ado. Huang Wei tries with all his might to hit the hero with a sweeping blow, but misses. Jiang Kai tries to explain that he just came to talk. However, he feels that Huang Wei is literally oozing with malice and a thirst for revenge. Huang Wei reproaches the hero for the fact that because of him, the guy had to undergo a long treatment. All this time, he really wanted to take revenge for the public humiliation. But the military forbade touching the hero's family. That was why Huang Wei decided to divert all the pioneers to the boss, so that no one could help Jiang Kai. Upon hearing the true motives of the raid, the protagonist becomes disillusioned with his rival. After a short conversation, Huang Wei charges forward with his sword. He tries furiously to destroy the protagonist, but he can't hit with a single blow. The protagonist's agility allows him to parry attack after attack without straining himself. Realizing that Huang Wei won't change, he decides not to hold back any longer. Huang Wei's henchmen ridicule Jiang Kai's desire to attack their master. One of them notices that Jiang Kai has somehow already managed to reach the 14th level. Suddenly, to everyone's surprise, Huang Wei finds himself engulfed in a bright and deadly flame. He takes massive damage from normal flames without realizing what's happening. Huang Wei tries to call out to his allies, but they are slow to help. Jiang Kai says that their master is dead and orders no one to stand in his way. The flames pass and the barely alive Huang Wei shows signs of life, which his equipment preserved for him. He orders his minions to destroy Jiang Kai, and they are ready to carry out such an order. The main character addresses his enemies with mockery and defiance. He attacks them with daggers, wanting to try out his new technique. However, none of the shells hit their target. This greatly amuses the attackers, who think that Jiang Kai is just a weakling. One of the enemies can't take it anymore and is the first to rush into battle, drawing his sword. Jiang Kai just smirked as he slowly raised his fire glove. Suddenly, the dagger hits the attacker right in the back of the head, returning like a boomerang. After being hit, the man burned in a bright magical flame from the weapon. This turn of events greatly frightened the remaining team. In just 1 second, the 32nd level pioneer is killed. But Jiang Kai doesn't intend to stop there, moving behind one of the people. He uses his new skill once more, intending to finish off another enemy. A moment later, the weapon returns to its owner, injuring a person along the way. A blinding fire appears at the site of the wound, completely engulfing the person. One of the pioneers thinks that Jiang Kai has made a deal with the devil. Huang Wei tries to suggest that the protagonist is only good at long-range attacks. He gives the order to approach Kai and attack him with a melee weapon. Huang Wei is sincere in his belief that his theory is correct after analyzing Jiang Kai's actions. However, 2 more of his partners are burned to death by the hero's weapon. Huang Wei hears the dying screams of one of his henchmen. As he approaches Huang Wei, the protagonist calls his opponents trash. There is not a drop of compassion on his face for those who dared to cross his path. In a panic, Huang Wei tries to understand how Jiang Kai managed to become so strong. Materializing a weapon in his hand, Jiang Kai says that he planned to forget all the grievances. The hero's battle spear appears in his hand and he approaches his enemy. He mercilessly raises his weapon right above Huang Wei's body. With a wicked smile on his face, Jiang Kai says that Huang deserves to die a second time. The spear tip goes straight to Huang Wei's head, who is unaware of the whole situation. The last thing he uttered before he died was a piercing scream that echoed throughout the forest. Jiang Kai notices that after killing his enemies, his level has increased to 17. Suddenly, the system notifies him that for killing travelers, he is receiving the punishment of a bloodthirsty killer. This punishment reveals the location of the main character and increases the experience for his death. The person who receives such punishment becomes the most important target for everyone. Jiang Kai's professional talent increased the severity of the punishment by a full tenfold. He understands that as soon as he dies, he will lose almost 30 characteristic points. He decides to avoid crowded places and find tears of repentance to remove the effect of the punishment. At this time, a meeting of the Huang family members is taking place in the garrison. Someone inside the tents is screaming so loudly that the guards cower in fear. The source of the voice is Huang Wei's father, Huang Tong, who is the head of the Permafrost Island garrison. The elder brother Wan Da asks what they should do now. The man punches and says they need to go to war. His decision is supported with smiles by all the assembled members of the Huang family. At this time, Jiang Kai's team is trying to leave the Permafrost Island. Suddenly, their squad hears strange sounds coming from afar. Jiang Kai assumes that these are the sounds of battle and that the Huang family has started the war. Hu Yan asks Kai to turn around and pay attention to something. The ice on which the three of them are standing begins to crack everywhere. A monster's hand slowly emerges from under the ice onto the surface. The team looks up and notices a huge number of monsters that have awakened. Among them all, they note the mountain animals, which appear to be the most dangerous. The monsters feature a boss of an unknown level known as the Frozen Fish Lord. The entire team feels a strange and strong pressure from the outside, and Yuan Yu admits that he is scared. At this time, Huang Tong appears and tells everyone to prepare for the boss fight. He leads behind him a strong and powerful army of pioneers. Many of them are scared when they see the monster, but they still do not retreat and decide to fight. Finally, the man shouts furiously about the beginning of the great battle. After receiving the order, many warriors immediately rush to attack. Hu Yan suggests that Jiang Kai should get out of here, and she can't believe that the boss is being attacked by 200,000 people at once. However, Jiang Kai says that they are not going anywhere now, which surprises the team. He understands that while the battle is going on, the Huang family cannot control him. The protagonist invites them to watch the boss battle, and they head to the position. At this time, the pioneers continue to battle with a serious enemy. Level 25 monsters attack Devil Star players. The size and strength of the creatures causes many people to begin to feel fear. One of the pioneers is simply swept away by the monsters, knocking him off balance. His body is held up to the creature's mouth as he begs for someone to come to his aid. However, no one helps him, and he is crushed alive by the monster's teeth. The sight they saw caused many people to experience animal fear. At this time, Jiang Kai's team continues to watch the ongoing battle. Jiang notes that until the boss dies, creatures younger than him will continue to spawn. The main thing in all this is not the battle of pioneers with ordinary monsters that look like fish. The main group of pioneers goes straight to the huge boss. The leader of the Huang family intends to use his skills to defeat the monster. He is supported by many allied forces, including healers, who buff him. In addition, his partners attack together with him. Together as a true team, they strike the monster with all their might. There is a huge flash, the brightness of which makes it impossible to see what is happening. Jiang Kai's allies are speechless upon seeing such strength. Jiang Kai, however, orders them to look further despite their fear. The protagonist uses his focusing skill to notice the smallest details. He says that pioneers only look strong from the outside. However, with the help of his skill, he notes that the boss's defense is still not broken. This is also noticed by the pioneers, who are shocked by what is happening. The boss decides not to hesitate and attacks the pioneers in response, swinging his weapon hard. He hits the group of pioneers straight on, sending them flying into the air. Many people lose consciousness, or even die from the wounds they receive. Their bodies fall back to the ground after being thrown up by one blow. The monster only mocks how weak humans are before him. With one blow, the boss manages to kill 8 pioneers, which shocks the onlookers. Jiang Kai notes the astonishing strength of a king-level boss. Another pioneer attacks the creature from the side, intent on revenge. Jiang Kai and Hu Yan begin to openly worry, because before this, the monster dealt with 8 people at once. Despite the difference in strength, the man attacks the monster with his spear. People are preparing themselves for another death to happen before their eyes. There is a loud sound from the impact of weapons on weapons. The tips of the monster's trident and the man's spear touch, and a deadly energy is generated between them. The monster looks at the man from head to toe in bewilderment. Observers see that the unknown man managed to stop the monster's attack. The enraged man asks how the monster dared to kill his comrades. The man turns out to be a spearman named Zhang Fan, who is the strongest in the Xuanwu Guild. He says that no one else will die at the hands of the monster. Using his special talent, Blessing of the Dead, the man attacks the enemy. He manages to break through the boss's strong defense with the first blow. The monster's wound suddenly and sharply begins to bleed. After this, people have a clear and distinct hope for their own victory. One of the people says that everyone died so that Zhang Fei could become more powerful with his skill. Thanks to the Blessing of the Dead, he receives 25% of the power of each deceased. Overwhelmed with new power, Zhang Fei charges at the monster. He attacks him from all sides with his newfound agility. The observers are happy about this outcome of events, because they have no doubt that the battle will end in success. As Zhang Kai's team watches, a strange shadow appears behind them. Hu Yan shouts with all his might and tries to encourage Zhang Fei, believing in his strength. At this moment, a level 25 fishman appeared behind Zhang Kai's team. Players' sensors detect a large number of fish-like monsters due to the attack on the boss. Upon hearing this news, Huang Tong calls the monsters that have arrived a real army. All new monsters have excellent skill ratings and are at least level 30. The commander then decides to ignore the fish and help Zhang Fei defeat the monster. Now the battlefield is divided into 5 different sectors, each of which fights different types of monsters. The leader of the Huang family allocated a large number of people to fight the fish in each of the districts. But if they manage to break through the rear of the pioneers, then an easy victory over the boss cannot be expected. There is a risk of death for people, because the danger of monsters cannot be denied. Huang Tong says that it will take Zhang Fei 30 minutes to defeat the boss. His son looks at a map of the permafrost island, trying to figure out how long it will take for the monsters to arrive. According to him, the monsters will arrive in 10 minutes or a little later. At this time, Zhang Kai protects his team from the sudden threat of a monster. He manages to kill an elite humanoid monster using flame magic. The team says there are too many monsters here and they need to get out of here. But Zhang Kai, with a serious face, expressed his confusion as he looked around at his allies. He looks into the distance at the battle between humans and monsters, and says that the balance of power is being upset. The hero notes that if even one enemy breaks through, people could easily die. The protagonist admits that he would be glad to see the death of the entire Huang family. But then the future of the 200,000 people who went on the raid will not be bright. Wei Ying's, the commander's instructions about responsibility came back to his mind. Exhaling heavily, the protagonist turns his gaze to the blue sky. He tells his team that they simply cannot leave. Zhang Kai wants to bring all the enemies around them onto himself. He takes out his daggers and says with complete confidence that he can handle everyone himself. However, his team does not share his enthusiasm at all. Within 10 minutes, many of the pioneers are killed by monster fish. One of the subordinates suggests to his captain to escape, because there are too many enemies here. Many of the other pioneers support the soldier, saying they don't want to die here. Some of the soldiers, however, flatly refuse to flee from the enemy. The captain says that they should have been attacked by monsters 10 minutes ago. However, he notices that no one has attacked them yet, and there are no enemies even visible on the horizon. One of his subordinates reports that the Huang family did not station troops there at all. The captain says that this only proves that there was one powerful man hiding in the rear. He assumes that someone very strong is currently fighting the monsters. At this moment, several monsters are chasing after Zhang Kai. He uses all his strength to attract the enemy's attention and draw them away. He managed to take on several monsters that were several times larger than him. With his deadly attack, he cuts through the monsters, wounding them with his fiery weapon. He successfully manages to destroy 2 monsters by landing on the ground. In total, Zhang Kai had already defeated exactly 20 fish monsters. At this moment, Hu Yan is trying to escape from a bunch of monsters that are chasing him. At the same time, Yuan Yu is also persecuted by monsters. Zhang Kai tells his friends to hide behind him and promises to deal with the enemies. Hu Yan doubts Zhang Kai's abilities out loud, as he has to fight many monsters. With fatigue, the main character notices that he is very annoyed by destroying monsters one by one. One by one, the monsters surround him from every possible side. A fierce battle begins between the two, with Zhang Kai using all his strength. He has no intention of retreating for a second, intending to kill all the monsters. At the battle site, a strong flame appears due to the main character's abilities. In one strike, he kills 257 monsters at once, shocking his allies. People see a large explosion happening in the rear. Huang Wei's brother, Huang Da, tells his father that all the monsters in the rear have been destroyed. Huang Tong expressed doubt that it could have been the military, saying that they could not have arrived so soon. The commander lowers his gaze, trying to understand what is happening. He gives his subordinates the order to go and assist Zhang Fan in the boss fight. Another half-hour later, the battle with the enemy is still ongoing. The creature is enraged that it cannot defeat its opponent. Some of the pioneers already believe that they have won, because the monster's health has dropped to 65%. However, their laughter and joy are stopped by a trident rising upward. The monster begins to attack Zhang Fan with furious strength and speed, taking him by surprise. Huang Da shouts at Zhang Fan and asks him to be careful because the boss is entering a new stage. At this stage, the boss's attack speed becomes so strong that it will be almost impossible to track. Jiang Fan starts bleeding from his mouth from the boss's multiple attacks. He tries to protect himself from the monster's attacks with his hands, and his eyes begin to glow blue. The pioneer's health level drops to a critical 5%. Some of the people gathered think that the pioneer may die. However, the man is illuminated with colossal energy and covered with special combat armor. He provokes the boss, forcing him to attack Jiang Fan. The effect of all attacks is reduced due to the strength of the new special armor. The monster begins to receive damage to its body from its own attacks. Those watching the battle note the colossal power and importance of such armor. Huang Tong is proud of Jiang Fai, noting that he always believed in him and did not consider him an ordinary person. Meanwhile, the boss's health drops to 35%. The head of the Huang family happily says that the boss's health is about to drop to 30%. However, for a moment the boss's evil and bloodthirsty gaze focuses. Something unknown starts flying right from his side at great speed. A huge tentacle appears and strikes the attacker right in the chest. Due to the force of the blow, he is thrown back a huge distance. As soon as the smoke clears, people notice that he is lying unconscious and his entire body is wounded. Jiang Fan's health drops to a critical 1%. This attack is a special boss skill called Armor Break. The father calls it complete carelessness that they failed to find out about such a skill of the boss. He says out loud that this battle has come to an end, and that they have lost. Jiang Kai's team slowly approaches the scene. At the same time, fish-like monsters continue to attack people from all sides. The attack of one of the monsters stops against the shield with a loud screech. The defending man calls out the names of Juju and Sun Wanwan, saying that he only wanted to appear strong in their eyes. The monster continues to pound the pioneer's shield as he tries to hold on for another second. Exhausted, Juju and Sun Wanwan were forced to watch helplessly. In a panic, the girl turns to the crowd and begs for someone to help her captain. However, all the people around her are subjected to brutal attacks from the monsters. Without any mercy, monsters kill people one by one. Finally, the man's shield shatters from the continuous attacks. The monster, extremely pleased with this, screams furiously, intending to finish off the man. The monster's blow is aimed straight at the man's head, to instantly take his life. Suddenly, several fiery daggers fly towards us. They bite into the monster's carcass, setting it on fire and then killing it. The lifeless body of the monster falls with a crash onto the white snow. Sun Wanwan and her captain watch what is happening with bewilderment, while Juju is happy about what has happened. Finally, Jiang Kai himself appears, engulfed in flames and clutching knives. However, he runs past his former friends, saying that he needs to fight the boss. Juju's body trembled as he tried to slowly stand up, not believing Jiang Kai's words. As he stood up, he wondered why he saw Jiang Kai so clearly. Sun Wanwan also points out this, saying that she also saw him too clearly. At this time, people continue their battle with the monsters with the last of their strength. They all freeze for a moment, as if they were processing something at the same time. Each of them says that they feel someone approaching and understand that it is a bloody killer. Jiang Kai's team tries to dissuade him from rushing into battle at the last moment. It is right before the eyes of as many as 30,000 people. He runs through the crowd, instantly capturing all attention. Then people decide to completely switch their attention to the main character, forgetting about the monsters. They instantly form a team that is driven by a single goal, which is to defeat Jiang Kai. At the very last moment, the main character manages to react thanks to his strong reflexes. There is a huge explosion, covering the entire space around. Sun Wanwan and Juju watch the situation in fear, thinking that Kai has already been killed. In desperation, his friend thinks that Jiang is defeated in just one blow. However, who successfully manages to emerge from the attack unscathed, moving on. The people defeated by the attack are very surprised, because the main character is not even level 20. His friends and former partners are sincerely happy that Jiang Kai was able to escape. Slowly, a man arrives on the battlefield, who is the captain of Sun Wanwan and Juju. He is surprised that the protagonist is still alive after being attacked by level 20 and above pioneers. Huang Da tells his father that he sensed Jiang Kai's presence heading towards the boss. Huang Tong only says that they must first reduce the number of casualties anyway. Huang Da tries to argue with his father, feeling a strange heaviness in his heart. He says that he has a strange feeling that Jiang Kai will be able to defeat the boss. At this time, the main character, without stopping for a second, continues to run towards the enemy. It was Commander-in-Chief Wei Ying who motivated Jiang Kai to fight. The country is currently experiencing a crisis and needs any help, including his. Jiang Kai then turns to the AI, saying that he wants to use a one-time skill. According to the skill, it steals 0.1% of the stats of anyone who looks at it for 30 minutes. Only now does the protagonist realize how useful this skill can be. Now that everyone is hunting for the bloody killer, it won't be difficult for him to collect the stats. He attracts the attention of all groups of people in the area at once. With hundreds of thousands of people on the battlefield, he can gain a huge boost. Because of this, he instantly gains enhanced attributes that are immediately reflected on his body. Huang Da informs his father that Jiang Kai is indeed approaching the boss. Huang Tong asks with obvious excitement what is going on. His eldest son says that Jiang Kai's characteristics have improved greatly. Now his strength is much higher than that of the general himself, which greatly surprises the head of the Huang family. At this time, a large number of people and monsters accumulate in the Fishman Zone where Jiang Kai is. Fish-like monsters of levels 50 and above begin to appear around the area. One of these elite monsters rushes straight towards Jiang Kai. Huang Tong doubts Jiang Kai's intentions, but still thinks that being bitten by such a monster would make even strong pioneers fear him. The monster relentlessly pounces straight at Jiang Kai, intending to kill him. Jiang Kai, however, swings his hand back instead of retreating. With his powerful blow, he hits the fish-like monster with all his strength. With one hand, he kills an elite monster, shocking everyone watching. People assume that Jiang Kai had the ability to kill the boss on his own. Jiang Kai is noticed by the commander of the fish-like people, who is at level 71. The monster throws away ordinary people who are around him with his bare hands. The monster attacks Jiang Kai with a huge beam from its own mouth. Under this attack, Jiang Kai covers his ears and feels unable to move. The Huang family gloats at Jiang Kai, saying that he shouldn't have rushed at the boss. After the main character is stunned, the monster attacks him. Jiang Kai's allies excitedly shout his name, worried about him. At this point, Yuan Yu drinks a huge amount of alcohol. He rushes at the monster that is fighting Jiang Kai, seeing it as a beautiful creature. With his appearance, he almost stuns the monster and knocks him off his feet. The drunk boy tries to shout to the monster, continuing to attract his attention. He literally hugs the monster's face, forcing it to turn away from Jiang Kai. With his vulgar behavior, he literally freezes the monster's actions. The monster's palm begins to slowly contract, trying to move. With a swift movement, the monster throws Yuan Yu off its body. However, this does not stop the boy at all, because due to his drunkenness, he receives very little damage. People who don't know Yuan Yu think that he is some kind of general since he doesn't take damage from the monster. At this moment, Jiang Kai slowly rises to his feet, silently saying that he did not give Yuan the order to return. Hu Yan, who never intended to abandon her captain, also returns. She begins to summon rain with her skill. Afterwards, she tells Jiang Kai to leave, saying that Yuan Yu won't last long. At this time, the boy continues to approach the captain of the fish-like monsters. Jiang Kai is genuinely surprised that his team has come back to help him. A smile begins to appear on his face, and he says that all that remains now is to continue. People standing on the sidelines cannot understand the benefits of the rain spell. Jiang Kai tells Hu Yan that he relies on her and Yuan Yu. In a panic, one of the men notices and points at something. When they start looking at the sky, they see that it is not raining at all. Due to extremely low temperatures, heavy hail is falling from the sky. People protect themselves from the ice falling on them with their hands. Ice also attacks normal people, not monsters, which really pisses them off. Hu Yan, however, is justifiably proud of his successful spell. She says that now no one will dare to touch Jiang Kai again while the hail continues. Hu Yan tells Jiang Kai not to be distracted and go fight the boss. He looks around at the crowd of monsters, who are completely distracted by the hail that has begun. None of these monsters pay any attention to the main character. Hu Yan reminds Jiang Kai that they are one team, and that he does not have to fight alone. Jiang Kai stops at the words he hears, as they pleasantly surprise him. Some people, defending themselves from hail, are finally able to defeat the monsters. Jiang Kai gathers his weapon and uses it to cause a series of explosions. With a proud gait, the main character walks through the ranks of monsters, killing them along the way. The Huang family members can't believe their eyes that Jiang Kai has killed the commander-in-chief. Even a team of 10,000 people could not defeat such a monster. Thanks to the absorbed characteristics, Jiang Kai became extremely strong and powerful. Filled with energy, he continues his journey straight to the royal tier boss. After some time, he finally approaches his enemy. He looks up at the monster and calls him a freak, mocking him. People who don't know Jiang Kai can't believe that he actually got close to the boss. Hu Yan supports his captain, telling him to move forward. With support from Jiang Kai, he goes into battle, intending to finish off the enemy. The monster slowly prepares for battle, grabbing his huge trident. Captain Su Nuanuan and Juju say that the monster is about to deal a critical hit. After this, the monster immediately attacks Jiang Kai with the aim of finishing him off. Despite this, the protagonist continues to run towards his opponent. He easily dodges the monster's attacks with his increased agility. Jiang Kai notes that he easily reacts to the monster's movements, although it has clearly become faster. He climbs onto the trident, wondering if he should continue to dodge. Jiang Kai smirked, anticipating his victory over the enemy. The observers look at everything that is happening in surprise, noticing that the boss was unable to land a single blow. Hu Yan supports his captain, motivating him to fight. The Huang family, unlike the others, is unpleasantly surprised, because they are on bad terms with Jiang Kai. The protagonist continues to dodge the boss's attacks with great dexterity. All of the monster's attacks are too slow for him. He uses his fire daggers to attack the monster from a distance. Multiple explosions occur above the monster's body, showering it with fire. The monster survives, and a large limb appears above its body, the same one that had previously nailed Zhang Fan. In just 10 minutes, Jiang Kai manages to reduce the creature's health to 25%. The monster is not going to stop. continuing to attack the main character with his trident. The monster approaches the protagonist, clutching its weapon in its hands. Jiang Kai looks at the monster approaching him with disdain. From a distance, the monster looks like a rather formidable and dangerous creature. The observers are worried about Jiang Kai's fate, because in the eyes of others he still appears weak. Jiang Kai mockingly asks the monster if he realized how dangerous the protagonist is. In response, the monster begins to scream very loudly, raising its face into the air. Jiang Kai jumps into the air, saying that he won't fall for this trick again. He looks up to see the monster flying straight at him with a trident. A huge column of snow rises, completely covering the area around the battle. The impact is so powerful that it shakes the surface beneath the pioneers. However, the monster's trident breaks into many pieces. The monster looks at his paws in bewilderment, not understanding how his weapon could have been destroyed. Jiang Kai says from the rising haze that he himself has a good weapon. The fog clears and Jiang Kai appears before the monster, unharmed. None of the assembled warriors can believe that Jiang Kai was able to withstand the monster's blow. The main character says that there is no more time to waste and attacks the monster. He decides to deal damage to the monster and throws his daggers, engulfed in fire, at it. The monster's body is engulfed in a large fire, causing damage. The damage causes the monster to fall to one knee, and its health drops to 15%. Jiang Kai has no intention of stopping and continues his furious attacks. New explosions appear on the monster's body over and over again, causing damage to it. The monster screams in extreme agony, and its health drops to 5%. With a smile, Jiang Kai shows the monster his arrogance. The protagonist charges up his flames, preparing to continue his devastating attacks. The monster's body is engulfed in colossal fire, completely consuming it. The people slowly watch as the monster begins to stagger. It falls to the ground, accompanied by many glances from people around. Finally, the monster's body falls right in front of Jiang Kai, raising snow all around. The main character looks at the defeated enemy with anger and arrogance. The monster's body is completely limbless, and its blood begins to cover the snow around it. The boss's health while lying on the ground drops to 0.1%. Huang Tong looks at everything that is happening with distrust, not wanting to accept the protagonist's victory over the boss. Moreover, Jiang Kai himself remained completely unharmed after the battle with the monster. At this moment, an unknown person arrives on the battlefield, saying that everything was already over as soon as the military arrived. The man who appears turns out to be Kei Sheng, Deputy Supreme Commander Wei Ying. Along with him, another guy named Lu Jun appears, who is also a deputy commander. Lu Jun admits that he himself did not expect such an outcome of the battle. According to the man, it was Jiang Kai that the commander placed the greatest hopes on. Huang Tong orders his subordinates to prevent Jiang Kai from finishing off the boss. The man commands to stop fighting the fishmen and instead switch to Jiang Kai. The man's face is covered with anger and hatred towards the main character. He threatens that if the boss kills Jiang Kai first, those participating in the raid will not receive a penny. Many of the soldiers begin to become resentful, because they have families to feed. They assume that they have no choice but to kill Jiang Kai. Enraged, the male pioneers form a group to attack the protagonist. They run even though the fish-like monsters are still attacking them. Obsessed with the desire to make a profit, they run forward no matter what. From the top, the main character looks at the entire crowd, which is rapidly approaching him. However, there is no fear on his face, only an intrigued smile. He lifts Zhang Fan from the ground, calling him the strongest member of the Huang family. The man is surprised that Jiang Kai, instead of finishing off the boss, lifts him up. The protagonist admits that he would not dare abandon the one who attacked the boss first. Zhang Fang says that if the hero finishes off the boss, the Huang family will end their suffering. Together, they approach the body of the almost dead boss, supporting each other. Jiang Kai offers his new partner to deal the finishing blow. Zhang Fang was left speechless by this proposal. The main character asks to hurry, otherwise the Huang family will catch up with him. Zhang Fan understands his mission and resolutely begins to approach the monster. Coming closer and closer, he thanks Jiang Kai for the opportunity. Suddenly, the monster's body receives a severe wound, causing bleeding. The monster's gaze mixes fear, pain, rage, and hatred. The monster begins to scream loudly due to the agony caused by the pain. The monster's scream spreads throughout the permafrost valley, deafening people. He also reaches the Huang family's position, alerting them to his presence. A notification appears that it was the Xuanwu Guild member who defeated the boss, not the main character. Upon death, the boss's body begins to burn in a strange blue flame. The Fishman army begins to retreat after losing their leader. The soldiers realize that they can still get a reward for killing the boss. Huang Tong can't believe what's happening, and Huang Da grits his teeth and calls out the main character's name. They are greatly surprised that Jiang Kai refused to deal the final blow to the monster. People rejoice, calling the bloodthirsty killer in the person of Jiang Kai not so bad. Jiang Kai is praised by his former team, calling him great. One of the men is proud of him, calling him a great and true hero. Hu Yan proudly praises his captain, almost exalting him and his powers. Many soldiers call the Huang family disgusting because they didn't care about people's lives. Not used to hearing this kind of attitude, Huang Tong and Huang Da were stunned by what was happening. The eldest son tells his father that 200,000 people refuse to take part in the upcoming battle. This news infuriates the man so much that veins appear on his forehead, and he remembers Jiang Kai as his enemy. He commands all his forces to speak, saying that he will take revenge on Jiang Kai the next time they meet. At this time, very close to the blue flame, Jiang Fan and Jiang Kai were talking to each other. Jiang Fang says that he is now the protagonist's debtor, and asks to find out what the protagonist's characteristics are. Jiang Kai, however, does not hide anything, and admits that he once exchanged the characteristics of those around him for his own. He says that he is not really such a strong person. The protagonist explains that he managed to turn the bloodthirsty killer's punishment into a blessing. He shakes Jiang Fan's hand in friendship, intending to continue his story. However, quite suddenly, several tentacles envelop the main character's body. He is taken away right from under Jiang Fan's nose as he tries to shout to Jiang Kai. The huge blue limbs, squeezing the protagonist, lift him into the air. Every second they wrap themselves around him even tighter, squeezing his body. A worried Hu Yan runs as fast as she can towards Jiang Fan, who is kneeling on one knee. With sorrow and guilt, the man says that it is his fault that Captain Hu Yan was captured. Trembling, he slowly admits that he is forced to deliver bad news. According to him, there is a high probability that the protagonist provoked the boss's posthumous revenge. This is a unique skill that is activated only after the boss is killed. Revenge, as a rule, always turns out to be successful, and travelers face cruel punishment. After dying on the Devil's Star in this way, people in real life can no longer recover from the torment they experienced. This provokes all those who suffered from the boss's revenge to commit suicide. Hu Yan trembles at what she hears and timidly asks if the same fate awaits her captain. She doesn't want to believe Jiang Fan's words, and small tears begin to appear in her eyes. She calls Jiang Kai's name with all her might, trying to reach him. At this moment, Jiang Kai felt incredible pain that covered his body. He cannot understand what kind of place he is in and what is happening. Once he finally opens his eyes, he finds himself suspended by tentacles. Below him is a boss who torments the main character with a grin and pleasure. The monster doesn't even try to hold back his laughter from the pleasure he's getting. Some tentacles pass through the protagonist's body, while the rest hold him in place. He experiences terrible pain every second and is unable to even move. A warning appears that in 20 seconds all of his stats will disappear. The countdown begins, and beads of sweat appear on Jiang Kai's face from excitement. The monster that Jiang Kai fought sucked out all of his strength and stats. Slowly, the monster says that it will kill Jiang Kai, increasing its onslaught on him. A notification from the AI appears that the boss is activating his revenge. The pain becomes even stronger, and the main character begins to scream loudly, unable to contain himself. Suddenly, a blue light appears and passes right through the mass of tentacles. Jiang Kai lands on the ground next to the boss, leaning on his weakened arms. Looking over his body, he tries to understand whether its original characteristics will return. Filled with anger, the boss attacks the protagonist with the desire to finish him off. Jiang Kai quickly draws his blades, but admits that his body is too weak and that he cannot handle it on his own. His only chance is to take advantage of all the characteristics. In a second, he attacks the monster with all his daggers at once, throwing them into the enemy's body. With such a quantity of fire weapons, the entire space is illuminated with the brightest light. The heat literally tears the skin off the monster in the last seconds of the countdown, dealing damage to it. Finally, a huge and loud explosion thunders, engulfing the monster's body from head to toe. After some time, the smoke from the explosion clears, revealing the destroyed body of the monster. The main character, with the last of his strength, stays on his feet, looking at what is happening with a slight grin. The AI reports that Jiang Kai has access to explore a secret treasure area that no one has ever been to. He gains access to the secret underground kingdom of the Fishmen. He approaches a large door, behind which lies the secret treasure room of the frozen Lord of the Fishmen. The AI announces that a 10-minute countdown to the destruction of the dungeon has begun. Jiang Kai only has 10 minutes to collect and carry away as many treasures as he can. If he doesn't manage to leave within the set time, all his treasures are reset. Jiang Kai looks up and notices that the ceiling of the hall is starting to collapse. He rushes into the room as fast as he can, wanting to get as much treasure as possible. There is excitement and a little fear on his face that he might not make it in time. He slowly opens the door into the room and sees colossal treasures. His eyes find the secret medicine of the Fishmen, which can increase the characteristics by a total of 60 points. Realizing that he has no time at all, he drinks the liquid in one gulp, forcibly pouring it into himself. He decides to spend all his new points on dexterity in order to collect treasures faster. He then discovers the boss's secret treasure chest, filled with gold and strange stones. Jiang Kai notes that such rewards are most likely no less than A rank. However, even the chest is limited to 90 seconds to collect. The countdown begins and the main character hurries to pick up all the jewels. 90 seconds later, he lies tired on a mountain of mined resources. In addition, in the treasury he finds Tears of Regret, which will help him get rid of the title of Bloodthirsty Killer. Pleased with his findings, Jiang Kai continues to explore the area. Suddenly his gaze stops, attracted by some object. Turning his head, he sees a strange parchment located in a special recess. It turns out that this is a special item for transforming a profession upon reaching level 20. Jiang Kai hesitantly picks up the object and examines it from all sides. A whole day passes, and the funeral of the main character takes place on the surface. Hu Yan and Yuan Yu deeply mourn the loss of their beloved commander. At this time, Jiang Kai himself was slowly climbing up the ice walls. Hu Yan, however, thinks it's another fishman and prepares to slam it with a rock. Together with Yuan Yu, they begin to throw stones at the creature unknown to them. The main character fails to hold on and falls rapidly downwards. Hu Yan stops throwing stones, and the meaning of what is happening slowly dawns on her. She notes with disbelief that the voice of the falling creature was very, very familiar. After Jiang Kai got out, he runs after his partners. For a second, he seems very kind and happy that they finally met. For a moment, Hu Yan and Yuan Yu trust this behavior and smile as well. However, the main character's face instantly changes, covering them with curses for attacking him. At this time on Earth, in the city of Zhangjiang number 18, they are trying to contact Kai. Wei Ying is informed that they were unable to contact the young man, but they were able to understand why he had grown so rapidly in strength. The reporter says that this is all because Jiang Kai used a one-time skill. Lu Jun, the deputy commander-in-chief, expresses doubts that the protagonist is still alive. The speaker folded his hands and agreed with Lu Jun that Jiang Kai could not be alive. However, Wei Ying stops them, saying that normal methods of thinking will not help in the situation with Kai. The man asks the crowd what the chances are that Jiang Kai not only survived, but also collected the treasure. He is assured that this is impossible, because in the 50 years of the Devil's Star's existence, only a few have succeeded in doing so. Each of them is an outstanding and special personality who was able to survive revenge and take the treasure. Lu Jun agrees, because Jiang Kai has only been registered on the Devil's Star for a month and is not that strong. However, Wei Ying admits out loud that his intuition tells him something completely different. Suddenly, Su Lanlin bursts into his office, opening the door wide. She says that the goods have been registered, which confuses everyone gathered. It turned out that this was the girl's way of announcing the opening of an auction. With shock on her face, she almost screams that it was Jiang Kai who did this, who not only did not die, but also opened a private store. The amount of goods he sold was more than 400 million Shengyao coins. They check the information and see that Jiang Kai just sold nearly 2 kilograms of ore for 18 million. The next lot was white ore, which sold for 63 million. A huge number of ores and artifacts that the young man found in the dungeon have already been sold. The fact that Jiang Kai not only managed to survive the revenge, but is now actively trading, shocks the assembled men. But Wei Ying still only smirked, because deep down he believed in Jiang Kai. Su Lanlin reports to the commander that the Huang family would like to speak with him. A few hours later, Jiang Kai leaves the store feeling empty from the items he sold. Jiang Kai informs his partners that he has set aside some loot for them as well. He gives Hu Yan the Frost Jade, which unlocks the ability to use the ice element. Jiang Kai gives Yuan Yu an ice shield that allows him to freeze his opponents. In addition, the main character gets several other items that will help improve the characteristics. There are 2 ways to increase your skill level in each profession, one of which is a special skill book. Another way is to use the universal item that Jiang Kai obtained. This item, called the Page of Eternal Remnant, is extremely important to all players and commands a high price at auctions. However, the more powerful the battle skills, the more pages of the old remnant they require. He tells Yuan Yu and Hu Yan that they can look at some of the pages. In the eyes of his teammates, he appears as a real hero who cares about them. They call him by name in unison, their voices trembling slightly. The allies hug the protagonist, saying that they will always pray for him. All this happens on the street, and Jiang Kai feels awkward from all the attention. An unknown person approaches him, saying out loud that it turns out the hero understands what shame is. The man turns out to be Huang Da, Huang Wei's older brother, with whom the protagonist had a conflict. Jiang Kai challenges the man's name as his allies are left wondering who Huang Da is. The man comes closer and tells Jiang Kai not to be too confident behind the military's backs. He threatens the main character that next time he will kill him demonstratively at a guild battle. According to him, after the military leaves Jiang Kai, his death will not be far off. The hero asks his partners out loud what a guild battle is. Hu Yan explains to him that this is a special competition created to select the best guild. To participate in such an event, high levels are required, from 21 to 100. Each guild sends its 5 best fighters to represent its interests. However, Jiang Kai admits that he had no intention of participating in the guild battle. He says he'll be taking a break for a while because he wanted to see his family. After some time, he arrives back on Earth in the city of Zhangjiang. He buys a lot of things for his brother, who just went through surgery. His room turns out to be filled with a bunch of different gifts. The older brother says that this hospital is very expensive, and as soon as he is discharged, he will immediately help him sort out the money. However, Jiang Kai says that it is not worth it, and reminds him that his elder brother dreamed of becoming a hero who would fight the beast god. He tells his brother that after he is discharged, he can become a traveler. With disbelief, the elder brother says that he will need a lot of money to return to the Devil Star. Jang Kai shows off a huge amount of money and says that now he doesn't have to work. In shock, the young man asks where the main character could possibly have so much money. Jang Kai admits that it's all from the Devil Star, and that his elder brother deserves such expenses. He still remembers how he was saved from death by his brother, and that's why he helps him. Jang Kai tells the young man that if he becomes special, many people will be grateful to him. The words spoken by the main character make the older brother freeze and sweat runs down his face. Hesitantly, he asks if his body might fail him. However, Jang Kai, giving him half an apple, assures him that everything will be fine. After leaving the hospital, the protagonist says out loud that they need to celebrate the fulfillment of his brother's dream. However, he notices a strange noise coming from the side. Lu Jun commands Jang Kai to get into the army vehicle as quickly as possible. It's easy to see fear and some excitement on his face as he asks Jang Kai to go with him. Approaching the car, the main character asks why the deputy commander needs him. He tells Jang Kai with an uncertain expression that he came here because of his sister. He tells Jang Kai the truth that his own sister was in an accident, which shocks the protagonist. They drive to the scene of the accident together, and the first thing they notice is the damaged bus. Next to him, engulfed in smoke, lies a car on its roof, overturned after an accident. Jang Kai tries to reach his sister by calling her name. With obvious alarm on his face, he runs to the scene, still addressing his sister. Lu Jun and his partner stand aside, not daring to interfere. Finally, the sister's voice is heard calling her brother, and he turns around in fear. However, she appears unharmed, standing in the crowd and calling out to Jang Kai. He runs up to his sister excitedly and asks what happened. She says that there was an accident here and that she was saved by a man who knows Jang Kai. That person suddenly turns out to be Huang Fang, who greets Jang Kai with a small smile. Surprised, Jang Kai asks where the man could have come from. Lu Jun came over and reported that the accident was not actually an accident. He reveals that it was actually the Huang family who set this whole thing up. According to him, the hatred from the Huang family has increased due to many factors. The military has to make many concessions to protect the main character, but the commander does not want to let the situation slide. During the negotiations, the guard commander withdrew from the guild battle that was about to begin. It is said that if the Huang family can defeat Jang Kai, all the military will cease to act. This is the limit of what the army can do for the protagonist. Thus, the Huang family forces Jang Kai to participate in the guild battle. If the hero refuses, his own family will be in great danger. The information he heard made Jang Kai freeze in place in shock. Lu Jun regretfully admits that as long as the family does not directly attack, the military will turn a blind eye. There are two ways out of this situation, one of which is to agree to the Huang family's terms. The second option is to join the army and receive official military protection. The protagonist's sister anxiously asks if the military will be able to protect them. Lu Jun reports that Jang Kai's profession is very important, and that the guard commander will do his utmost to protect him. The sister turns her head towards her brother, who looks down, lost in thought. In his head, he replays the event where he tries to shout to his family while kneeling. He is humiliated by the Huang family, who say that he will not be able to defend himself even if he is in the army. He realizes that by joining the ranks of the troops and starting to rely on them, he will ultimately disappoint them. Jang Kai thinks that his wealth is not enough to compare with the Huang family, but thanks to his talent of doubling all points he received, soon no one would be able to match Jang Kai's strength. When fighting against an opponent of the same level as the protagonist, Jang Kai will have several times more stats. Even if he fights a stronger opponent and sticks to the plan, he can still win. Jang Kai then decides to leave things as they are and plans to publicize the conflict with the Huang family. If the protagonist continues to fight back against the enemies, the military will continue to be interested in him. Lu Jun, seeing that Jang Kai was silent, took this as his consent to join the army. However, the protagonist turns to the deputy commander-in-chief, forcing him to stop. Jang Kai says that he only has 3 people in his team, and he needs 2 more soldiers to get into the guild battle. This choice of the protagonist surprises Lu Jun because of his refusal to join the army. Despite the main character's stubbornness, the deputy commander-in-chief tries to dissuade him. Jang Kai asks the deputy commander not to worry, because he is assessing the situation as soberly as possible. The main character raises his hand, saying that he chooses the path to his own happiness. There is no fear or worry on his face, only unshakable confidence in his own actions. Lu Jun calls the protagonist too impulsive, trying to dissuade him. However, the man on the sidelines fully supports Kai, agreeing with his actions. The man comes closer to the main character and introduces himself as He Shen. Zhang Fan admires Jang Kai's actions, and also reminds him that he is indebted to the hero. The sister also supports her brother, saying that she is completely on his side. Lu Jun doesn't understand why the people around him follow Jang Kai. They say they are prepared for whatever may happen in the near future. Seeing no other choice, Lu Jun agrees, siding with them. The man says that he will take care of Jang Kai's family, which pleasantly surprises the boy. He turns to the assembled men and asks them to listen to him. Jang Kai thanks them from the bottom of his heart for their concern, and promises to help them in the future. After a while, the sister asks if her brother is sure he wants to see the house at night. Together they walk through the dark night city, holding on to each other. The sister doubts that they came to that area, because the houses there are worth millions. Jiang Kai merely reassures her that this is how it was intended, placing the card on the reader. The door to the house slowly opens, letting the brother and sister inside. Their new house is huge and has many rooms, and from the outside it looks very rich. This sight truly shocks Jiang Kai's sister, and she can't believe her eyes. The house is so big and rich that it has room for a beautiful swimming pool. It also contains a living room and dining room, which are much larger than those in their previous home. She enters her new room, which looks like the chambers of a real queen. Letting her go ahead, her brother asks her if she likes the new place. Small tears appear on her face and she says that she really likes everything. He strokes her head, telling her that it's just the beginning. The sister is sincerely happy that now they will be able to live better and safer. At this moment, Sun Yanuan and Juju are worried about being assigned to a new captain. A familiar voice addresses them, asking why their faces look so sad. Jiang Kai proudly comes out to them, finally seeing his old friends. The guys ask how this is even possible, and whether the main character joined the army. The main character admits that he did not join the army, and only uses the services of the military. Jiang Kai tells the truth that the Huang family is using everything to put pressure on the military. This is what drives the young man, because of such actions of the Huang family, he wants to do everything to defeat them. Sun Wanwan and Juju side with him, planning to defeat the Huang family with him. Juju asks if the protagonist is sure that he wants to take them in. The boy says that the army has a rather complex evaluation system. Because of her, the guys lost their jobs in the army, because their rank did not increase for a long time, but on the contrary, decreased. They both confess to Jiang Kai that he might easily regret his decision. However, he says that they will be comrades no matter what, and after the mission they will return to the army. The guys ask if Jiang Kai is higher than level 15, because a captain should have a high level. They are joined by Hu Yan and Yuan Yu, who say that the entire team has already reached level 20. Jiang Kai proudly introduces his new teammates to his old friends. Hu Yan greets first, saying that her profession is a fortune teller. Yuan Yu also introduces himself by his name, directly saying that he is a drunkard. The guys shake hands in honor of their new acquaintance. Only then does the gist of what is happening dawn on them, and Sun Wanwan and Juju are surprised. Jiang Kai says that his goal is to bring his former teammates to level 20. Sun Wanwan and Juju are happy with their friend's plans, because they want to become stronger. Hu Yan moves closer to the healer, saying that she has faith in their new team. Then Sun Wanwan suggests that the new team come up with a name. They decide to call themselves Fire Gods to demonstrate their abilities. The team decides to gather their strength and accumulate as much energy as possible for tomorrow morning. After this, the guys disperse, saying goodbye to Jiang Kai until the morning. He nods one last time, watching them go. He is overcome with memories of when they were together in the newbie zone. Then he noticed that Juju was very nervous. Juju speaks up, but doesn't sound nervous, instead saying that he's worried about not being able to use his special talent, Warrior's Heart. Jiang Kai doesn't understand what he's talking about because Juju always protects their team. Juju confesses that he is going to go towards his goal, but fear has settled in his heart. If he wants to activate his special skill, he needs to be a fearless warrior. However, he admits that he can't do anything no matter how hard he tries. The Warrior's Heart will allow him to receive bonuses to characteristics and use additional skills. But the additional effects depend on self-confidence and courage, so Juju is not very strong right now. The most important goal for increasing his strength is to increase his courage. Jiang Kai admits that his powers also need to be improved, including with the help of the residual pages. He asks the AI to improve 2 skills for him, Ghost's Hand Card and Ghost's Eye Focus. By accepting his command, the artificial intelligence begins to improve its skill level. The power of skills increases, as does the energy cost of using them. It also unlocks a special bonus status of the card in the Ghost's Hand called Gambler's Time. This skill doubles the shooting speed, but at the same time increases the consumption of mental and physical strength. He asks if Ghost Eye Focus has any additional skills. In gambling, in addition to having dexterous hands, a player needs the ability to make it impossible for the opponent to read the cards. Jiang Kai can influence players regardless of their own mental strength. Finally, 2 whole days pass slowly. The team arrives at a location called the Armored Dragon's Territory. Juju excitedly asks if the dragons are strong, since their levels are over 25. Hu Yan notes that dragons are social animals, and therefore their number is at least 100. The fortune teller guesses that there are at least 50 special level dragons here, which makes Juju afraid. For every 100 monsters, only 1 combat level monster can appear, because they are much stronger than elite ones. Sun Wanwan acknowledges Jiang Kai's strength, but says that it will be very difficult for him to go it alone now. The main character says that their team is interested in working together, not just killing monsters. Moreover, materials for improvement in this area drop very well. Chests dropped by dragons may contain ascension materials for the drunkard and healer. Thus, by killing the dragons, They will become even stronger and more powerful pioneers. With a grin, Hu Yan asks the captain if the killer's spell still works on him. Even though he lost that title, he doesn't admit it to the team. After talking a little more, the squad decides to set off. Together they walk deep into the vast dark green forest. Jiang Kai notices markings characteristic of an armored dragon and warns the team to be careful. A panicked Juju asks Yuan Yu how he was able to overcome his fear of the elite banshee. However, the young man says that he was not scared, which greatly surprises his new partner. Yuan Yu gives Juju a huge portion of fresh wine, saying that under its influence he does not feel fear. Since Juju is a martial artist, he should not drink a lot of alcohol. Suddenly, Jiang Kai froze in place, his attention drawn to something. He instantly rises into the air, shouting at his allies to get away. A silhouette of something unknown appears from the foliage at great speed. It turns out to be a large armored dragon, roaring ferociously at the players. He is level 25, and Jiang Kai's allies are forced to flee from danger. The protagonist lands on his feet a short distance away. He turns his gaze to what is happening, trying to assess the situation. A huge armored dragon runs straight towards him with the desire to finish off the man. Seeing this, the team begins to panic for the fate of their captain. However, he does not demonstrate his fear, but on the contrary, stands in one place, confident in his abilities. Assessing his team's capabilities, Jiang Kai assumes that the dragon will not be able to kill Juju. The main character thinks to himself that he will definitely be able to stay alive after the attack, so he lets the monster get closer. Hu Yan shouts at Captain Kai to get away from the enemy as quickly as possible. Suddenly she freezes, noticing a silhouette to her left rushing towards the main character. Despite his fear, Juju rushes forward to protect his old friend. He lands right on the armored dragon's back, twisting it. The remaining team watches what is happening with admiration and fear. Jiang Kai smiles openly and praises Juju for his bravery and good work. The dragon, however, is not at all defeated by such an attack. He rushes forward towards Juju, wanting to avenge his blow. Suddenly, a huge explosion engulfs the dragon, immobilizing it. Jiang Kai uses his trusty daggers to cripple the dragon so that it cannot harm his friend. He deliberately attacked the creature's weak point so that Juju could finish off the monster. The man, however, trembles and does not dare to finish off the monster. But despite his great fear, Juju draws his sword and pierces the armored dragon's head. After a few seconds, he asks hesitantly if the armored dragon is dead. He says with fear that he was very scared at that moment when the enemy suddenly jumped on him. Suspiciously, Juju tells Kai that his reaction speed should have allowed him to evade the dragon. The team approaches Juju and praises him for not being afraid to come to the aid of a friend. The player happily accepts praise from his comrades, as if deliberately trying to appear more masculine. After a short time, Jiang Kai gives the group the order to move on. A little later, they come to large and high cliffs, rushing upwards. They find several elite armored dragons, level 35. The team approaches this group of monsters, looking down at them from a small slope. Jiang Kai speculates that they are guarding the battle-armored dragons. There are too many different obstacles in this forest, so the team will have a hard time against so many dragons. Previously, the skill map in Ghost's hand helped Jiang Kai defeat many fishmen, and he thinks that the skill will help now too. He asks Hu Yan to call for rain for 10 minutes, and she enthusiastically agrees. Jiang Kai gives Sun Wanwan the task of preparing poison and asks Yuan Yu to guard the two girls. He tells Juju to run forward boldly as soon as it starts to rain. After a short period of time, with the help of magic, it starts to rain. Despite the panic, Juju follows his captain's order and charges forward. Together with Jiang Kai, they approach the lair of the armored dragons. There turns out to be a whole pack of them, moving non-stop straight towards them. He orders Juju to protect him after seeing so many enemies. The boy nods and follows Jiang Kai's order, forcing the enemies to retreat with his skills. He uses his heavy jump skill again to deal more damage to the enemy. These actions cause many armored dragons to be thrown into the air. Jiang Kai decides to use his new technique to increase damage in battle. Using Gambler's attack skill, he attacks enemies with his daggers. Many of the animals are consumed by the deadly flames. Like a demon, Jiang Kai finds himself engulfed in his own fire. After a while, the rain subsides, revealing clear skies. Several notifications about successfully killing armored dragons pop up at once. Jiang Kai's team celebrates their victory, noting that Juju has become much stronger. Sun Wanwan is also happy about this, saying that she is sincerely happy about her friend's strengthening. Meanwhile, Juju kills another armored dragon. Finally, he levels up after gaining enough experience from enemies. Even though the boy is only level 10, Jiang Kai praises him. Hu Yan notes that Jiang Kai and Juju make a great, well-coordinated team. Sun Wanwan is pleasantly surprised that Juju leveled up in less than an hour. She knew that if the boys worked together, they would achieve great success. She thinks to herself that she wants to become just as strong. Jiang Kai reports that an elite treasure chest should be hidden somewhere nearby. They set out to become even stronger than they were before. Jiang Kai is certain that the dangerous battle-armored dragon must be in this forest. Juju suggests that Jiang Kai take some rest to recuperate, but Jiang Kai refuses such an offer, saying that he is not tired yet. If the team hesitates, the armored dragon will call on its assistance, and then they will definitely be finished. The team continues their monster hunt, moving forward into the forest with determination. 10 minutes later, they don't meet a soul, doubting that the dragon is here. Jiang Kai then uses his special ghost eye focusing skill to find the enemy. However, this does not help him, and he fails to see the dragon. Meanwhile, Juju, who was walking next to him, began to shudder a little. He says he feels like he's getting darker with every step he takes. Then Huyan says that they still have a long way to go and asks him to be braver. So they come out closer to a large unknown rock into open terrain. Jiang Kai uses his skill to report that there are real problems with this place. He asks all his teammates to stop and suddenly takes out his blades. They freeze right in front of the rock, not understanding what is happening. Then a huge limb appears right behind them, moving quickly through the air. She strikes near the team, and they run away from the enemy with their last strength. Jiang Kai runs towards his team to help them out of this situation. He lets them go ahead, stopping and preparing to fight the enemy. A dragon with heavily armored skin appears before him. This dragon is level 58, and the remaining team miraculously manages to survive. At this moment, Jiang Kai prepares his throwing weapon. With anger on his face, he attacks the armored battle dragon. He commands Sun Wanuan to assist him in the current battle. She opens the creature's card and reveals that it is a level 58 destructive dragon. According to her data, the creature is 36 years old and weighs a full 2 tons. When damaged by attacks, the monster begins to roar loudly, stunning players. The team is pleased that Jiang Kai managed to land 2 critical hits on the monster. Jiang Kai notes to himself that although the treasures will be better, the monsters are also becoming stronger. Their enemy's skin is steel, resistant to high temperatures and corrosion, and has many protective points. Its weak points, such as its chest and belly, are also heavily armored to make the monster harder to kill. The team is unpleasantly surprised that the dragon's defense cannot be penetrated. With fear in his eyes, Sun Wanuan reports that the dragon has extremely high spiritual strength and agility, but his strength and constitution are much higher in level, up to several hundred points. The angry dragon continues its attacks on the team. Before his eyes, Jiang Kai saw a report that the beast that attacked them was extremely dangerous. The team is worried about Jiang Kai, as he was the one who was attacked by the armored dragon. The monster attacks the main character with its huge paws, raising dust around. But Jiang Kai easily dodges the monster's attacks, telling his friends not to worry about him. The main character managed to avoid death thanks to his premonition, but if the dragon manages to hit him, then he is finished. He realizes that he must let Juju show his talent in order to destroy the monster's armor. However, if this fails, Jiang Kai will take the monster as far away from people as possible. But if it turns out the other way around, then Juju will become even more talented, and this prospect pleases Kai. Finding himself in front of the monster, the protagonist asks Juju to help him. Without any doubt, his friend rushes into the battle to protect Jiang Kai. It falls right in front of the battle-armored dragon, causing a shockwave. The monster does not retreat, and his gaze shows rage and hatred. Juju speaks about this directly, saying that the monster doesn't care. But Kai sharply shouts at his friend to run away. Juju follows Jiang Kai's order, turning around and moving away from the monster's attack. Several daggers begin to fly at great speed straight into the monster's body. It is caught off guard by such a sudden attack. A large amount of smoke rises from the flames, and Jiang Kai helps Juju get away from the monster. Before leaving the battlefield, they see Yuan Yu, who is heading straight for the attack. Hu Yan reports that the young man has been drinking, and that his alcohol could cause corrosion if it comes into contact with his skin. Seeing this, Jiang Kai begins to sincerely worry about his ally. Yuan Yu attacks the battle-armored dragon alone with his ice shield. After the attack, they find themselves thrown away from each other in different directions. Yuan Yu lands calmly on the ground, as if he has complete control over the situation. Due to his strong intoxication, he is not at all afraid of the battle with the dragon. Jiang Kai tries to shout to Yuan Yu in fear. Hu Yan believes that thanks to the new, better alcohol, the boy no longer feels the urge to be ugly. Instead, Yuan gains confidence that no one can defeat him. He points at the dragon and says that today he will get its heart. Hearing this, the dragon freezes for a moment, as if understanding the man's words. But immediately after this, Yuan Yu rushes at the dragon in the same way he rushed at the banshees, seeing them as beautiful partners. Jiang Kai throws his fire daggers at the dragon at high speed. Due to this blow, the monster's body is engulfed in a large fire. Yuan Yu continues to relentlessly approach the dragon, completely drunk. Jiang Kai understands that if the drunkard continues like this, the protagonist's brain will melt. Yuan Yu continues to pester the monster relentlessly while he is intoxicated. The protagonist realizes the fact that he is unlikely to be able to remove the drunkard from the monster. So he shouts at Juju, saying that the team really needs him now. Now Juju feels this feeling of lack of fear, and calls Yuan Yu a true god. However, Yuan Yu says he never even thought about overcoming his fear with alcohol. Then Juju takes out alcohol from his inventory. Having quickly drunk a glass of alcohol in one gulp, he decides to go forward and attack. After drinking an alcoholic drink, Juju's strength, agility, and other characteristics change. The fight between the monster and Captain Kai's crew continues. Yuan Yu rushes into battle, and the rest of the team worries about him. At this time, a mug falls to the ground nearby and breaks into pieces. Juju, who has drunk a lot of alcohol, rushes relentlessly into battle. He deals a lot of damage to the armored battle dragon with fury and confidence. With great speed, the martial artist rushes through the monster's body, injuring it. Jiang Kai can't believe his eyes as he notices that Jiang Kai's alcohol helped destroy the monster's armor. The alcohol intoxication clouded Juju's mind, removing his fear and self-doubt. No matter how strong the armor is, a martial artist can still destroy it. Filled with immense strength due to blind self-confidence, Juju believes himself to be the best fighter. Suddenly, the huge tail of the battle-armored dragon swings upward. It hits Juju straight on the body, causing him to wince in pain. Blood starts coming out of his mouth and he leans back a little. The man falls to the ground, and the huge tail continues to hit him right on the body. A huge flame suddenly appears above the monster, which he pays attention to. Thanks to his agility, Jiang Kai quickly carries Juju's body out of the monster's attacks. With a smile on his face, Jiang Kai says words of gratitude to his friend. After this, he quickly returns back, jumping over the monster. He says he will help Juju strike and attacks with a fan of his daggers. They hit the monster, dealing a large amount of fire damage. Now that the monster's armor is destroyed, Jiang Kai can also use his skills. He leaves the last blow to his friend, and Juju rushes forward with a furious cry. A friend rains down a hail of blows on a huge lizard. Teammates watch this with fascinated eyes. There is no longer a shadow of fear on his face. Even his partner is worried about him, wondering if everything is okay with him. The protagonist says that the man simply drank too much, and in any case, he broke the dragon's armor. After some time, a huge bloody lizard corpse lies in front of the man. From such a kill, Yuan Ju increases his level to 15. A smug grin appears on his face. After this, he immediately falls to the ground, which amuses his friends. It looks like the young man won't wake up anytime soon. They suddenly have the feeling that they have forgotten something. The team looks around for a while. It suddenly dawns on them that they have forgotten about their friend. Yuan Yu, left alone, mourns the death of the lizard, for he is very drunk. He is even angry at his allies for killing his next interest. At first, the drunken young man even wants to fight with them. Suddenly, he smells a strange smell that makes him feel sick. Not a second passes before he falls loudly onto the grass. Nuan used one of her items to calm her partner. Of course, with the best intentions, because Yuan Yu needs rest. The main character and his friend praise their partner for her resourcefulness. Night gradually falls and the team sets up camp. Drunkards sleep in an embrace, seeing the fifth dream. The protagonist and Nuan look at the moon in the sky. The girl offers a tired Kai a bottle of water. A lot happened today, and it was lucky that Juzi was able to overcome his fear. No one could have imagined that Yuan Yu's alcohol would have such an effect. The girl sincerely hopes that their mutual friend will activate his other talents in the near future. In response, Kai at first only smirks. In his opinion, Juzi was never a weakling. Even when drunk, he and his friend call themselves brave and courageous in their dreams. It will probably take him longer to become even more confident. In the morning, Juzi is shocked by the story of how he saved everyone yesterday. The friend tries to calm Yuan Yu, saying that he also contributed to the victory. She praises him loudly, trying to lift his spirits. But the man vomits because of the large amount of alcohol he drank. Finally, it's time to study your prey. All five gather around the chest, examining it. The witch offers Nuan to open the chest, because her luck is stronger. This proposal greatly surprises the healer. Captain Kai agrees to believe the prophecy and allow the girl to open the chest. The witch encourages Nuan, saying that all dangers are already behind her. The girl slowly opens the chest, from which a golden light begins to come. The whole team, with their heads down, looks at the object in fascination. After examining the items, they valued them at 600,000 Shengyao coins. In just one moment, the guys receive items worth more than 1 million coins. Suddenly, Nuan sees a crystal of mutated blood essence worth 6 million. Captain Kai is incredibly happy with this find. Suddenly, he remembers taking drugs in the past that must have cost a fortune. Secret drugs are incredibly expensive because they are very difficult to make. Hearing this, the young man feels extremely sorry because a lot of money was lost because of him. Nuan finds a vial of holy water, which is needed to improve the healer's skill. Juzi calls the girl incredibly lucky. The team's total income amounted to a whopping 10 million coins. The witch notices how much people around her are happy about money. The main character literally licks his lips at such a profit. As a result, the team of fire gods cleared the territory at least once a day. Gradually, Yuanju became stronger, complementing Jiang Kai's power. This was especially noticeable after drinking alcohol. 10 days later, the team of fire gods drove out all the dragons. Many of the team members were able to achieve a high level. The witch asks where their team will go now. Suddenly, Nuanuan drops a handful of items and her expression changes. She received a message that one of the guilds had encountered monsters. The entire guild was brutally destroyed. There is a fallen corpse lord, an extremely dangerous boss whose power is unimaginable. However, the guild was able to injure him, so he is recovering. They will certainly be able to defeat him, but they will most likely die. Of course, I feel very sorry for the guild members, but they did it themselves. Jiang Kai asks if there is any further information about the tragedy. However, there is nothing new, and the other guilds must be rushing to help. Suddenly, a plan appears in Jiang Kai's mind. Many people will go after the corpse lord, and they must not miss this chance. The witch agrees, because they were already able to deal with the dragon. The rest of the team agrees to this adventure. Yanju will also go with everyone, because he wants to help the guys. The team's readiness brings a smile to Jiang Kai's face. So the next target becomes the mutated fallen corpse lord. Although the enemy is dangerous, he does not frighten the assembled boys. The next day, the team heads out into the wasteland. It's very hot in there. She's all covered in sand, and that makes Yuan undress a little. Even the trees here look very, very strange. Nuanuan says that these trees may contain the heart needed to raise the flame. Jiang Kai looks around for a moment. Yuanju's expression suddenly changed, as if he had seen something terrible. He feels as if the Qinglong guild members are in the distance. And indeed, several people who look very strong are walking towards them. Another team comes into the guys' field of vision. Everyone came here to get some loot, so the guys need to speed up. You have to be on your guard, because it's unclear what kind of people might come to visit. Nuanuan begins to shake a little, as she is tired from endless walking. Her eyes grow heavy and her body becomes weak. Jiang Kai came up and offered the girl a drink and some rest. She's only level 12, so things are tough for her. The girl tries to appear polite, saying that she is not tired. Then the young man asks to just sit with him for a while. The team members decide to wait a bit, as a lot of people are gathering around. The healer girl is a little worried about this decision. This place is called the Flame Ridge, and it is here that the fallen overlord dwells. While other teams are looking for a target, the guys must gain an advantage in speed and strength. The witch doesn't quite understand what her captain means. They need to think about all the possible advantages they could have. Yuanyu asks why their team should be the first to find the monster. Anxiety appears on the faces of the rest of the squad. They can't rely solely on luck during their searches. Suddenly Jiang Kai froze, as if the word had cut his ears. Yanju invites the witch to read their hexagram to learn about their destiny. Captain Kai sharply tells Huyan that their team is lucky to have her. The young man asks what place she thinks would be best for such a monster to rest. The girl then suggests that this must be a place with yang energy. The creature hardly had the strength to search for an ideal place, so it could have found something simpler. Since the witch was previously a master of feng shui, she will have to calculate the location of the creature. She says that she will definitely find the monster, and in the meantime, the others can rest. This brings genuine joy to the whole team. A short period of time has passed since the search began. His partner's hand falls on Jiang Kai's shoulder. Yuanju asks his friend what he is thinking about so intensely. He explains that it is not so easy for him to find materials for the elevation. Then the interlocutor asks what objects are being discussed. It's unlikely that they are rare, but the captain simply doesn't understand them at all. Previously, he found a formula for moving to the 20th level, which he deciphered a little. The list contained a whole bunch of different items, all unlike each other. Upon hearing the names of the objects, Yuanju initially thinks that they are completely imaginary things. Perhaps they are all mysteries, and Jiang Kai suggests that, for example, the water from the unknown source could be rainwater. In addition, the flame needed for the ascension may be on the Liaoyang Ridge. Suddenly, someone from behind recognizes Jiang Kai, which attracts his attention. Behind the main character, there are 5 people at level 40. The young man recognizes the people as members of the unpleasant and vile Huang family. The most terrible and vile rumors are circulating about these scumbags. Jiang Kai asks what the people who came want from him. Then they remind him of how he killed the members of the Falcon 5 team, and then Huang Shao. Apparently, Jiang Kai has no shortage of courage to allow himself to behave like this. Of course, the young man had no choice, because Huang Wei brought his minions. Suddenly, the girl brandishes her whip and says that her captain is talking to Jiang Kai, not Yuanju. The young man stops the blow to his friend by throwing one of his daggers at the whip, causing an explosion. Such impudence and arrogance irritate the unpleasant girl, but he is simply deeply irritated by impudent and clingy people. However, no one from the enemy team appreciated the young man's courage. They all became extremely angry and had no intention of forgiving them for their words. They are full of determination, and therefore the battle cannot be avoided. Suddenly, Nuanuan turns to Shufeifei, asking what he is doing. This surprises Jiang Kai, who didn't think they knew each other. Now the girl has become a member of the Fire Gods team, and she will not sit on the sidelines. One of the companions reminds his captain that their task is to defeat the fallen corpse lord, and that Jiang Kai can be dealt with later. Hearing such arguments, the villain puts his sword behind his back, deciding not to pick a fight. The serious and focused expression never leaves the protagonist's face. Xu Feifei calls the young man a scoundrel because he uses throwing weapons. Next time he will definitely rip out his eyes for how low he is. The young man involuntarily perks up, as if such a threat has touched him to the depths of his soul. For the Huang family team, it was actually surprising that a squad like the Fire Gods had advanced so far. Yuanzhu, plucking up his courage, decides to intervene, but Jiang Kai says that it is not the time for that yet. He asks Nuanuan how well she knows Xu Feifei. She knows little, only that he used to live in a military district, and then became a warrior. His actual combat abilities are now equivalent to those of the successor. This level of fighting force greatly surprises most of the team. Since the martial arts profession is highly valued, the man has a serious reputation. According to ranks, the heir is the penultimate stage of development of this profession. The last one is a level called Ancient Warrior, which is awe-inspiring just by its sound. The Huang family worked very hard to make the young man an extremely strong person. Jiang Kai has a strong feeling that he will see Xu Feifei later. Suddenly the witch appears and declares that she has chosen the 3 most suitable places. The corpse lord may be in the Twilight Cemetery or Shanyan Lake. Besides this, there is a place that is a low-lying basin. Jiang Kai pondered for a moment, assessing where the enemy might be. Yanzhu suggests trying your luck at the Twilight Cemetery. However, Jiang Kai firmly states that they are heading to the basin. This decision seriously surprises everyone on the team. There is a possibility that many other teams will head to the Twilight Graveyard. As for the lake, it is not so secretive and secluded, and not suitable for a monster. But the basin will be ignored by most adventure seekers due to its location. That's why their team should go there. 2 hours later, the detachment approaches a nameless basin. Yuanzhu feels an incredibly heavy atmosphere that makes him shake. The boy's task is not only to find the enemy, but also to ensure that others do not discover these lands. The fallen Lord of Corpses will surely choose the most comfortable and secluded place here. Nuanuan offers a variety of potions to choose from that will help you avoid taking a lot of damage. Then the team decides to first take the potions, and then see if there are any caves or graves nearby. Gradually, deeper and deeper night descends upon the basin. Wenju suggests taking a break and making a stop. The team encourages Zhuzi not to be so afraid of his opponent. He should not lag behind the group, so that the monster does not attack him. The witch jokingly intimidates the man, saying that the Lord of Corpses is very hungry for people. Zhuzi can't help but imagine the great aura of the Corpse Lord, causing him to visibly panic. This is enough for the young man to noticeably speed up and start running. Jiang Kai asks Huyan not to scare their partner like that again. Suddenly, the running Zhuzi trips over a small rock. He falls to the ground with a thud, his arms spread wide. His worried partners ask him how he is feeling. His pupils dilate widely, as if he had seen death in the flesh. The entire team moves closer to the man as he extends his hand forward. He points to a strange, crumbling tombstone that glows green. It is an abandoned grave that turns out to be so well hidden that it is almost missed. But can the great Lord of Corpses fit into such a grave? It starts to crackle a little, making an eerie sound. Jiang Kai orders his friends to quickly move aside. The ground beneath them seems to begin to crack and glow green. The crew rushes to flee, following the orders of their captain. Zhuzi must attack head-on while Captain Kai prepares traps for the enemy. The earth continues to split apart before the people, as if threatening to release a great monster. Zhuzi must flee if he cannot defeat the monster. Suddenly, a huge paw of blue light appears from the split earth, tearing it apart. Yanzhu feels the terrible pressure falling on his body and soul. A huge silhouette of the enemy begins to appear in front of him. A mutated, fallen corpse lord rises from the ground, level 65. His mouth is wide open, revealing razor-sharp teeth, and his eyes glow red. The monster begins its inexorable march towards the Fire God's team. It comes closer and closer, noticeably towering over ordinary people. Out of fear, Zhuzi begins to tremble violently, clutching his weapon in his hands. The monster suddenly opens its mouth wider, summoning strange green waves with which it attacks people. From this, Yuanzhu falls to the ground, and the monster begins to approach him even closer. A red heart appears to be beating in his chest, making loud sounds. Zhuzi realizes that he can no longer bear such stress, and so decides to try alcohol. He suddenly materializes a mug of drink, after which he knocks it over. Not a second passes before the mug shatters into pieces. Zhuzi's shaking disappears, and he now holds his stance confidently. His body is filled with confidence so much that he even lights up with a different light. In just a second, the young man moves in to strike his opponent. The sword strikes straight at the fallen corpse lord, becoming covered in blood. However, it is not possible to penetrate the creature's armor, and it suffers almost no damage. But the fallen Lord of Corpses feels noticeably embarrassed that he is being fought by a drunkard who knows no fear. The team sees from afar that their friend's blade is stuck in the monster's body. The situation gets out of control, and Zhang Kai orders his friend to flee. He quickly approaches the enemy to help Zuzi. The monster swings its huge clawed limb high. With this movement, the creature suddenly knocks the warrior off his feet and he loses his balance. From the force of the blow, the young man hits his back against the tree, breaking it slightly. The Lord of Corpses doesn't even think about stopping, and then swings with both hands. Yuanzhu continues to lie in front of the creature, not moving. Zhang Kai suddenly appears, flying into the air with his daggers. He suddenly charges them with fiery energy, intending to attack the enemy. After a successful attack, multiple explosions are heard, completely consuming the monster's body. Meanwhile, the rest of the team helps the defeated Yuanzhu get up from the ground. The situation is difficult because they lost one fighter, but the monster was almost unharmed. Huyan turns to look at Nuanuan standing behind her, who is looking through her inventory for something. She suddenly perks up, as if something has caught her attention. Swallowing nervously, she asks the healer what she plans to do. At this time, the Lord of Corpses continues to approach people. Zhang Kai suddenly stands in his way, intending to stop his opponent. The Corpse Master has a skill that allows him to restore the strength of the undead. The wound on the chest quickly heals, after which the creature launches a swift surprise attack. Zhang Kai deftly dodges it, avoiding damage. He slides along the ground a little, amazed at how strong his opponent is. Nuanuan screams sharply, attracting the attention of his captain. She warns him that he needs to attack directly into the heart, because then there will be no damage. The Corpse Lord slowly turns his head towards the screaming healer. She freezes in place, not daring to move out of fear. The monster opens its mouth wide, letting out a heart-rending scream. It makes the healer jump up and down in place, shuddering. The monster suddenly rushes at her, as if it had not received any wounds before. The girl freezes in place, greatly frightened by the impending death. Zhang Kai runs towards her, not wanting his partner to get hurt. The monster suddenly attacks at range without taking an additional action. A large crack in the ground is heading straight towards Zhang Kai. The man quickly jumps into the air to avoid being hit. A huge ghostly hand reaches out from the rift towards him, wide open to grab the man. The captain can't dodge forever and ends up captured by the enemy. Now the monster has completely taken control of the situation on the battlefield. His huge ghostly hand tightly grips the trapped Zhang Kai. Bitter blood begins to flow from his mouth in streams. The young man's bones are broken in an instant. The man's body lacks the strength to escape the creature's grip. The monster quickly pulls its mouth closer and opens it, revealing its long tongue. Huyan and Juzi rush to help their captain. The recovered warrior rushes ferociously at the enemy to defeat him. The creature suddenly begins to spray a strange purple mist. He rushes straight towards Juzi, surrounding him from all sides. Nuanuan warns the man that this is cadaveric poison, and therefore he needs to be careful. The darker the color of such fog, the greater the toxicity. The Overlord, despite his injuries, is still able to use the poison mist. The toxicity is so severe that Nuanuan's powers are unlikely to help. It's no wonder the creature can destroy a powerful guild, even with such wounds. It seems that Juzi has no intention of giving up at all, but the difference in their strength is extremely great. Suddenly Nuanuan recognizes a voice from the outside. This is Yuan Yu, who also decided to intervene in the fight. Despite the healer's warning, he rushes into battle with the Lord. Nuanuan also wants to help, but Huyan asks her to stay behind, as she will be the last hope for salvation. Reluctantly, the healer agrees to this. The witch, with a smile and confidence, asks her to protect herself and not let anyone harm her. Nuanuan, trembling violently, accepts this fate. She suddenly feels like Huyan is up to something very stupid. The witch screams that she needs to get closer to the monster to harm him. She is going to call upon the rain she called upon earlier to help the team. Nuanuan begins to tremble violently as everyone around her fights desperately. Bitter tears appear in the girl's eyes because she considers herself a helpless burden. She had been experiencing this difficult feeling since childhood. When the terrible beasts appeared, it became possible to fight them only after careful training. Nuanuan's father went to the battlefield to stand against the beasts. After this, the healer thought that she had gained courage overnight and was ready to join the army. When she first came to the Devil Star, she was lucky enough to meet Zhang Kai and Yuanzhu. Following the example of her father and sister, the girl joined the army. However, after her service, She increasingly felt that her strength was not comparable to that of her partners. She always felt like she couldn't protect others. Just like before, Nuanuan simply watches from the sidelines as his friends fight. Her soul is overcome by powerful doubts about her competence. The monster, incredibly powerful, continues its fight with the rest of the squad. Juzi and Yuanyu are doing their best to stay on their feet against the enemy. Even Zhang Kai is starting to get tired from such a grueling fight. And Nuanyuan, standing on the sidelines, trembles with fear and self-hatred. For some reason, Kai's voice, tired and wounded, touches her. The girl suddenly sees Juzi being thrown against the tree again. Wenyu falls nearby and rolls head over heels on the ground. Of the entire team, only Zhang Kai and Hu Yan remain on their feet. With a smile, the captain tells the healer that he relies on her. After this, he dodges the Corpse Lord's attack. A girl shows off an item she received while undergoing training. After using it, travelers begin to ignore their wounds. However, after using this potion for a minute, the traveler dies. But Jiang Kai is determined, because he only needs a minute to win. He quickly takes potions, and then performs a massively fast attack on the enemy. His speed increases dramatically, allowing him to dominate the battlefield. The monster begins to spew acrid purple mist again. Jiang Kai manages to dodge the deadly attacks for a while. The storm has almost stopped, which means there is still a chance of victory. Besides this, he also doesn't have much time left to go. Therefore, the young man uses all his remaining strength and power to defeat the enemy. He sees a huge line following him, tearing through the earth. A ghostly hand suddenly bursts out of her again, threatening to grab the man. However, Jiang Kai suddenly uses his transformation skill. This doesn't stop the Corpse Lord, and he uses his corpse fog again. A huge cloud of purple gas is approaching directly towards the main character, but it is cut through by 3 daggers at once, filled with explosive energy. They rush straight towards the body of the Corpse Lord, who did not expect such a move. He tries to jump back to avoid the daggers hitting him. It's amazing that such a huge monster can move so quickly. There is a huge explosion, the flames from which engulf the entire space around. A powerful fire spreads, as if threatening to devour all living things. In a panic, the Lord of Corpses begins to look around. 3 small stars suddenly appear in the field of view. At the last moment, the creature manages to dodge them. This only angers the Corpse Lord, for he did not expect such fierce resistance. The monster freezes in place, not seeing any threat in front of it. Jiang Kai jumps up behind the terrifying creature. He suddenly throws 3 daggers at the enemy, intending to finish him off. The projectiles finally hit the high-level monster's torso. Jiang Kai remains in the air, preparing to launch a follow-up attack. A new dagger attack approaches the monster's body. The projectiles explode due to strong explosive magic, causing a large amount of damage. Despite this, the monster grabs Jiang Kai with its hand and squeezes his body. The terrifying monster brings the captured team captain closer to him. With intense panic on her face, Nuanuan screams the protagonist's name. The Corpse Lord opens its mouth, intending to swallow the fallen man. Suddenly, the monster froze, looking at Jiang Kai in horror. The main character didn't even think that the monster would be stupid enough to catch him a second time. Nuanuan watches the battle unfold in fascination. After the battle, everyone praises the healer for her enormous contribution. Thanks to her efforts, the team can continue on their way calmly. Bright, salty tears roll down the girl's cheek. She feels incredibly good knowing that she is making a difference to the entire team. 2 o'clock in the afternoon slowly passes and the day gradually arrives. The captain asks if his crew is ready to move on. They all nod their heads confidently in response. The 5 approach the new chest they received for defeating the monster. Jiang Kai is the first to raise his hand, giving the command to open the chest. They say that a chest like this contains a lot of useful equipment. As soon as the guy opens the chest, he immediately sees a lot of gold items inside. The man clutches in his hand the newly acquired level 80 Mad Flame Blade, a very rare and powerful weapon. The object, when held in the hand, is surrounded by a strong flame. Unfortunately, it won't be possible to use such a weapon because all the guys are of a low level. After this, Jiang Kai finds a set of armor in the chest. The strange thing is that there are no records at all about this subject. At first, the object cannot be identified, but Nuanyuan reveals that she has a card that allows one to learn about unknown objects. She uses this card on the armor, causing a blue glow to appear around it. It turns out that this is the outer armor of the Necromancer, requiring level 60. Such an item will greatly increase the characteristics of the person wearing the armor. Besides this, it has strong effects. For example, it can be used to reflect any sound attacks. Other effects can be used to slow down the enemy. Fortunately, such items can be sold, since no one on the team can wear them. There is also a small glowing object in the chest. Wenju leans closer to him to take a closer look. The source of light is a large ring with a blue stone. Such a small find, however, amazes the entire team. It looks very powerful, and the warrior offers to let the healer identify the object. Meanwhile, Jiang Kai drops to one knee, examining the card in his hands. He receives a Death God card, which the system informs him about. This is a weapon available only to gamblers, which can also be used in real life. Such an exclusive card is perfect for Jiang Kai. It will significantly increase the characteristics of the main character, making him even stronger. For example, the accuracy of attacks when using this card will be increased several times. Of course, he will need to reach rank 80 to use the features. It turns out that the higher the characteristics of the young man, the better the characteristics of the card. The system agrees to introduce Jiang Kai to the special effects. The first one allows you to significantly increase damage in exchange for energy. The second effect will create a spinning version of the card that can be thrown at an enemy. Finally, the third effect prevents you from getting rid of this card. Jiang Kai never even hoped to obtain such a powerful treasure. But his card is one of the main ones, and there are 8 more cards of this type. Gradually, the team returns to the city. They approach the guild area, wanting to join one of them. The area around them, however, looks quite abandoned. Nuanyuan's eyes widen sharply, her mouth hanging open. She watches as Jiang Kai calmly approaches the gate of the building. He places the card on the reader, and several energy pulses are generated. This is how the man gains access to one of the numbers in the Guild of Gods. The gate shutters swing wide open for the team. They can't believe what they see with their own eyes. It's as if a mansion of incredible beauty is emerging from underground. Jiang Kai warmly welcomes all his guests to this place. He calls this place the Guild of Gods, showing off its wonderful appearance. A luxurious lawn and pond extend along the entire property. Yuanzhu asks when the protagonist managed to build a guild. No one could have imagined that the young man would be involved in building his own guild. Yanyu believes that more than 100 million coins had to be paid for everything. Jiang Kai adjusts his hand so that the information plaque can be seen. In fact, he had been planning the construction for a long time. The man recalls the days when he had to go against the Huang family. This taught the young man to rely only on himself. Now the whole team has their own house on the Devil's Star. The next day, Yuanzhu becomes stronger, successfully passing the ascension. Finally, he succeeds in becoming a full-fledged warrior. The guy's happiness knows no bounds, because now he will become even more powerful and useful. Thanks to the new talents, the man will receive a 10% increase in characteristics. Indeed, this is very, very good. Even the witch notes how important height is in martial arts. However, Yuanzhu announces that this is not all. Now the fighter can control his characteristics during the battle. Such talent will help you master new techniques much easier. Hearing this, Jiang Kai believes that all enemies will fall before their ally. According to the captain, the young man will soon become a true master of martial arts. Yuanyu enters the room, his face showing either excitement or sadness. Teammates immediately ask him what's wrong. He reports that he remains a drunkard, although he has moved to a new level. Nevertheless, the captain encourages his charge. The witch asks how one can even enjoy alcohol. For a while, Yuanyu thinks about what he could compare this state to. Friends gather around him spellbound. Yuanyu smiled awkwardly and asked to forget about it, wanting to change the topic. Naturally, this leaves all the guys confused. Half an hour passes gradually. Nuanuan hasn't shown herself in public yet, which worries them. Finally, the doors open and a woman's leg appears. The trembling silhouette of the healer finally appears in public. They are trying to calm her down, because she was unable to rise to the next level. Jiang Kai asks not to press the girl, because she probably has something to say. Nuanuan finally opens her mouth. She happily announces that she has managed to move to a new level and acquire a new talent toxin analysis. Such good news lifts everyone else's spirits. Thanks to talent, you can increase the effectiveness of medicines and poisons. It's hard to even convey how happy the girl is about this development of events. Yuanyu suggests that the healer will take the path of using poisons. This is, of course, not necessary, because every medicine is, in essence, a poison. In any case, all the guys encourage the girl. However, the team will have very, very serious opponents. Other teams are controlled by powerful guilds, so you need to be on your guard. There will be a guild competition in the coming days, so everyone needs to work hard for each other's benefit. This kind of speech encourages all the kids in the group, making them smile. A week of hard training passes. After a week of fighting, Yuanzhu feels his strength increase exponentially. Besides this, the rest of the team members also became much stronger. Jiang Kai, looking at the boys, is pleased with their strong unity. Finally, the time comes when the lists will be announced. In total, 32 groups will take part in the competition. Tomorrow, at 8 in the morning, the first battle will take place, for which we need to prepare. On the very first day, they will fight against the Xuanwu Guild, in which Huang Da harbored a grudge against Kai. In addition, Victory can now be achieved by killing all team members. This news enrages Yuanzhu, and he decides to turn to the military because such changes to the rules are simply insane. But Jiang Kai rejects his friend's idea. The team should accept their fate and fight against Huang Da's team. This is a wonderful chance to get even for all the grievances and put an end to it. It's time to find out who's worth what in this world. The next day, a large number of spectators gather in the arena. There are still 15 minutes left before the start of the team competition. A beautifully dressed girl asks the audience to quickly take their seats. Many fans take the side of Huang Da's team. The Xuanwu Guild appears in the arena, attracting all eyes. They were lucky to be part of such a strong guild. However, this is just a qualifying stage, and further on everything will be different. In any case, you shouldn't get too cocky. Members of the other team learn that among the participants there is a person who has broken the 30-year-old competition record. Jiang Kai hasn't shown up yet, and the man thinks it's because he's afraid of fighting him. Huang Da shouts loudly, calling for Jiang Kai to show himself. Suddenly a voice calls out to the villain from the side. In the dark passage stands a menacing silhouette, hidden in the darkness. Gradually, the entire team of fire gods emerges from the passage, ready for a fight to the death. Seeing a drunkard, one of the team members, Huan, decides to deal with him. But Yuan Yu is not afraid of this turn of events. He jumps up sharply, rushing straight towards the enemy. While drunk, he mistakes a man for a beauty and pounces on him. There is a sudden, huge explosion, as if a meteorite had fallen to the ground. The drunkard begins to lick the thug's face with particular cruelty. The bald man manages to knock the drunkard away with a kick. The main character feels great shame for everything that happens. Landing, Yuan Yu uses one of his hands to support himself. As if he hadn't taken any damage, he declares that he loves it when beauties fight back. The rest of the team swallows nervously, thinking that everyone on Jiang Kai's team is a weirdo. They may even be pathetic perverts. Nuanuan and Hu Yan believe that their reputation will be worse now. At this moment, Jiang Kai uses Ghost Eye Focus. He sees that two of his partners are in an insane state. Juzi uses a crushing stomp to attack his enemies. One of them manages to jump back, drawing his blade. A look of intense fear immediately appears on his face in front of the team of fire gods. He believes that he has enough dexterity points, and therefore decides to take a risk and carry out a strike. But Juzi remains on guard, ready for any misfortune. Jiang Kai decides to intervene by throwing his daggers towards the enemy. 5 extremely sharp knives rush towards the enemy at once. However, the scoundrel does not panic, summoning some magic in his hand. He manages to materialize a shield in his hand, thereby protecting himself from the daggers. Yanzhu is taken aback by how quickly the situation is changing. For a moment the battle subsides, and all three freeze in place. It turns out that with such a shield, the enemy is invulnerable even to a critical attack. The opponent decides to deal with the doctor and the fortune teller first, because they do not have fighting skills. Nuanuan and Hu Yan stood rooted to the spot for a moment. The fortune teller shields the doctor's body with her body, saying that she will protect her. The girl manages to summon absolute ice magic. Unexpectedly, her power is enough to cover most of the arena in ice. Pieces of ice also begin to fly at the enemy, which come into contact with his skin. The man did not expect at all that the fortune teller could offer such resistance. Thanks to Captain Kai, the strength of each member of the team increased. However, Hu Yan's attacks do not achieve the perfect effect. Suddenly, a swordsman appears on the battlefield and manages to cut the boulder into 2 halves. The fortune teller was taken aback by this and stopped using magic for a while. She is sent flying back by the shockwave caused by the sword's use and falls right into Nuanuan's arms. However, opponents acknowledge Hu Yan's strength. You can't stand on ceremony with them for long anyway, so the enemies go on the offensive again. Juzi bursts into the fray, saying that they need to deal with him first. He manages to catch 2 enemies by surprise at once. Using his crushing stomp technique, the young man knocks the 2 off their feet. They are very irritated by Yuanzhu because he is so persistent. However, they need to deal with the team of fire gods. Juzi takes a stance, gripping his sword tightly, energy flowing from it, and Yuanyu continues to pester one of the thugs. He starts to back away in panic, his mouth wide open. Since the shield protects very well, you need to attack at the weakest point. Suddenly, Yuanyu moves out of the way of the strike, starting to move away. Wanting to finish off the drunkard, the thug throws several projectiles at him. However, the yellow-haired boy is not afraid of this at all. Jiang Kai manages to fire his daggers and hit the thug's weapon right on the target. He is amazed at the incredible accuracy of the captain of the team of fire gods. He sharply uses the command to make the darts return to him. The brute shouts to his captain, because he is worried about his well-being. Huang Da, full of determination and strength, charges purple energy around his hand. His gaze is full of madness and cunning, and he uses a special supermagnetic crystal. A large amount of light materializes around the object in the hand. Hu Yan complains that her compass is not working properly, and Nuanuan's dagger is also getting sucked in. Wenju also feels the strong pressure of the magnet. A purple field envelops Jiang Kai's hand, which moves forward slightly, and he is unable to recall the crystals. Huang Da raises his hand grandly, controlling the purple sphere in his hands. The protagonist's knives are completely useless in this situation. They freeze in midair, and the villain declares that their team is well prepared. The crystal fragment was created specifically to counter Jiang Kai's darts. Now the young man has only one pitiful dart left. Only a self-confident smile appears on the face of the captain of the fire gods. He says that Huang Da is too happy too soon, and then takes an offensive stance. At first, the man in glasses even thinks that the darts did not obey the crystal. Even so, Jiang Kai is still finished, because the man has another weapon. This shield will show the main character what hopelessness is. A man watching the battle from the sidelines recalls that this shield was originally used by superhumans. The weapon's level has been lowered slightly so that Huang Da can use it. No one could have imagined that the team would decide to deliberately degrade such weapons. Nuanuan's elder sister is worried about the healer. With a huge grin, Huang Da is ready to give his order. The entire squad of assassins must destroy the arrogant fire gods. Death will be painful so that every worm will feel that they should not have messed with them. The assassination squad members attack in a coordinated manner, preparing to finish off their rivals. Juzi steps forward to protect his teammates. At this moment, the brute pounces on the fleeing Yuan Yu. The difference in equipment is too big, and it is unlikely that Kai's team has a chance. None of the viewers believe in him or his group. Thanks to their excellent armor, the assassin squad members are good at ignoring damage. The crystal that Huang Da charges is becoming stronger and stronger. Suddenly, a dagger flies out of Nuanuan's hands, knocking her to the ground. The witch also loses her weapon, unable to resist the magical magnet. It's time for Jiang Kai to answer for all the bad things he did to the Huang family. His miserable life came to an end. One of the protagonist's flaming daggers freezes in the air. The young man firmly declares that he will never accept his fate. He holds the blade in the air, looking menacingly at his enemies. The vile Huang Da laughs madly, suggesting that the young man not waste his energy in vain. The dagger, however, becomes more and more enveloped in light. Like thunder, the special absorption skill is suddenly used. Finally, the protagonist uses the Death God card he recently received. This baffles Huang Da, who was confident of his victory. The spectators also freeze, not understanding what is happening in the arena. It's very strange that Jiang Kai's throwing knife turned into a map. Incredible killer energy attracts a lot of attention. After all, this is not just a throwing weapon, but a special tool. Common equipment on the Devil Star ranges from F to S. But in fact, there are secret SS and SSS ranks. The God card is a powerful and unique SSS rank weapon. Jiang Kai was truly shocked when he first heard about this. A God card always has a unique card draw skill. For each God card added, all of the owner's body attributes increase, can absorb thrown weapons and inherit attributes. These skills made it possible to pretend that the card was one of the daggers. Perhaps now it will be Huang Da who will beg for mercy on his knees, but Jiang Kai will show no mercy and will definitely kill the man. Due to severe stress, sweat is rolling down Huang Da's cheeks. The young man suddenly uses the skill Wrath of the Gods. Then a giant blue beam shoots out of his hand, tearing apart space. He rushes straight towards Huang Da. At the last moment, the villain manages to put up a shield in front of his body. However, even such superhuman weapons prove unable to withstand the attack. It's unclear how the power of a simple card can be so deadly. In an instant, the shield shatters into different pieces. Huang Da's body is thrown back and blood starts flowing from his mouth. He hits the arena barrier with all his might, growling in pain. The same purple crystal falls out of the villain's palm, rolling across the floor. Control over all weapons is finally lost. The super magnet has stopped working, and Juzi can now continue the fight without any problem. The members of the assassination squad cannot believe what is happening. The brute continues to slaughter Yuan Yu, who defends himself with a shield. The young man holds the object high up to avoid damage. The carefree smile never leaves the drunkard's face. This behavior genuinely shocks the bully. None of the spectators can imagine where Jiang Kai got such strength from. Huang Da can't get up, but he doesn't want to lose to such trash. His partners, seeing that things are bad, want to run away. However, their path is suddenly blocked by Yuan Yu and Juzi. This makes the enemies freeze in place, not understanding what to do next. The members of the Fire Gods group are ready to continue the fight with a grin. With a firm gait, Jiang Kai approaches the prostrate scoundrel. Despite what has happened, the show is just beginning. It's not time for Huang Da to rest yet, and he will answer for everything. At Jiang Kai's feet lies the body of his opponent, motionless. The father of the family, Huan, who was watching the fight, became furious. One of the bodyguards approaches him nervously. The old man shouts to find new doctors for his son. The family leader's face shows anger and hatred towards Jiang Kai. He, however, is not afraid at all and rejoices in the victory. Suddenly his heart skips a beat, causing him to stagger in place. The young man's strength was almost completely exhausted after such a fierce fight. There are still 4 enemies left, so you need to make every effort to win. As long as Jiang Kai is in the game, people will hesitate to attack him. At this moment, Juzi increases his strength characteristics and attacks the enemy. He hits the shield of one of the villains with all his might. The enemy, albeit with difficulty, withstands such a blow. From the outside, it seems as if someone has endowed Juzi with unstoppable strength and endurance. A man with a shield flies several meters after such a blow. Yuanju swings his sword wide, finishing the attack. With his mouth wide open, the man realized how much Juzi's power had grown. Nuanuan and Huyan are happy that their friend has become more powerful. Taking a fighting stance, Yuanju prepares to fight 2 men at once. They rush furiously at the young man, intending to finish him off. Suddenly, he manages to avoid the blow and finds himself behind them. No one has time to react to the speed of such movement. Calling his enemies pathetic scum, the man rushes at them. The audience can't believe their eyes because Juzi always seemed weak to them. Yuanyu, even when drunk, is no less courageous. The brute he had been fighting with lately runs away from the drunkard. He can't believe that a drunkard's defense is so high. Jiang Kai never made his move, which puts all the enemies on edge. The brute grits his teeth, not understanding why this is happening. Juzi unleashes an incredible combination of strikes, effectively crushing his enemy. The assassination squad are pathetic scum compared to them. No one understands why Jiang Kai doesn't take any action at all. Suddenly it dawns on one of the men that the protagonist might have used powerful techniques and become exhausted. The faces of the villains break into a wide, evil smile. Yanju is admired even by those watching the battle. What's more surprising is that Jiang Kai, who was only level 20, defeated Huang Da, who was only level 40. In any case, the commander's sister is now definitely safe, because she has such strong allies. Huang Da's team doesn't have many options left, as it's a life-or-death battle. Nuanuan thinks that it is Jiang Kai who needs to worry, since he has not moved. It is quite possible that he has run out of strength. Even for observers, this truth is obvious. The remnants of the enemy team gather their strength and rush forward. Even the brute decides to return to the battle after his clash with Yuan Yu. The drunkard, however, does not retreat from the enemy's trajectory. 2 minutes pass, and Juzi begins to shake noticeably. Enemies notice that Yuanzi constantly switches attributes between agility and strength. Only from the outside he looks strong, and if he gapes, we will become dead. You just need to wait until Juzi has time to distribute the characteristics, and then attack. Yuanju prepares for the approaching battle. The enemy provokes a member of the Fire God's group. From the side, Juzi seems to be filled with strength and swings his weapon widely. Suddenly, one of the swordsmen jumps behind him, threatening to finish him off in a second. All the spectators who were rooting for the Fire Gods begin to panic. Jiang Kai suddenly takes off, not wanting his team to be defeated. He throws a whole fan of daggers, catching the assassination team off guard. A massive explosion occurs, dealing colossal amounts of damage. The young man lands deftly on the ground, surrounded by a fiery haze. Both enemies are caught off guard by this attack. The protagonist smiles mockingly at the pathetic brats. The night before the competition, Nuanuan noticed Jiang Kai looking worried. He told her that Huang Da would definitely decide to avenge his brother. Fear consumes the healer, and she worries if the boy has a plan. With the help of the death card, he would surely be able to deal with Huang Da. However, the fight will not be only with this bastard, and without a strategy, their chances of winning are not so high. The Phoenix Tears ran out, and the healer could not find an alternative. Suddenly she shows a pill that can restore half of your strength for 1 minute. However, the price for such a pill is that the young man is completely paralyzed for a whole minute. In addition, a person must exhaust all his spiritual powers in order to use it. Therefore, taking such a drug is fatal. Suddenly, Jiang Kai calls Nuanuan a real genius. Now the confidence in victory reaches a whole 100%. Back in the present, a squad of assassins attacks Yuanju. Jiang Kai watched everything that was happening patiently. Since Huang Da was defeated, the man's spiritual strength was already at its limit. Now he has the opportunity to take the right pill. He quickly throws it into his mouth and swallows it. Suddenly, thick, very noticeable veins appear around his eyes. After a minute of waiting, Jiang Kai says that the enemies have exhausted all their chances. He quickly materializes 5 fire daggers at once. Yuanyu continues to fight the brute at this time. The young man easily repels the enemy's attack, causing him unpleasant surprise. Juzi suddenly appears behind him, determined to finish off his opponent. He quickly runs his sword across the brute's back, cutting it open. Several streams of blood begin to quickly leave the man's body. Wenju tells the already defeated brute out loud that he should feel honored by this. Drunk Yuanyu, unaware of his actions, embraces his enemy in tears. He doesn't understand why Yuanju killed such a wonderful person in his eyes. But the warrior is only glad that he won a bright and powerful victory. A drunk Yuanyu decides to kiss the swordsman due to his intoxication. Gradually, the next day arrives, and the heroes decide to go to the pharmacy in the city. Inside, they are greeted by numerous display cases filled with medicines. Zhongkai asks the pharmacy owner if he has ruby stone, magic mushroom, and bird fruit. The man has just what the group needs. Suddenly, Zhongkai turns around, not noticing Nuanuan nearby. She moves closer to one of the stands, carefully examining the drugs. The man notices that they also sell prescriptions here. Right in front of him, he sees scrolls about the eternal ice poison, the green water demon, and the kisses of blood. The strange thing is that the guild doesn't have a recipe for one of them. The owner of the pharmacy claims that the scroll about the green water demon is very rare. Zhongkai is surprised that there are people who voluntarily go to the infamous water demon lake. The man says that there is a mysterious profession of cultivators. They like to go to places where it is very dangerous and sparsely populated, because in such places you can usually stumble upon trophies. The green water demon is very difficult to use, and creating it is already a difficult task. Surely such a powerful poison has incredible power. According to the data, such poison penetrates the skin, and the poison will begin to act only when the enemy is completely in the water. This feature surprises both Zhongkai and Nuanuan. Still, this poison is so difficult to prepare and use. Nevertheless, the heroes exchange glances at each other. The couple resolutely decides to take the scroll, seeing incredible power in it. The pharmacy owner involuntarily freezes in place in surprise. In the city of Zhangzhong, in the private Xuanwu hospital, Huang Da sits quietly. His own father stumbles into his room, opening the door slightly. As his servant informed him, his son's condition had only worsened, and treatment needed to begin as soon as possible. From the outside, the great warrior turned into a pathetic cripple. It seemed like he didn't even understand what was going on around him. How many losses did the Huang family suffer from the actions of the damned Zhang Kai? The only way to get revenge is to finish off the upstart. A strange figure appears in the corridor, quietly approaching the leader. With a grin, the guy starts talking about the tournament. Of course, the competition between guilds will continue in the coming days. Zhang Kai demonstrated such strength that some teams withdrew from the tournament altogether, and those who dared to fight further were completely defeated by the power of the fire gods. In the end, the main character's team made it into the top 16 teams. Exciting news about tomorrow's match appears in the evening. The next enemies will be a squad of demon hunters led by Shu Feixian. Zhang Kai reminds them that this is the platoon of idiots they met while searching for the Corpse Lord. As far as Hu Yan knows, this team is truly elite. Indeed, their squad is incredibly developed and has a lot of advantages. Shu Feixian's team has been through many battles, establishing itself as a band of thugs. The leader himself poses the greatest threat. Zhang Kai no DS firmly, knowing that this is going to be very, very difficult for them. The next day, inspired spectators cheer on their favorites. A match between two such teams is such a huge sensation that all the stands are packed. Some even spread rumors that Shu Feixiang was Zhang Kai's sworn enemy. The impudent man reminds that he will personally cut off the young man's hands for his insolence. Juzi angrily stands up for his friend, but the latter stops him with a wave of his hand. Zhang Kai suggests that his opponent use the language of force. The presenter asks the players to pay attention to the battle of the 16 best teams. Each of them is incredible, and each of them has demonstrated their great power. The older sister is worried about poor Nuanuan. The audience is even confident of Juzi's success, having shown what he is truly capable of. However, some of them freeze in great excitement. Finally, the grand battle between different teams begins. Like watchdogs, the players jump out of their seats. Shu Feixiang runs ahead of his squad, filled with killing intent. However, the fire gods are ready for the toughest fight for the tournament. Yuanyu and Yuanzhu materialize their weapons, and Zhang Kai, like a true, brave captain, finds himself ahead of everyone. He spreads his arms wide, releasing a whole fan of blades. Hu Yan clenches his fist with a wide grin, as their victory is so close. The fiercely burning dagger rushes straight towards Shu Feixiang, but several bodyguards jump out ahead of him. One of them uses a strange thing, which causes a wide grin to appear on the boy's face. True teamwork is the key to victory. This is how the enemy team, all together, reflects many daggers. The enemy's incredible synchronicity causes Zhang Kai and Nuanuan to freeze in place. Such speed amazes all spectators. With a whirlwind around him, one of the daggers screws into the shield. It causes a wide blast wave, which, however, does not cause panic at all. On the contrary, he encourages the team of hunters to take down Jiang Kai. Truly, the battle that is taking place is grandiose. The madmen on the assassination team are asking for their own injuries. The unbridled Valkyrie forces all the fire gods to retreat. This is the first time one can see such grandeur from such a close perspective. Still, teamwork turns their squad into a real killing machine. Jiang Kai abruptly orders all his guys to retreat. Their enemies are so well coordinated and silent that it makes you shudder. They inspire more horror than any murderer. The squad leader takes out the already familiar supermagnetic crystal. Spectators watch with a mixture of horror and delight. Suddenly, one of them notices something. Not a single weapon of the fire god's team escaped their grip. They all found themselves surrounded by strange energy shields. Xu Feixiang grinned as his enemy also improved his weapon. Of course, they prepared to win. All preparations took place immediately before the match. It turned out that the iron stone, which was discovered earlier, creates a field against the magnet. Gangyumat is such a discovery that deserves the highest praise. In the face of absolute speed, even perfect teamwork can't do anything. Jiang Kai jumped up sharply and activated his secret skill. In just an instant, a whole fan of daggers flies towards the enemy. With light movements, opponents block the enemy's attacks. A loud clang from what is happening rises throughout the arena. The Fire God's team's ability to adapt is truly astounding. Seeing that the daggers have hit their target, the young man shouts that the chance to attack has come. After quickly downing the alcohol, Juzi raises his flaming sword over his head. Thanks to the skill, his great silhouette rises into the air to bring down all the punishment of the heavens on his enemies. They freeze in amazement, unable to find the strength to move. Only at the last moment do they react, managing to avoid the man's wrath. Juzi, his legs shrouded in mist, takes a fighting stance. Looking back, he doesn't see at all where his enemy has gone. Jiang Kai, focusing his vision, tries to warn his friend about the sudden danger. He throws the dagger behind Juzi's back, thereby protecting him from the vile blow. Xu Feixiang suddenly approaches the protagonist and will not forgive the young man for being distracted. This stunt forced Jiang Kai to retreat. Juzi continues his own battle with one of the assassin squad. He wants to attack the girl sharply, but someone from the side intervenes in the fight. After short negotiations, the warriors decide to split up. Nobody took Juzi seriously, and his body is ablaze with flames, as if he had turned into a lord of fire. Having changed its characteristics abruptly, it literally takes off. Having gathered together, part of the team of killers decides to kill the trio standing aside. Gripping their deadly weapons tighter, they rush straight at them, but their attack falters almost immediately. Yuan Yu, having drunk a lot, receives a huge boost in strength. He manages to stop his opponent with his shield. Two members of the assassination squad run past Yuan Yu. They rush straight towards the seemingly defenseless Hu Yan and Nuan Yuan. Together, the girls form a strange magic that gives off an icy light. Nuan Yuan, moving further away, creates a powerful sphere of yellow flame. Thanks to such actions, many ice fragments rush towards the victims. Meanwhile, Xu Feixiang continues his deadly battle with Jiang Kai. They both maneuver deftly in the air, avoiding each other's attacks. The enemy freezes a little when he sees daggers flying at him. Xu grins and declares that his speed is second to none. Flashes of bright light suddenly appear on the battlefield. Xu Feixiang's speed is so great that he merges with the light. Jiang Kai is completely amazed by this. The spectators are shocked, as no one has ever dodged Jiang Kai's knives from such a close distance. The famous Xu Feixiang easily dodges deadly knives. His eyes are filled with bloodlust, hatred, and rage. It turned out that he used this opportunity to close the distance. His base dexterity should probably be rated at 350 points. This is at least 100 points higher than Jiang Kai's. It seems that Xu Feixiang is the natural winner in this fight. Jiang Kai's biggest mistake was making Xu his enemy. The man quickly uses a whirlwind strike. At the last moment, the main character manages to dodge. At first, it may seem like Xu is only landing one blow. But this is not so, because with his other hand he gathers power, and this is not just a lunge with a sword. Jiang Kai realizes that he won't be able to avoid two attacks at once if the fight continues at the same pace. He decides to attack again with his daggers. They rush straight towards Xu Feixiang, almost touching his body. But he notes with a smile that the young man took the bait. Countless purple lightning bolts appear around Xu. In addition, the enemy again dodges explosive daggers. Some of them fly further, and Xu Feixiang blocks them with his blade. The death daggers have gone out of control again, which can't help but upset Jiang Kai. In close combat, Xu Feixiang's modified blades are more than effective. This means that he planned everything in advance, and that is why he provoked. but Xu Feixiang still admires his opponent because he has the courage to ask questions. Something catches the eye of the bloody madman. Zhang Kai's last knife is probably his trump card. Having reached this conclusion, Xu Feixiang begins to laugh loudly. Zhang Kai doesn't quite understand what's going on. The triumph of the scoundrel is that his team never underestimates the enemy. Their team watched and analyzed the Fire Gods match. Thanks to this, the cunning opponents managed to obtain a lot of useful information. According to the replay, Zhang Kai defeated Huang Da using that disguised knife. However, after this he stood still and did not help his comrades. Xu Feixiang, studying the replay, concentrated on reviewing the same section over and over again. Judging by the guy's expression, it was unlikely that he was confident in his partners. That's why there was a hypothesis that after using the skill, Zhang Kai was left without strength. After careful calculations, they noticed that in this way, the man froze for a whole minute. In other words, Zhang Kai would naturally be able to defeat the man with one blow. But then the rest of the Fire God's team will be defeated, and then a squad of killers, having gathered together, will finish off the main character. Although the guys are still having a very hard time, and the first fatality may appear soon, Xu Feixiang offers the young man a choice if he does not want to see his friends die. He offers to use his trump card to save one person, but he only has one such card, and it is not enough for everyone. Who should Zhang Kai be to lighten the load? Even Zhuzi is defeated by the enemy. But despite the upcoming choice, the fate of each member of the fire team is already predetermined. Hearing these arguments, the young man freezes in place. It suddenly starts to rain, dropping drops onto the arena floor. Zhang Kai and Xu Feixiang glanced at each other for a while. A smirk appears on the young man's face, and he uses his focus skill. At this time, two Valkyries from the assassination squad attack Hu Yan and Nuanuan. They hold close to each other, supporting each other from falling. They abruptly throw down several flasks containing a suspicious green mist. The girls don't understand what's happening, and the fog envelops their bodies. Despite this trap, they decide to continue attacking the team. The spectators do not take what is happening seriously, thinking that the squad of fire gods is doomed to defeat. Nuanuan's older sister believes that the girl has come to an end, but an observer sitting nearby asks Lan Lan to look more closely. The blade falls to the arena floor with a crash. Mouth wide open, as if experiencing horror and incredible pain, one of the Valkyries freezes. Her hand seems to be rotting alive from the poison. The same thing happens with the other girl's whole body. They didn't even have time to notice how they were poisoned. There is no regret on Hu Yan and Nuanuan's faces, only hatred. Despite the fact that the girl's body is rotting alive, she decides to launch her final attack. But the fortune teller is not as simple as she seems. She summons an invincible ice storm that pierces the girls. Both of them seem to die in an instant. A minute later, both girls fall onto the wet arena floor. Lan Lan can't believe her eyes, because the enemies seem to be completely paralyzed. But her partner calls the poison by its name, saying that it is too impractical, so it is rarely used. The other part of the team can't even imagine that this is even possible. But Xu Feixiang smiled, because even such a useless class as a fortune teller had proven itself. But these are far from all the trump cards that the team of fire gods has. At this moment, the spectators see that the drunkard in the arena is getting up again. Yuan Yu confidently places his foot on the ground. He rises up holding his wounded body. His opponent egged him on, calling him a pathetic alcoholic. The fire team will be wiped out, and the drunkard will be the first to fall. But the warrior is met only by the furious gaze of Yuan Yu, who has never been weaker than others. Such rage forces the man to retreat away. Yuan Yu stretches out his hand, ordering everyone to obey him. The drunkard's blatant insolence forces the warrior to go on the offensive. Yen Yu's strange behavior also attracts the attention of viewers. He shakes and runs forward without even raising his head. And despite this, the drunkard easily dodges the warrior's blow. He doesn't even have time to notice that something wrong has happened. Such crazy reaction speed cannot fail to amaze. Zhang Kai watches Xu Feixiang's surprise with a smile. He grinds his teeth with anger, as if he wants to bite the young man to death. In combat, people most often react based on past mistakes and emotions. However, instinct is a much more important and powerful human ability. Instincts don't care how much a person trains or what kind of psyche he has. Against pure instinct, human reaction will always be one step behind. This is exactly what Yuan Yu demonstrates in his fight, easily maneuvering around the spear. The warrior, who seemed great and invincible, is completely unable to catch up with the drunkard. Despite being wounded, he dodges attacks with extraordinary accuracy. Hu Yan believes that this is Yuan Yu's new talent, called drunken jubilation. The state of drunken jubilation awakens the subconscious. The fortune teller slowly lowers herself towards the blade. She throws the sword towards Yuan Yu to at least somehow help him. He surprisingly easily catches the sword in his hand. The warrior pays no attention to this and promises to finish off the drunkard, but he manages to dodge all attacks with extreme ease. What a shame that a warrior who seemed great should lose like this. He tries to charge himself with his murderous energy as much as possible. Space is cut as if the very fabric of the universe is being cut with a weapon. For a moment, both silhouettes freeze on the wet arena. The drunkard's blade sinks into the forehead of a warrior, shaking with fear. Yuan Yu is so drunk that he orders everyone to undress. The man was completely taken aback by such a demand. His fierce rage quickly goes beyond reason. It's incredible that a drunkard, whom no one took seriously, was able to defeat a superior opponent. Zhu Feixiang angrily calls his squad nothing but trash. Jiang Kai, wrapped in small lightning bolts, quickly moves towards him. He notices how his opponent is starting to get nervous. It's a pitiful sight, because Zhu was sent here to deal with him, so this is Jiang Kai's mysterious trump card. But the scoundrel's face is once again adorned with a vile grin. He advises not to rush to rejoice, because his people have not yet lost. Suddenly, the arena is deafened by the sound of another broken flask of poison. Nuanyuan freezes in horror as her plan was thwarted. The approaching killer intends to finish off the girl. Out of fear, she shrinks in one place, unconsciously preparing for death. Hearing a loud sound, the doctor slowly raises his gaze. Right in front of her appears Juzi, who, like a true hero, protected her from death. It's amazing that the enemy thought he could defeat the hero. The smug swordsman breaks into a joyful grimace, laughing madly. He thinks that he is about to kill two lovebirds at once. Suddenly, the man's hand freezes in place and he is unable to pull out the blade. The fighter begins to look around in confusion, his gaze sliding along the blade of his sword. As if with the last of his strength, Yuan Zhu looks at the enemy from under his brows. He confidently declares that a true god of battle should not die like this. As it begins to glow golden, it converts all of its stats into constitution. The audience is shocked that Juzi used his own body as a pathetic bait. He moves abruptly, no longer constrained by the severe wound. Despite the bleeding, he begins to approach the enemy with loud and heavy steps. In just a second, the now famous warrior grabs his opponent by the arm. With his majestic appearance, he easily inspires awe. This time, the assassination squad member won't be able to save his miserable life. In an instant, the trained soldier's eyes fill with bright blood. Suddenly, his head is pierced by a dagger, which Yuan Zhu thrusts in with a single thrust. Zhu Feixiang, who was standing nearby, couldn't believe that his team was being defeated. It was not worth underestimating the squad of fire gods, who had many trump cards behind them. Nobody could have expected this team to become so strong in such a short time. Finally, the time came for Jiang Kai to enter the battle. He will force the idiot to admit his inevitable defeat at any cost. But such self-confidence only makes Zhu Feixiang furious. Even if his partners fall, he will do everything in his power to finish off the upstart personally. The great swordsman lunges forward with the force of a furious double slash, and menacing purple waves leave his body, enveloping the blades. Such a powerful explosive force will leave no trace on the main character if it manages to hit him. But this also means that Zhu Feixiang won't be able to perform a double strike. Jiang Kai instantly uses a through movement skill, deftly dodging Zhu Feixiang. Through the veil of rage, the purple phoenix doesn't even realize that it has been dodged. The great Zhu Feixiang lost in a matter of seconds, leaving him with nothing. The Death God card reveals its bright, incredible power, enveloping the space with the light of darkness. Jiang Kai skillfully throws the object, threatening to kill all living things in its path. The map tears through the space in front of it, rushing past at the speed of light. Such open mockery, however, only provokes the enemy captain. But the more a person is controlled by emotions, the more mistakes he will make. Jiang Kai's card inherited a critical hit rate of a whopping 90%. Combined with the stat bonus, this attack is capable of hitting any fighter in the arena. Zhu Feixiang froze in place, not understanding how this was possible. One way or another, the death of this great, albeit lousy warrior is inevitable. Zhu Feixiang finally falls onto the wet ground. His hand reaches out with the last of his strength towards the main character. But he, without a shadow of a doubt, calls upon his deadly blades. Now Zhu Feixiang, who was considered an invincible warrior, was finally defeated. All the spectators are indescribably delighted. Where has it ever been seen that a seemingly pathetic team achieved such grand victories? Truly a true miracle happened. Each of the fire gods rejoices, because he deserves victory. The fight is finally over, and everyone has shown incredible performances. Even Nuanyuan was able to impress, as she prepared and used a very complex poison. Lan Lan believes that her sister could have achieved a rank. Yuan Yu, due to his drunkenness, is deeply grieving for his defeated enemy. Hu Yan suddenly came up to him and used some kind of spray on him, causing him to lose consciousness. At this point, The commentator steps back in fear. Juicy, also under the influence, almost cut her down, but was stopped in shame. It is really difficult to lead such an irresponsible squad. With her hand raised high, the commentator is ready to make an official statement. The winner of the match is the team of fire gods. All the spectators rejoice and chant the name of the true winners. Thus all the fire gods receive the great glory they deserve. They were able to demonstrate extremely high skills. They particularly attracted the attention of one of the spectators. A few days later, Hu Yan and Yuan Yu burst into Captain Kai's guild. They look quite excited and out of breath. It turns out that the materials for the drunkards and feng shui masterclasses were sold out. Since the military considered their professions dead weight, they lost their relevance. But now, after the appearance of the fire gods, these classes are no longer considered useless. Zhang Kai is extremely proud of his entire team, and they are happy to take extra gratitude personally. After all, there is not a single commoner in the team of fire gods. Urgent news arrives that one of the Boulder Squad has destroyed the Leopard Squad. The fact that this was done alone simply shocks everyone gathered. Zhang Kai can't imagine a monster that could do such a thing. He asks Nuanuan to carefully study the potential opponent. All units have already suffered their first losses, and the battles are becoming increasingly brutal and bloody. However, their future opponents withdrew from the competition, so the fire gods automatically advance to the finals. Thus, they are the only team to reach the final without losses. Such a result could not have been achieved if everyone had not given 100%. There is still time before the final, so the guys should get a good rest. Since there is time, Zhang Kai should also return for a while. He returns to Jiangzui City. The sister helps the protagonist's brother get home after being discharged from the hospital. She asks excitedly if everything is okay. Then Zhang Kai suddenly appears, pleasantly surprising the two. The surprised little sister asks why her brother came back. His face suddenly changes with bewilderment. As if from nowhere, a sumptuous table with a variety of treats appears in front of him. The girl asks why her brother doesn't eat anything at all, and the elder brother asks Zhang Kai to stay with them longer. It's just a pity that there are still many worries left on the Devil's Star. Gradually, the conversation turns to the Huang family, who had previously been bothering them. The little sister quickly replies that everything is fine and no one is bothering them. Finally, that nasty feeling of being watched that had haunted her before disappeared. Brother Liu also often sends people to check on the family, which is good news. How nice it is to finally return to a quiet life. It's great when you can just go to school, chat with friends, and deal with your problems. The little sister freezes for a few seconds, not daring to put food in her mouth. Then, however, as if nothing had happened, he swallows the food. It may seem that the girl had something on her mind that she did not dare to voice. The next day, Zhang Kai urgently returned to the Devil Star to prepare for the final battle. The following days pass as the team of fire gods prepares for battle. Yuan Ju, who previously seemed like a weakling, is now a skilled swordsman. Now, for someone like him, fanged boars pose no threat at all. The rest of the team is also making great strides in development. Everyone's coordination has improved noticeably, and now the fire gods have become even more formidable. Suddenly, all team members receive a notification on their wristwatches. The enemy in the final will be the Walun team, from which only one person remains, who reached the finish line alone. Nuanuan learned more about this monster in human form. His name is Dai San, a newcomer who only joined the guild this year. Immediately after joining, he created Walon, becoming the dark horse of the guild in just 6 months. In fact, there is very little information about him or the detachment. However, it is known that San possesses a destructive technique that can kill an enemy in one hit. Judging by the description and name, the technique is similar to what Xu Feixiang possessed. Certainly, the fact that the man reached the final alone makes him superior to any of his enemies. Zhang Kai instantly tenses up at the sudden noise from the side. Something is rapidly approaching him, quickly scattering leaves and branches. With a deft movement, the young man dodges the sudden threat by jumping into the air. With his hand, he quickly intercepts the hand of San, who suddenly appeared. The masked man is pleasantly surprised by Zhang Kai's speed. He doesn't move, as if preparing for another attack. The armed attacker finally completes his maneuver and drops to the ground. He orders his weapon to dissolve, chuckling slightly. Having come to their senses, Zhang Kai's team is ready to stand up for their captain. But Nuanuan carefully looks at the man in front of him, as if he recognized someone in him. Zhang Kai puts his hand in front of Juzi, preventing him from attacking. His face is filled with determination despite the fact that they tried to finish him off. However, the young man says with a smile that they were not trying to kill him, but were simply testing him. San finally takes off his mask, revealing his face. With a small smile, he chuckles, saying that he has been found out. Juzi freezes in place, not believing that a great warrior has spontaneously appeared before him. Coming closer, D-San even calls Zhang Kai a brat. But for such words, Yuanju is ready to attack at any second. Spreading his arms slightly, Captain Waluna calls himself a peaceful opponent, since he is here for negotiations. It's just not entirely clear what the negotiations will focus on. Dai-san admits that he has watched all of Team Fire's matches. He was particularly impressed by Zhang Kai's trump card. To be honest, he's not at all sure that he can defeat their team on his own. The young man does not understand why the man came to them then. In response, a grin slowly spreads across his face. His cunning proposal is a duel that will decide the outcome of the competition. Besides this, he asks the guy not to use his trump cards in the fight. In response, he will not use any weapons or shields that can deflect his daggers. Such a ridiculous condition simply amazes the team, because they are not so stupid as to agree to it. Juzi asks them to ignore this madman, and Zhang Kai personally refuses the duel. Then Dai-san calmly says that he knows what materials are needed to raise Zhang Kai's class. His guild can even provide the man with the coordinates of all these items. A real shock runs through the main character's body, because he had been hunting for this for a long time. He involuntarily turns around, looking suspiciously at the captain of the Walloon team. These items are located in the secret zone, an area rich in ascension items. Also, indicators of exploration of some secret zones are allocated to the military. These zones usually have a powerful guardian who sets its own rules. After completing the test, the keeper will award rare resources as rewards. The strongman even demonstrates a special map with information about the zones recorded on it. Juzi hardly believes that such a gift of fate was right under their noses. Nuanuan confirms that this information may be true, since her sister said something about secret zones. Dai-san also says that this is a way to get rid of the Huang family. Not everyone gets such a coveted chance to gain control of secret information. Dai-san continues to stick to his guns, calling the deal incredibly profitable. His conditions are indeed very tempting, but Zhang Kai still won't agree to it. The refusal truly shocks the leader of the Wallen team. Even Hu Yan and Juzi are surprised, because Zhang Kai always wanted to change classes. Coming closer, D-san asks if Zhang Kai is confident in his actions, but he can't let down the team that tried so hard for his own benefit. Then he will become the worst captain. He even imagines how the team will mock him. Zhang Kai asks Dai-san to leave if he has nothing more to offer. At this moment, Juzi lunges forward, filled with anger. His blow, furious and sudden, lands right on Zhang Kai's face. He quickly begins to feel his face and asks in shock what his friend is doing. Juzi asks why Zhang Kai is talking such nonsense. The team doesn't want to watch their captain sacrifice himself for them. At first, the young man wanted to object, but he couldn't find the words to do so. Hu Yan says she would love to see the captain beat up that smug guy. Nuanuan comes closer, holding out his hand, which glows green. The strength of a team is that it always believes in and supports each of its members. The young man seemed to be instantly touched by such apt words. He lowers his head slightly, chuckling lightly. Zhang Kai asks them not to complain if they end up losing. This decision seemed to instantly cheer up the whole team. He then turns around and tells Dai-san that he agrees to his terms, but warns him that he will regret the offer. He will definitely finish off his opponent with his own hands. But in response, the grown man only says that they will see what happens. Finally, people begin to gather in the arena. The commentator reports that the official final among players starts today. In addition, the team battle was replaced with a duel fight. Viewers agree that Zhang Kai is too self-confident to take such a risk. The Fire Gods team, although nervous, has faith in their captain. Now it's time to welcome the participants. After this, the main character's entire team explodes in a victory cry. Right in the arena, the stately figure of Dai-san appears, clutching his sword. Opposite him, in his famous suit, is Zhang Kai. Dai-san's eyes are seething with hard steel and confidence. But Zhang Kai is not at all afraid of his opponent, despite his superior strength. The presenter announces the rule that the only criterion for victory is killing the opponent. Both participants understand this and realize that only one of them will leave here alive. The audience, including the team of Fire Gods, freezes in anticipation. The fight is officially declared open, and then Dai-san rushes forward, breaking away from the spot. Zhang Kai summons his daggers, materializing them next to his hand. If he manages to seize the moment and strike, then there will be no problems. Like lightning, his enemy quickly closes the distance. The perfect moment has arrived for an attack that could decide the outcome of the entire battle. Zhang Kai swings his arms sharply, hoping to hit properly. But Dai-san doesn't stop, moving with such speed that he cuts through space. A large cloud of smoke rises, obscuring everything that is happening. The protagonist managed to evade what seemed to be a deadly attack from the enemy. It's lucky that his skills allow him to effectively attack and defend at the same time. The entire team of fire gods watches the duel with excitement. As if appearing out of nowhere, Zhang Kai attacks with his sharpest daggers. But Dai-san is not at all surprised or afraid of such actions, smiling slightly. He reacts quickly and lunges forward, as if dodging an attack. Such incredible speed couldn't help but amaze Zhang Kai. It doesn't immediately occur to him that a deadly blade is stopping right at his forehead. In just one pitiful lunge, Di-san had closed the distance enough to threaten death. An incredibly satisfied grimace appears on the warrior's face. However, suddenly, as if at the speed of light, Zhang Kai dissolves into space. Dai-san completely loses sight of him, lowering his blade slightly. At this moment, the main character appears behind him, a few meters away, as if teleported. He had been carefully studying videos of Di-san's fights in recent days, and therefore prepared for his tactics. The white-haired warrior is clearly holding back, as he had shown even more furious speed in previous battles. The guild member's face broke into a wide grin, as meeting an opponent like Zhang Kai was truly a miracle. Nuanuan believes that their captain is under incredible pressure, as fighting such a monster is truly exhausting. This guy is certainly incredibly annoying, but he is an incredible master of close combat. Hu Yan and Yuan Yu clench their fists in anxiety. For a moment the battle subsides, and the two opponents watch each other. It just so happened that everyone, having seen their opponent in action, wanted to truly win. Dai-san even felt a little sorry for beating Zhang Kai, even though he saw him as a bloodthirsty bastard. But the young man is not going to listen to him any longer, because the fight is not over yet. Such unwavering determination lights a fire in Di-san's eyes. He is not so easy to defeat, even though he is still holding back. Unexpectedly, Zhang Kai switches to close combat, stopping throwing his darts. This recklessness only infuriates Di-san even more, causing him to openly laugh at his opponent. But his pupils suddenly dilate so much, as if he had seen his own death. At the last moment, he manages to avoid death by jumping into the air. With his immense experience and skill, Di-san counterattacks Zhang Kai straight into the torso, causing him to lose his balance. The force of the impact is so enormous that the protagonist is thrown straight into the energy wall. Seeing their captain in a helpless position, the crew screams in unison. If Zhang Kai had been hit directly, it was clear to everyone in the audience that he would not have been able to survive such damage. But even such a powerful, monstrous attack is not enough to stop the young man. He slowly regains his stance, shaking himself a little to get his bearings. The last time Di-san used his special attack, Zhang Kai held back and still barely avoided the attack. Only now, right on his body, there is a monstrous cut from the blade, although he did everything to dodge it. Is this happening because the distance between them was monstrously small, or because the enemy is developing right on the battlefield? Dai-san mocks, belittling Zhang Kai for his battered appearance from the attack. The young man has a vague feeling that he has missed something extremely important. Suddenly, Dai-san hints that no matter how fast his enemy is, he is destined to lose. As expected, the whole point is that a man becomes stronger when he fights against stronger opponents. This revelation hits the protagonist so hard, as if he had been doused with cold water. Between his fingers, flaming knives materialize, gleaming with extreme sharpness. He instantly throws his projectiles straight at the enemy, showing no sign of giving up. Even a monster like Di-san is surprised by such persistence. But he doesn't intend to spare Zhang Kai out of some kind of respect. A bloody, furious blow cuts through Zhang Kai's body, causing monstrous damage. Now the young man's speed is definitely not enough to dodge such attacks. If he wanted to continue fighting, at this speed, he wouldn't even touch a piece of Di-san's cloak. Blood starts to spurt out of Zhang Kai's mouth, covering the arena floor. Hu Yan, Jusi, and Yuan Yu stood frozen in place, unable to believe that their mighty captain could be so easily taken out. Nuanuan breaks out in sweat at what she sees, involuntarily covering her mouth with her hand. But when the haze begins to slowly clear, the audience exclaims in shock, seeing that Zhang Kai has not given up. However, the other teams mock him for being such an upstart and refusing to teamfight. Hearing such attacks against his friend, Juzi boils with anger. In an instant, he seems to jump up to the two insolent men and grabs them by the chest with his powerful hands. The rest of the team try to stop their hot-tempered friend from getting into more trouble. One of the smug guys breaks into a smile, even though he is shaking with fear. He loudly calls Juzi Zhang Kai's personal dog, who will do anything to protect his master. The anger in the young warrior boils so strongly that at first he cannot even find anything to say in response. A small crowd freezes in place upon hearing someone's loud and clear voice. Accompanied by security, Sister Nuanuan appears and demands that all violators be immediately removed from the spectator area. There is only firmness in her eyes, demonstrating the stern character of the commander. Nuanuan, seeing her older sister, opens her mouth wide in surprise. The girl came to check on her little sister, seeing her worry about Jiang Kai. Most likely the daredevils from the other team deliberately provoked people to anger out of envy. With a shaky sigh, Nuanuan turns towards the arena. A smug D-San continues to stand tall in the middle of the battlefield, clutching his blade. Jiang Kai, although shaking from injuries and pain, is not going to give in to the impudent man. Despite the profusely bleeding wound, the young man gathers all his strength into his palms, concentrating the energy. Dai-san kindly asks his opponent to give up, because this fight is pointless, and its outcome has long been predetermined. He even invites the wounded youth to join his guild to become even stronger. But the boy is not of the kind to follow sweet talk. There is no fear or despair in his eyes, only stubborn, unwavering determination. Finally, Dai-san decides to end this whole fight by rushing straight at the young man. He again uses the ghostly strike skill that had previously severely wounded the young man. Only this time, Jiang Kai doesn't dodge, standing right in the path of the attack. And this shocks the entire Fire God's team. Out of fear and worry, Nuanuan covers her face with her hands, unable to watch the atrocity unfolding. Dai-san, like a herald of inevitable death, is getting closer and closer. Finally, Jiang Kai uses his skill, which he had been charging with the last of his strength before. The Deception State skill, previously kept secret, finally comes into effect. Time seems to stand still for D-san. The man's entire body seemed to go numb, and Jiang Kai's silhouette turned into a blur. At one point, the great and mighty warrior seemed to stop seeing the youth's movements. With a loud click, D-san's weapon flies out of his grip. Only now does it dawn on him that he fell for some kind of trick. The moment has come for Jiang Kai to counterattack with full effectiveness. He releases a swarm of daggers that pierce D-san's body. They easily pierce his armor and flesh, penetrating tightly into the torso. A colossal clot of energy materializes right in the arena, threatening to end D-san's life at any moment. A bright blue energy engulfs everything around it, seemingly blinding the audience for a moment. Jiang Kai completes his maneuver, stopping on the arena floor. The daggers disappear from D-san's body, and in their place, monstrous ulcers form. At that moment, a blade came straight towards his face, as if D-san and Jiang Kai had switched places. But the young man does not kill his opponent, only telling him that he has finally lost the fight. For a while, a long drawn-out silence falls among the spectators. No one believed that Jiang Kai could pull off such a thing. All the fire gods rejoice, seeing in their captain a true winner. Juzi was so moved by his friend's strength and determination that small tears appeared on his face. Dai-san smiled, unable to believe that his only weakness had been discovered so quickly. It turned out that one of his words reminded Jiang Kai of something. Did Dai-san really allow his own bitter defeat? Just 15 minutes ago, Jiang Kai felt like he had missed something very important. But it suddenly dawned on him that the stronger the enemy, the more furious D-san would be in battle. Judging by the replays, the man finished off all his enemies with a ghostly blow at the most critical moment. I wonder how high D-san's speed could be, even in theory. In addition, he used the information about the secret dimension to bribe Jiang Kai and negotiate with him. Someone like D-san wants to achieve victory at any cost. This means that at first he will only test his opponent, without attacking with full force. However, the man did not finish off his enemies as soon as the opportunity presented itself. Like an experienced hunter, he did not destroy his prey, but played hide-and-seek with it. In addition, during the battle there was a feeling that D-san was anticipating the main character's movements. Throughout the battle, Jiang Kai tested this guess, essentially conducting experiments. Therefore, the man has a mental skill that allows him to predict the opponent's movements. It is quite possible that D-san uses his eyes to detect muscle contractions and airflows. This would allow him to predict the trajectory of an attack and strike instantly. Even a single moment would be enough to stop Dai-san's mighty power. Jiang Kai certainly has no shortage of self-confidence, but the young man calls his opponent overconfident because he uses his ghostly blow as cover. His mental strength is low because D-san probably spent his points on more than just intelligence. The man's mouth drops open in shock, realizing how much of a risk Jiang Kai had taken. But he managed to win thanks to his risk, and Dai-san lost because of his pride and confidence in his invincibility. Such bold and firm words, however, evoke a small chuckle. The man could not have expected that some brat would teach him such a lesson. Reluctantly, with aggression and hatred, D-san admits his defeat. By stretching his hand forward, the man suggests finishing him off faster. Suddenly, Jiang Kai swung his weapon, and swung his blade like the wind. The arena floor is illuminated by a bright red liquid, quickly leaving D-san's body. His body falls to the cold ground with a crash a few seconds later. Seconds later, it seems that even Jiang Kai himself does not believe that he has committed such an act. The commentator cries out loud, asking if she imagined what happened. Jiang Kai, who initially had no advantage, was able to take the life of the mighty warrior. In the eyes of the fight's spectators, the main character became a true living legend. The entire crew of fire gods was literally dying of worry for their captain. They all run towards Jiang Kai in unison, catching him a little off guard. He nods with a smile, clearly happy that everything ended well. Wen Yu and Hu Yan are genuinely proud of their captain, calling him the brightest star today. Raising his fist high, Zhuzi declares that no one will go home until they are drunk. Suddenly, Jiang Kai felt his friend's firm hand fall on his arm. The whole team deserves to have a good time today in honor of the victory. The commentator calls the team of fire gods the deserved winners of the match. The entire crowd of spectators cheerfully chanted Jiang Kai's name. Elder sister Nuanuan never expected the protagonist to be capable of such a thing. The next day, the army sends someone with awards. Gathered together, the team is puzzled by what can fit in such a small box. Finally, the boys open a small message from the army, filling the room with blue light. It seems as if several cards are bursting out of the chest at once and rushing upward. One of them is rapidly approaching Jiang Kai's nose. Another one approaches the bewildered Yuan Yu. Hu Yan rightly points out that the rewards were apparently given out in the form of cards. Hearing this, the main character's interest is immediately awakened. He grabs the card with his palm very quickly, intending to open it as quickly as possible. Jiang Kai, to his surprise, receives an enhanced version of the 9 troubles that haunt fate. Now, Jiang Kai's signature knives, which had won him many victories, had become even more ferocious. Even though the weapon was already SSS rank, it has become even more powerful. The critical hit chance has been increased even more, allowing you to kill enemies one after another. Suddenly, another card approaches the man, which he did not expect. Coming closer, Yuan Yu explains that these are the stones of mother and child, between whom there is absolute attraction. If you build them into gloves and daggers, then no weapon will be able to interfere with them. It turns out that Hu Yan has obtained the materials to change her class to a demon spiritualist. Yuan Yu also did not remain on the sidelines, receiving from the army an excellent artifact to increase the quality of intoxication. It felt like the rewards were perfectly tailored to the Fire Gods team. Then the young man wondered what rewards Zhuzi and Nuanuan could have received. The boys don't answer for a while, and then report that they are still listed in the army, and their awards have been handed over to their captain. This time, the awards truly suit everyone's individual style and needs. All this was at the special request of a certain Commander Wei, who helped the guys. This news is so joyful that Jiang Kai breaks into an almost childish grin. Inspired by what is happening, Hu Yan and Yuan Yu praise their captain. Commander Wei and Brother Lu have been very helpful to everyone, so they deserve a lot of thanks. In addition, if the guild wins the bet, they will be forced to give him information about a secret location in 3 days. Hu Yan, seeing how worried her friend was, gently tugged at her cheek, asking her to stop worrying. Finally, the long-awaited and quiet peace comes, which makes the soul feel lighter. Time passes, and Jiang Kai returns to Jiangzhong City. It had been a long time since he had worn his usual familiar clothes, not combat gear. It is impossible to forget the strange expression on the little sister's face. She clearly has something on her mind. Ordinary school children on the city streets discuss upcoming tests and parties. Jiang Kai finally approaches Class 3 and 2 in one of the schools. Knocking on the door, the protagonist asks if Jiang Ying is there. It turns out that someone called her just recently, and that's why she's absent. Calling himself an older brother, the young man asks for clarity on the situation. The girl who approached quietly reported that the older students had started to pick on the girl. Not immediately understanding what she was talking about, Jiang Kai brazenly touches the girl's shoulders, asking what she means. According to her, Zhao Lei, a hooligan who works under Huang Wei and does whatever he wants, recently transferred here. While the two are talking to each other, some guy tries to run out of the office, but he is instantly pushed back by a brutal kick straight to the torso. 3 hooligans approach him at once and ask how he dared not come to the meeting with them. At this moment, the girl points her finger at Zhao Lei, the bully who runs the show. The fallen pot-bellied man begs for mercy, saying that he will explain everything. This doesn't stop the insolent man, and Zhao Lei swings his fist. Suddenly he freezes, his eyes widening slightly in confusion. The entire trio of hooligans freezes in one place, not daring to move even once. Jiang Kai, who stopped his hand, asks if the hooligan knows Huang Wei. Zhao Lei calls the young man a blind dog for daring to behave like that towards him. With a rude expression on his face, the protagonist introduces himself by his real name. Now the bully instantly recognizes him, because it was he who went against the Huan family. However, if Jiang Kai kneels before the impudent man and apologizes, he will help him find his sister. But the upstart probably wouldn't be able to pull off such a thing. As if stung, Zhao Lei bares his teeth in a feral grin. The crowd unanimously decides to rush at the protagonist, deciding to teach him a lesson. A wide variety of onlookers from other classes quickly begin to gather for the fight, filling the corridor. Taught by school cruelty, the boys swing their fists with all their might. But defeating the Devil Star hero won't be that easy. With a disheartened look, he notices how slow people seem to him. The man easily dodges each of the blows, simply darting from side to side. The two hooligans exclaim in unison, for they were not at all prepared for this. Zhang Kai's movements are cold and precise, carefully calibrated and honed on the battlefield. With furious blows, he knocks down his opponents one after another. The force is so strong that the body of one of the guys flies into the air. As if nothing had happened, Zhang Kai walked past the hooligans who had fallen to the ground. Zhao Lei, in a genuine rage, is already flexing his knuckles to get even. Meanwhile, in the school courtyard, Zhang Kai's little sister is being bullied to the fullest extent. Two impudent ladies clutching rackets openly mock the freshman. Unable to resist her elders, the girl asks for forgiveness. Her briefcase is turned over, and the contents are roughly shaken out onto the ground. One of the girls notices something interesting inside the briefcase. The object that catches her attention turns out to be a family photograph. As soon as she saw the photo, the little girl started begging for it to be given back. But bullies are in no hurry to give away what they find just like that. If the girl continues to scream, there is no guarantee that the photo will simply be torn up before her eyes. Suddenly, someone starts calling one of the girls on the phone. She reluctantly picks up the phone and answers the call. Yinzi hears about her brother storming into school and fighting with Zhao Lei. This delay is enough for the little sister to bite the girl's hand with all her might from behind her. Breaking free from the grip, the girl runs away, leaving the two hooligans behind her. Trying not to miss the opportunity, the younger sister does not look back. The bullies have the advantage in numbers, so she feels that it will be very difficult for her brother to cope. Finally, she appears in the corridor, where a small crowd of onlookers has already gathered. Her gaze is met with several bodies lying on the school floor. The older brother turns around with a joyful grin, as if nothing special had happened. Not quite believing what is happening, the girl somehow manages to control her breathing. At that moment, the young man notices the wounds and abrasions on his sister's torso, and his fists clench involuntarily. Zhao Lei quickly flies closer, as if confident of his victory over the youth. But Zhang Kai doesn't move at first, still in shock. Seeing that the young man is not responding, the younger sister tries to shout to him. Finally, the protagonist begins to change his stance by lifting his leg. With all his strength, he hits the villain's chest with his foot. Blood begins to spurt from his mouth, falling in large drops onto the school floor. At this moment, some of the students are working, carrying school supplies. They are all pushed aside by several girls who had previously been bullying the girl. One of them is completely consumed by rage, because she wants to take revenge for the bite on her hand. Ahead of her, she sees a small but noticeable glow. The mutilated Zhao Lei lands right on top of her, raising dust and splinters. With great difficulty, Zhao rises to his feet and tries to catch his breath and come to his senses. The girl, left behind, cannot believe what kind of monster her brother can turn into. It feels as if his power is leaving the body, forming swirls of energy and light. She hesitantly calls Zhang Kai's name, as if hoping that he is still her ordinary brother. Zhao Lei can't understand why he couldn't repel Zhang Kai's attack, because he was just recently at the Devil Star training there. However, a man's heavy foot finally lands next to him. The bully hesitantly raises his eyes, which no longer contain a drop of self-confidence. Before him stands not an ordinary guy, but a real devil in human skin, who will avenge his sister. Such a powerful aura made Zhao Lei nervously swallow his own saliva. The school children around recognize Zhang Kai because he is very famous on the Devil Star. Coming closer, the young man roughly grabs the bully by the face and asks if he really sets his own rules here. For all his anger and insolence, Zhang Kai will make the young man pay back by starting to beat him. Already slowly losing consciousness, Zhao Lei only thinks about someone saving him. The older brother's little sister runs up from behind and grabs him by the sleeve, asking him to stop. Her eyes filled with tears as she realized how cruel her brother had become. The face of a close, beloved person was completely consumed by anger and hatred. As if waking from a long sleep, the man slowly turned to face his younger sister. He agreed to leave the hooligans alone, having given them a fair shake in public. Together, brother and sister, supporting each other, began to walk away. However, before that, Zhang Kai decided to address the two girls who were bullying his younger sister. With a furious look, the young man orders them to come immediately. They, horrified, begin to shower them with a multitude of apologies, offering to talk calmly. It was late evening, and Zhang Kai was still busy tending to his sister's wounds. All her knees are covered with deep abrasions due to the abuse she has suffered. With great excitement, the young man asks his sister if she is in a lot of pain. However, she answers with an undisguised smile that everything is fine with her, simultaneously asking her brother if he is busy on the Devil's Star. But he clearly understands that his younger sister would not have told him anything about the bullying, although the older brother is no better, because he does not talk about the dangers of the Devil's Star. Jiang Kai's eyes widened slightly as he tried to justify himself to his sister. The sister rightly points out that even Commander Wei does not dare to interfere with the Huang family. And the young man receives money, probably risking his life. The younger girl feels genuine pain from the fact that she is useless and cannot help in any way. She simply didn't want to distract Jiang Kai from important things, so she didn't say anything. Seeing that her older brother is silent, she asks him for forgiveness. But Jiang Kai doesn't hold a grudge against her at all as he applies another plaster to her face. The little sister has nothing to apologize to her brother for. He promises to call her every day when he returns home after work. However, Jiang Kai asks the girl not to hide anything anymore, because it will have a very bad effect on the situation. Hearing such sincere words, Yinzi cried a little, not taking his eyes off his brother. Holding out a family photograph, the young man asks to take good care of it. The little sister grabs the object with extreme care in her firm palms. Looking closely at her family, she sobs, realizing that it is family that is most important. Finally, the boys decide to go home together and please their older brother. A few days quickly pass, after which Jiang Kai returns to the Devil's Star. Together with the team, they arrive at a strange building that looks too unreliable. At first, the guys even doubt it, believing that the Blue Dragon Guild deceived them with information. There are no traps, but Jiang Kai's keen eye notices a piece of furniture that looks like an obvious fake. Everything inside was searched extremely thoroughly, although the apartment looks very dilapidated from the outside. In addition, the ground in the yard is uneven, as if someone had dug it over and over again. An arrogant person like D-San would hardly cheat even if he lost. What's surprising is that such a large organization as the Alien Guild couldn't find the secret entrance. If Nuanuan were here, she would definitely have dug up something with her information-seeking skills. There was nothing to be done, and the army recalled her back along with Juzi. Eventually, when the competition is over, the boys must return to training in the army. The guys decide to find a place nearby and set up camp there for the night. Slowly the sky turns a deep dark light and a brilliant moon rises above. Wenyu sleeps peacefully on the ground, hugging a stone with both hands. But Jiang Kai is not resting at all, carefully and leisurely observing the territory. His steady gaze had been sweeping over the building for a long time, but he still hadn't seen anything important. A human figure gradually appears behind him. He turns to Huyan with a smile, saying that he is not tired at all, and there is no need to change his fast. Suddenly something breaks loose, like a sharp trigger. Jiang Kai's expression instantly changed, realizing that there was danger behind him. However, turning around sharply, the young man notices nothing and no one. Only guys who are sleeping off long days of fighting, and therefore muttering in their sleep. But the young man freezes again, this time feeling a presence completely above him. His feelings do not fail him, because a monstrous monster appears on top, resembling a disgusting white-skinned doll. Jiang Kai lifts his nose wide, his mouth hanging open in surprise. It had been a long time since he had seen ghostly witches who dared to attack people so openly. Thanks to his skills and the enhancements he has received, the young man easily escapes the attack. Jiang Kai swings his sword and fires several daggers at once. Each of them hits their target, the terrifying monster. But something strange happens. From the outside, it looked as if the shells had simply dissolved into the creature's body. Having repelled the attack, the ghostly witch quickly flies towards the man. However, it abruptly changes its direction, approaching the house at monstrous speed. You need to hurry so as not to miss the monster and not let it hide or escape. Jiang Kai activates focus mode just in case as he approaches the house. With one jerk, he breaks through the wall, finding himself inside the building. The young man lands quickly on the cold floor of the building, slowly slowing down. Straightening up and looking around, he can't believe his stunned eyes. The ghost witch who had previously tried to kill him sits at a small makeup table. The boy had never seen such a sight before because monsters always tried to be deadly efficient. And there she was, as if nothing had happened, combing her long hair. Deciding not to waste such a moment for a surprise attack, Jiang Kai soars into the air and prepares to rush at the monster. The blue-eyed creature freezes in place, as if suddenly sensing the approach of a person. The young man uses the suppression skill to turn the monster into a helpless thing. But all three daggers aimed at the creature simply dissolve into its body again. Without losing his resolve, Jiang Kai attacks again with his daggers, as if hoping for a different outcome. This time, A whole fan of daggers rushes at the monster, which would have killed anyone in her place. But, as before, they prove incapable of causing any damage. Zhongkai gaped in confusion and realized that he had only aimed at the vital organs, but had not caused any damage. At this moment, it gradually begins to get light outside the window. Then the main character decides to use his mysterious trump card, the Death God card. In 1 second, he throws a card that instantly cuts through the space in front of him. She inevitably moves closer to the creature sitting at the makeup table, centimeter by centimeter.